Hello and welcome to the best ever weather we've had at Monaco for any Gran Turismo World Series Championship. And what could make spectacular weather even better? Well, that would be some spectacular racing. Yes, as you can see, it is beautiful Monaco. Look at that. It's never normally that great when we're here. And we've got some amazing racing today for the Gran Turismo World Series World Finals. And today is the Toyota GAZOO GT Cup. Yes, they're going to be racing in this beautiful GR010. And actually the winners of the race today are going to be able to win this Kinto helmet, which is pretty spectacular. Not too bad at all. So hello. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. How's everyone doing? Come on! How you doing? We're here in Monaco! Be a bit more excited than that, for heaven's sake. Yeah, we are very, very excited to be here, back in Monaco. We do love it here. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got 4 days of incredible racing ahead and some of the best sim races in the world. Am I right? Well, I mean, of course they would say that. So we are also joined by a very special VIP in the crowd, yes, Kazuki Nakajima, who is 3-time Le Mans winner. I assume just judging and watching you all and having a look at your racing to see how well you're doing. So thank you so much for being here and so much for you guys for being here as well. So as I said, we have got a lot of stuff to get through, 4 days of racing. Let's work out and show you just exactly how it's going to break down over the 4 days. So yes, of course, we've gone through what's happening today. Tomorrow will be the Nations Cup regional finals, and then Saturday, Manufacturers Cup finals as well. And then Sunday, the big one, yes, the Nations Cup grand final, and then we'll have a little party to celebrate at the end. Yeah, okay, let's break down today's schedule and see how exactly the drivers got to this stage of the competition. So yes, so we have 24 drivers. As you can see, the split of how they got to become the 24 from all the different regions all the way around the world. So yes, we had general qualifying a little bit earlier, and obviously the placement will determine where they're going to go on the semi-final grid. So they're split into semi-final group A, group B. The top 4 from each of these semi-finals, yeah, they can just take a load off. They will go straight through to the grand final. They can just relax for a little bit. Now, positions 5 to 10 will, be in the repechage. The remaining 4 will go, and then that is how the top 4 of these will then go through to our grand final, and then the remainder, that'll be the end of their racing for today. But yeah, and then we'll have our top drivers 12. There we go, for the grand final a little bit later on, in chance to win that Kinto helmet and those beautiful trophies too. Not too bad at all. So yeah, we've got an awful lot of stuff to get through. Now, you might have noticed, or you might be aware, that it's a certain video game's birthday. Oh yes, and actually if you log into the game, we've got some spectacular campaigns that we're going to be doing over the course of this weekend for Gran Turismo's 25th birthday, anniversary as it will. So if you have opened up Gran Turismo in the past couple of days, you're going to see that it has been updated for the World Finals. Obviously, as we're celebrating Gran Turismo's 25th anniversary in style, and if you enter the 25th anniversary races, you will win and be gifted an X2019 in a stunning special livery, so it's definitely worth doing. And if you think you're smart enough to pick who's going to be our 2022 World Champions, then click on the bonus campaign for a chance to win credits. And I believe there is 3 million, yes, up for grabs. That's pretty spectacular too. And then, if you're watching the streams all this weekend, you will also have the chance to win a very, very special prize. So within the next 24 hours, please click on the viewers campaign and answer a question you will only know the answer to if you stick with us. So we want to reward you for staying with us and watching all the streams. And then, of course, please let us know what you think. Join in the conversation using these hashtags. We would love to know what you think. Well, I mean, it's an awful lot to get through. There's an awful lot of some incredible racing. So I'm going to stop talking and chuck it over to Tom and Jenny. Off to you guys.
Yeah, cheers, Jules. Thanks very much. We're live in 7 different languages for the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. You can see our German commentators, our French commentators, alongside Lucas and Alberto, the Spaniards, and the passionate Italian duo of Emilio and Andrea. You'll be able to hear them inside the soundproof box, I'm sure of it. Duarte and Francisco are here from Portugal, and as well as Yamada and Nakajima-san for Japan. And of course, here on the GT desk is myself, Tom Brooks, and Jimmy Broadbent alongside me. JB, last year was amazing, wasn't it, in the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup? More of the same this year?
It was awesome, but this time we're in Monaco. We're in live, so this is a bit better from my point of view anyway. But yeah, really looking forward to the day's racing. There's so many talented drivers here, of course, all under the watchful eye of Kazuki Nakajima as well. So no pressure, guys.
Absolutely, yeah. 24 drivers that are going to be taking to the grid here today. Are there any names in particular that sort of stick out for you? We've got a few regular GT competitors, a few new guys in there as well.
I mean, of course, plenty of very, very quick drivers here today. Here's our semi-final A lineup in there. Of course, a couple of drivers to look out for. Igor Fraga, we always mention him because he's like a bit of furniture here. He's a new bit of furniture. It was Martin Grady, now it's Igor Fraga. He's our new guy. He's been around for a very long time. 2018 Nations Cup champion, of course, real-life racing driver as well. Very, very talented, so always one to look out for.
I understand he's been doing possibly a little bit of testing in the real world recently.
Yeah, a little bit. Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye.
Keen to see where he's going to be ending up. We like Igor Fraga, of course, 2018 champion, as Jimmy said. Good to see him back with the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. And the thing is, and the thing that I love about GT, and especially the GT Cup, is we've got different machinery, so we're going to be racing in all different types of cars, right up to the 2021 hypercar.
Yeah, exactly. It's part of the fun here in GT. We don't make things easy. You have to be good at every car in every situation to make sure we get a deserving champion, of course, for Toyota GT Cup.
Absolutely. Well, we saw the semi-final A lineup just a few moments ago. Let's have a look, shall we, at the circuit the drivers are going to be competing on here today, the high-speed ring. We're back in action at this circuit on GT7, and the drivers are going to be in the Toyota GR Supra Racing Concept. You can see there are 2 tyre compounds available, hard and soft, so we already know where they're qualified. We just saw that a couple of moments ago. But 25 laps, times 5 tyre wear for this one, which is a bit of a tongue twister. But what do you think it's going to be in terms of strategy?
Well, the high-speed ring's a bit of a glorified oval, really, so you don't want to drop out of a slipstream. So I'd say start on the hard tyres and use the soft for a bit later on, maybe, for a good outlap game position there towards the end of the race. Here is the car we're driving, as Tom mentioned, the Toyota GR Supra Racing Concept. Just the 600 horsepower, not much. Easy game, really, but all our drivers, of course, in the same machinery, in that same GR Supra, so it's all going to come down to driver skill, which is what we like.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it doesn't weigh much at all, that car, either, does it? So it really is going to be pretty spectacular. As I said, in terms of the drive lineup, there's some really, really big names that are going to be lining up in semi-final A. Jose Serrano, he's made a good name for himself this year. Igor Fraga, got a Brit in there as well. Will Murdoch.
Will Murdoch! Finally a Brit, finally.
I was chatting to him, actually, yesterday. I was talking to Will. He's from Yorkshire, but he had to fly from London. So he said he had to drive down like 3 hours just to get the plane, to then fly 2 hours to get here.
I mean, this is turning into like a sort of British sympathy stream, isn't it? So we need to go. There he is there. It's his first competition, of course, so a bit of pressure, I imagine. A bit different from driving in your sim room. In front of a lot of cameras here and some very annoying commentators over the top of you. But we wish him the best of luck, and we do, of course, with the rest of the competitors as well. And very much looking forward to seeing how he gets on.
Yeah, of course, we've got 2 semi-finals here, as Julie mentioned earlier on. So semi-final A, the top 4 drivers, they progress through automatically. Drivers who finish from 5th into 10th will go through to the repechage, the last chance qualifier, if you will. And then, of course, positions 11 and 12 will be eliminated. So that is how things will line up for this one. And I think we're not too far away from getting semi-final A underway here. Yes, hopefully we'll get that underway in just a couple of moments. Here we go. Drivers just warming themselves up, ready to go for semi-final A then for the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. High-speed ring, 25 laps for our drivers. This is one of them. This is the American driver. This is Cyrus Cross, who lines up, and he will be actually 12th and last on the grid. There's Quinten Yahal, closest to us in your picture there as well. We've also got Natheos Siragaya, who is a driver who's been very interesting as of late. He was one of the drivers from the Asian regional final, who has progressed through into the GAZOO Racing Cup final. So he basically was the top finisher in there and has managed to get himself into the grid for semi-final A. And here is how the grid lines up. It's Jose Serrano on pole position with Igor Fraga for company on the front row of the grid. Will Murdoch heads row number 2. Great qualifying for the Briton with Takuma Miyazono 2020 champion alongside him. Then it is Giorgio Mangano, the Italian P5 on the grid, with Sasaki lining up P6. Kanata Kawakami heads to the next row in P7 with P8 Thomas Leboutelet, the Frenchman. Ninth on the grid is Nathaniel Sirigaya, the 2022 Asian Regional Champion, with Killian Drummond, the winner from the World Series Showdown last time out. Quinten Yahal lines up P11 on the grid, and Cirrus Cross completing the 12-driver strong field. As we said, hard and soft tyres available, but the only drivers opting for the softs in the top 5 were Igor Fraga and Giorgio Mangano.
I think it was Miyazono, actually.
Miyazono, you're right.
Yeah, I'm really confused to see that, because I think that soft tyre at the start, you're going to just burn it up. It's going to be a bit of a slipstream battle, so all you're going to be doing is fighting each other, and that soft tyre doesn't last very long. It's all about using that speed early, so I would have gone from the hard to the soft strategy, and the majority of the field seems to agree with me, but I've been wrong several thousand times before, so I'm not going to be surprised if it happens once again.
Well, 25 laps then for our drivers here in this race. Of course, pit stops to consider as well in this one, different tyre strategies. So it looks like we're going to have to just have a quick delay in proceedings here whilst we get this race restarted because of a couple of technical issues that happen here. They happen here in the real world. They happen here as well in the GT World Series. So we'll get this one underway very, very shortly. Let's talk tyre strategy though then, Jimmy. So it's a pretty simple graphic to follow, that one.
Yeah, I mean, the guy who got paid for that did a pretty good job of getting paid for that, I think. But yeah, we just think it'll be a split down the middle. I actually spoke to some of the drivers earlier on about the potential of how long the soft tyre would last. It ranged from 5 laps to 16 laps. So very helpful, guys. Appreciate your insight there. But if you can make that soft tyre last for 16 laps and keep that speed, it's going to be important because the hard compound tyre is a second a lap slower. And whilst it doesn't wear as quickly, we know that's soft. Until it does fall off the cliff, is quicker until that moment. So it's worth to stay on that soft tyre for as long as possible.
Well, one of those drivers who was going for the alternate strategy, starting on the soft compound tyre, was Takuma Miyazono, inside the top 5, of course, 2020 champion here. Did the Triple Crown in 2020 by winning both the nations, the manufacturers, and then the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup as well. I'm not sure about that strategy, but then what do I know? What do you think?
I don't know, he's probably listening to you going, shut up, Tom. shut up, mate. But I was thinking these situations where we have these delays, that what's going through the drivers' heads? Because they've just got amped up to go racing, and they go, wait, no, guys, wait a bit more, wait a bit more. It takes real composure, I think, especially for some of these drivers who it's their first time up on stage doing one of these events. It must be nerve-wracking. So my thoughts and prayers to the guys down there.
You and I have probably both had that in the real world where you've had a red flag and it kind of just sort of, you've got all this adrenaline surging through your body and then suddenly you're like, oh, okay, well that stopped for a minute, and then you have to sort of hype yourself up for it again.
Yeah, I think, you get into it quick enough. You get into it quick enough. But it's just, these are the moments you hate as a competitor. But it might even give these guys another chance to, I'm not sure if they're allowed to change tyres now based on what they've just seen, or they have to go straight back into the same strategy again. It'd be good to know. I think they had to submit their tyres fairly early on, but it would have been a chance to see what everybody else is up to. So if everyone apart from Fraga and Miyazono will now know, okay, well, they're going to be on an alternate strategy, so how do I react to that? It does give you a little bit more time to think about the race.
You know, I love a stat when we come to these events. Well, no, an interesting stat that I was just looking up before we came into this one. Did you know the winner of the GAZOO Racing GT Cup every year has gone on to win one major World Series title? So if you look at Miyazono, of course, he won both the Nations and the Manufacturers Cup in 2020. In 2021, Tomoaki Yamanaka went on to win the Manufacturers Series with Toyota as well. I mean, the form book doesn't lie, Jimmy.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Brooks, GT Encyclopedia. Good job, mate. Yeah, no, that is interesting. I wonder if we'll see that again. Of course, also given they've got some very quick guys, of course, in the Toyota GT Cup as well.
Well, if you have just joined us, rather, I should say, and you're not quite familiar with what the competition format is for this Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup, let's have a look, shall we? 24 drivers who are going to be lining up on the grid. You can see there, this is how they made their way into becoming these 24. So we took 3 from the GT Cup, and then, of course, the other different regions over the course of this season. 24 drivers will then determine the semi-final grid order. They'll be split A, B, A, B, and so on into groups of 12, and that is how it will look for the semi-finals. The top 4 finishers in the semi-finals will go through to the grand final automatically. Positions from 5 to 10 go through to the repechage, the last chance qualifier. 11th and 12th, they will go no further. Then in the repechage, top 4 from that race go through to the grand final, making up 12 drivers for that race. Positions 5 to 12, again, that is the end of their day. And then that grand final, the last race, will determine the winner of the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. Not only a winner of a great trophy, but also of this lovely Kinto helmet here as well. Let's just remind everybody about the circuit, the high-speed ring. I mean, Jimmy, we were talking about it, a glorified oval, but we watched some of the test races that we had earlier on today. I mean, they were 5 wide into some corners.
Yeah, it gets pretty leery out here on this circuit. I'm actually quite looking forward to seeing what the racing is going to be like, because you're never quite sure when you see this kind of thing if it is actually, in fact, going to be good racing or not. But I think given that we have the slipstream, of course, as well, alongside the fact that a lot of people are on the similar sort of tyre compound, yeah, I think we're going to be in some interesting racing.
Yeah, absolutely right. And 25 laps, I mean, it's not just a case of like a normal oval where you're turning left and you're wearing the outside
There
tyres.
are rights as well.
There are right-hand
Oh,
turns in this one. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because I was watching some of the qualifying and, you know, traditionally, when you're watching a race, you've got different racing lines where you sort of go from the high part of the circuit to the lower part of the circuit. Some drivers opting for different lines with the banked corners, and that's one of the unique challenges of this track.
And actually, to give you a unique challenge, of course, the drivers have been very much told, if you touch the wall at all, you are getting a penalty. So if you're familiar with, of course, with a certain Mr. Chastain from a recent NASCAR race, it's quite interesting how that's fine, but it isn't fine here. It isn't fine here. So touch the wall, you will get a slap on the wrist. And that's why we saw a couple of people who we expected to be a bit higher up in qualifying further down, because they all touch the wall in qualifying. So yeah, it was one lap as well, you get one chance.
Absolutely, yeah. Semi-final late, Killian Drummond, Quinten Hall and Cyrus Cross were not able to set lap times because they made mistakes during qualifying. They touched the wall, their lap time was disallowed, and that means they're starting right at the back. So they've just given themselves a fair bit of hard work to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult. I mean, there are a lot of over opportunities to overtake, of course. There's lots of long straights, lots of opportunities to sit behind the car in front and draft by them. But you might have to work together around here. What I mean by that is not squabble too much if you want to try and get to the front, and maybe allow an overtake from time to time and sort of follow the guy through, as opposed to fight tooth and nail. Because if you fall off the back of the pack around here, you fall off that slipstream, you're going to just fall into obscurity.
Yeah, absolutely. Slipstream is going to be really important, and you can see some of our competitors just supporting the GAZOO Racing GT Cup. Drivers in the background there was 2021 champion Valerio Gallo. Just a reminder of the lineup then for semi-final A. So Jose Serrano will start in pole position, Igor Fraga alongside him, Will Murdoch, Takuma Miyazono, etc., etc. As I mentioned, Killian Drummond, Quinten Hall, Cyrus Cross, 3 drivers who were not able to set lap times. And Theos Sirigaya did set a lap time. He's down there in 9th position on the grid, and he is the 2022 GRGT Cup Asia champion, 2-time champion actually. His semi-final B, which will be coming up along shortly after this one as well. You can see Lucas Benelli will head the field there, Baptiste Beauvoir. A couple of drivers who we're not so familiar with, that is Andina Rama-Milana, the Indonesian, and Khalid Al-Maharigi, the Qatari driver, and those finishers were second in the Asia Cup for Milana from Indonesia, and then Al-Mahari from Qatar finished second in the MENA regional finals. The actual winner of that event, Mohamed Al-Bouani from Oman, was unable to make the event, hence Al-Mahari ending up in this field and qualifying quite well, 6th and 7th, with some very, very big names behind him.
Yeah, Megala, of course, there, the big name, who also touched the wall during qualifying. Kobayashi, who is a real-life F4 driver, also touching the wall as well and getting a penalty. It's I foresee chaos, to be honest, when this race does get underway. It's going to be a bit of a desperate fight for the first few laps, and I think we'll settle into it from there.
Well, there's Will Murdoch. We're just looking at him. As I said, of course, the only British driver representing the country here. A lot of weight on his shoulders for this one, but we're still very much looking forward to seeing what is going to happen. There is Killian Drummond, who did great things in the World Series Showdown last time we were in person, back at the end of July in Salzburg, and a big sigh, I think, of nervous anticipation for Murdoch here.
That's the thing, you get a lot of kind of just nervous energy when you're waiting for this sort of thing to happen. It isn't so much about being, oh no, I'm afraid of this. It's more like, I want to just get going now. I want to race. I want to go. And as I said earlier, this sort of moment, you're just sitting there waiting for the race, is the worst moment of any race weekend. You want to just get on with it.
Well, if nothing else, it does give them an opportunity to just go around, do a couple of laps of practice, and maybe refine some lines, that sort of thing. And it's interesting actually, because I was talking to Valerio about this yesterday, Valerio Gallo, the 2021 champion, and I said to him, so how many hours a day do you practice for these? And he said, probably about 3 or 4. And I said, okay, that's actually a bit less than I expected it to be. Why that many hours. And he said, well, after that sort of time, I start making mistakes. And the problem is it's all muscle memory. So those mistakes then start creeping in again and again and again. And he said, you just don't learn anything. You don't get any quicker and you just keep repeating it.
No, I think that's one of the things people seem to underestimate with these sort of competitions. It's very much, to be this good, it's pretty much a full-time job. You have to really dedicate a lot of time to it, which is why when we get to these competitions, it's always so good to see these guys race, because these are the best of the best.
Absolutely. Well, we're about then ready to go green for semi-final A for the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. Drivers are full of anticipation. The high-speed ring awaits for our 12 competitors. Which of them will qualify automatically for the grand final by finishing in the top 4, and who will be going through to the last chance saloon of the Repechage? And who, of course, will not be progressing any further than semi-final A. We're about to find out. Here is the grid, all lined up. And for the second time, let's talk you through who lines up where. Then Jose Serrano, the Spaniard, on pole position. Alongside him on the front row is Igor Fraga, the 2018 Nations Cup champion. Heading row 2 is the Brit Will Murdoch from Yorkshire. Alongside him is the 2020 champ Takuma Miyazono. Next up, Giorgio Mangano heads row 3, the Italian driver with Sasaki for company. Alongside him in P6, then it is Kawakami, P7 on the grid. Alongside Kawakami, Thomas Leboutelet from France. Next up, Nefeos Sirigaya, the Asia champion of this year. He has got Kylian Drumont, the winner from the World Series Showdown, for company alongside him. The final row is comprised of Quinten Yahal and Cirrus Cross from the United States of America. Now, once again, another look at the tyre strategy. Of course, the drivers have had an opportunity to reset, but they're opting for exactly the same. So second and fourth, that is Igor Fraga and Takuma Miyazono, opting for the soft tyres.
Yeah, let's try and get the race going this time, shall we, boys? I'm looking forward to seeing what Fraga and Miyazono can do on that soft compound tyre. Will they try and push forward initially, or will they fall back into the draft, into the slipstream, and then be left for dead when they go onto the hard tyre on that second stint? They must use both compounds of tyres, so when you use them, it's very much important for your race result.
Absolutely. Well, the drivers then just mopping their brow ever so slightly, and we're just a few moments away from getting this one underway. It's going to be 25 laps for the drivers. Of course, tyre strategy to consider. We get ready to go racing then. What is going to happen? Which of those drivers are going to finish inside the top 4? Who will be going through to that last chance saloon in the Repechage? 25 laps time. Of course, lots of slipstream battles ready to take place as we get the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup semi-final A underway here at the high-speed ring. So it's Jose Serrano leading the field down towards the first corner. All the drivers behind darting into the slipstream then as we come in towards that first corner. Look at Igor Fraga coming under pressure from Will Murdoch, who in turn is coming under pressure from Takuma Miyazono. Fraga goes up the inside of Serrano then, takes the lower line into the corner. Here comes Will Murdoch as well as Takuma Miyazono. So Serrano, of course, no slipstream for him. He's being left for dead here as they come down in towards the next corner. Who is going to get the inside line? Who's going to hold on to the race lead? It's Fraga then on the inside. Drivers going into the high part of the circuit. Will Murdoch trying to hold it firm around the outside there of Takuma Miyazono for second and trying to challenge for the lead. Will Murdoch goes through into the race lead. Here comes Jose Serrano on the inside of Takuma Miyazono as well. Can he make it stick? It's all really tight in the mid-pack here, but Fraga manages to hold firm as they come through into the tunnel.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, Fraga and Miyazono moving fairly quickly on this soft compound tyre at the early stage. Will Murdoch doing a good job to hold on there in second place. In the background, big contact in the background. Sasaki round from what I can see there in the tunnel. We'll see if we get a replay from that, but Sasaki definitely out of this one, as is Quinten Yahal and Cross as well behind. But at the front, it's Igor Fraga leads from Miyazono. The two soft runners making a good start there. Will Murdoch behind in tow with Serrano fourth and Mangano in fifth.
Well, they need to make a good start, of course, being on that soft tyre. They need to make hay whilst the sun shines. Here comes Will Murdoch versus Takuma Miyazono trying to challenge down the start-finish straight. Going to go in towards that first corner, though. He's going to have the higher line, the longer way round. Here comes Giorgio Mangano in turn on the outside of Jose Serrano. We're looking on his inside. Kanata Kawakami is ready to try and join in the action as well. They've been very firmly told against bump drafting here, these drivers. So they've got to be very careful of that because the stewards will be keeping a watching brief on it. But look at the different series of lines they're taking through the next corner.
The difference in the tyre compound through there too. Murdoch just couldn't hold on to the back of Miyazono through that long left-hander there. Didn't quite have the tyre grip compared to the two in front. So now Fraga and Miyazono do their best to try and break the toe, break the slipstream to the cars behind and try and pull off into the distance, because all the while Murdoch is there, all the while he's in the background holding on to the back. He's negating that soft tyre advantage. So the gap almost up to a second, and the toe is starting to fall away now, and unsurprisingly, contact at the back of the field is now currently being investigated.
Yeah, there was a penalty being picked up there for Quinten Hall. Whether that was related to that in the first instance, he wasn't one of the names that was listed on the graphic we saw just a couple of moments ago. Here comes Miyazono with Igor Fraga, then side by side they run down the start-finish straight. It's now Miyazono, the 2020 champion, who goes through into the race lead. In the background there, Jose Serrano versus Will Murdoch Part 2. Murdoch just about holding firm through the first corner as they come on the short run down towards the next straight. Will those positions change hands? Look at the soft tyre runners there. They've pulled out a gap of 1.1 seconds, so they're trying to bring themselves out of slipstream range here in these opening stages against Murdoch and Serrano, etc.
I'm not sure if I heard contact with the wall there. The reason I say that is because the stewards are being very, very strict with any sort of wall contact. If you touch that wall at all under your own power, you are getting a penalty. So you have to be very, very careful around here. It's Randall Hayward, the audience there, watching watching his fellow competitors. Fraga there, almost into the wall. And let's have a look at the replay. So this is what happened on lap 1 here. On board with Cross. Let's see, as we go into the tunnel, Sasaki's pushed wide into the boot lane, and nowhere to go for Cross, but into the back. And unfortunately, that's probably going to be his weekend done already, unless he can claw his way back up into 10th position.
Looks, from what I could see, that Laboutelet was the sort of catalyst in that. Whether it was his fault or it may have just been understeering White and having his own crash effectively, and somebody else just got caught up in the drama. You can see there Will Murdoch being given a warning for bump drafting. Look at this though for drafting as they come nearly 4 wide down towards the first corner. Giorgio Mangano on the inside and going through. Will Murdoch there in the middle. Just in the background is Jose Serrano with Killian Drummond to their right as they come out of the first corner. Great opportunist driving there for Giorgio Mangano. It's going to change hands though next time around. Here comes Will Murdoch trying to retaliate, going up the inside, riding that high line through the next series of corners. Murdoch actually losing out to both Mangano and Drummond, and now putting himself under pressure here from Serrano and possibly Kawakami.
Well, where you are in this little group doesn't matter too much as long as you stay in the group. It's all about staying in the draft, staying in the slipstream. You can see in the background Sirigai doing his best to try and work his way back to this group here in 8th position. But looking back from Mangano now, he's starting to put on the pressure, trying to chase down Miyazono and Fraga, but that's not going to happen. There's a 3-second gap now to the front between the first two, which is what they wanted on that soft compounder tyre. Whether that is the right place to use that tyre, we're going to have to wait and see. But Fraga and Miyazono are going to have to work together to make that strategy work.
On the run down the start-finish straight, already beginning the 5th lap out of 25 then here. You can see there Kawakami with Will Murdoch. I think it's now they've sort of splintered away in front, so it's become from a 5-way scrap to a 3-way scrap. So Drummond, Mangano and Serrano going 3 wide, almost out to the first corner. Serrano, the youngest Spaniard, manages to get ahead. Here comes the race lead, changing hands possibly here with Miyazono versus Igor Fraga. It's now the Japanese driver who is in front of the Brazilian, but they've managed to pull a 3-second deficit whilst they've been squabbling behind.
They won't really care so much who leads at this point, Miyazono and Fraga. It's all about just getting around the circuit with the least time loss as possible. There is Igor Fraga there, and his usual sort of stoic state as he's driving. Looks like he's got some bad news, isn't he, actually, when he's driving, but very much in full concentration. And here's the pack behind. Here are the hard runners at the moment. And as I said, it doesn't really matter where you are in this pack as long as you're in it. So when it comes to pit stops, they'll all go to the soft tyre and then pull forward in the same way Fraga and Miyazono have on this first stint.
Well, it's interesting because that gap sort of splintered briefly off into 3 drivers, and now it's gone back up to 5 in the space of half a lap or so.
You can't escape, basically. If you're in 8 tenths down the straight, you're not going to be able to pull away. You're going to be a victim to that draft, as we're seeing now. Drummond and Serrano. Mangano pulls up to the back of them, but they're standing still because the car in front is basically blocking the air resistance running over our car, making us, allowing us to drive a bit quicker in a straight line. And you get Lehman's slipstream involved there by Stuart Broadbent.
Well, you can see there that Mangano was having to get out of the throttle because he had so much overspeed but no room to use it. He was on the low part of the circuit, no room to go through up the inside, and then had to back out of it, and now loses out also to Killian Drummond on the next series of corners.
Well, there's no point to it. It's better just to stay there. Again, doesn't matter where you are as long as you're in this little group. So this is how I expected this race to go here. I know, I must say, I didn't expect the soft tyre runners to put away so quickly, so this might be a good strategy from them. It depends how much these guys fight. It's much easier to work together if you are just 2 as opposed to 5.
Well, just a reminder, of course, as you saw at the bottom of your screen just a few moments ago, the top 4 drivers will automatically progress through into the grand final. At the moment, that's Killian Drummond, but of course he's got 3 drivers who are all vying for position behind, and we know how quickly this could be set to change. P5 to 10 will go into the Repechage. P11 to 12 will go no further at the moment. That's Quintinia Hall and Sirius Cross. Those two drivers who, of course, were involved in the first lap dramas that we saw earlier on. No penalties being awarded for that as it stands at the moment. Maybe the stewards just deeming it as a racing incident, or possibly the latter option, that they could be taking a bit more time to review exactly what happened.
Interestingly, it seems that Serrano and Mangano are starting to put a bit of a gap here on the other hard runners behind them, as well as Drummond as well. So this could be important, though, for the end of the race. If you miss out on the gap here, you're really going to suffer at the end. Kawakami is starting to pull that gap back in again, but you're just starting to see now some of the drivers try and put out a bit of a gap, trying to make their move. We're still fairly early on in this race. We do expect pit stops around the halfway mark, maybe a little bit later if you are on that soft compound tyre. Lap 16 I heard rumblings for in the driver's briefing. So there will be pit stops here, and that's going to dictate how this race evolves. You can see the drivers using right at the top, using the high line there, using all that camber to carry as much speed as possible around this final corner.
So what is that all about then, Jimmy? Because of course, like I said earlier on, a traditional racing line, you go high, go low, claim the apex, then come out of it and take as much speed through the corner as you can. What's the difference with racing on banked corners like this?
Well, you want to be using as much camber as possible. The more camber you have, the more speed you can carry, because you're basically just pushed into the corner by gravity. So yeah, you want to be as high as you can for that. Down the bottom of it, that camber doesn't exist as much, so you end up understeering, having to slow down. You won't carry as much speed through the corner. The line is shorter, but you won't carry as much speed in the exit, which is what all these guys are doing here. So yeah, important to do that, especially if your competitors are doing it too. You see in the background Kawakami and Murdoch having a bit of a fight. They don't really need to be doing that, but I think Murdoch maybe not so happy that he's down in 7th. Of course, a reminder, top 4 go through automatically to the final. So basically the position Drummond is in right now is very desirable to the 3 cars behind him.
Well, there's only one sort of slow corner, and that's the left-hander that we just went through, sort of second gear through there. Every other corner here on this circuit is pretty much medium to high speed, and of course those tyres are going to be getting quite worn on the outside of the cars. Just to give you an idea of the difference in tyre wear between the soft tyres, if we look at Igor Fraga's front right, it's 64%, whereas Jose Serrano, the first of the hard runners, 83%.
Yeah, so a lot more tyre life left in that hard tyre, as you'd expect to see, of course. So we're on board now with Fernando Kawakami. Interesting view ahead of him. 3 cars, 3 wide, going into the first long left-hander. The bottom line here is a little bit quicker through there than the rest of the circuit. Will Kawakami go for a move? This is where we're going to see that patience. You see there that throttle input on the right-hand side of your screen there. Gets off the throttle early, breaks into the corner, doesn't rush, doesn't also go too, almost touches the wall there. That could have been a bit sketchy. And a warning there for Takuma Miyazono. I don't know what for. I can only assume maybe he touched the wall.
Let's have a look. Bump draft.
Okay.
There we are. So he and Fraga were going toe-to-toe a few minutes ago. That gap has actually increased.
Yeah, I just noticed that, yeah.
About 0.3 of a second or so. Not too much, nothing to worry about, because of course we know that the slipstream is so effective here for Igor Fraga that once he's back in that slipstream, he'll be able to close up and challenge once again. But now Miyazono, very much the driver who is in front. 7.1 seconds, the gap between the soft shod top 2 and the remaining hard runners. This gaggle of cars as they come through the final corner. Here we go, side by side for the race lead between Igor Fraga and Takuma Miyazono. It's now the Brazilian driver who manages to get himself back at the helm of this race, but for how long? Miyazono there going for a slightly wider line through that corner, trying to cut back and get himself a good run on the exit on the run down in towards number 2. Let's run on board with him here. So he's just going to sit behind him and let's have a look at the line. So yeah, bit of break into there, trail it through into the left-hander, run that higher line as they come through.
Yeah, I'm interested, John. I was just looking at the timings while you were talking there, and it's actually, the gap between the tyres isn't as big as I expected. They expected it to be about 1.1, 1.2 seconds. Actually, it's closer to about 0.7 of a second, which is definitely going to factor into the strategy a bit later on. So Miyazono and Fraga, they're doing a good job right now. The tyre's still good. The tyre is still putting the lap time in. The last lap for Miyazono was a 106.9 to a 108.6 there from Serrano. So very bad lap there from Serrano. I think getting caught up in the gaggle a little bit there. But on good laps, they aren't actually that far apart. Yeah, about 6-7 tenths, I'd say. And there is on your screen right now the current tyre wear. And you can see the front tyres, or the right side tyres of Miyazono and Fraga, are starting to suffer.
We were talking to the team at Polyphony here just before we got into this one, and they said when the tyres get down to 20%, they're useless. You might as well have chewing gum on the bottom of those wheels, because you're just going to have no grip at all. So 40% is getting not too far away from squeaky bum time for these guys.
No, not quite. But yeah, Fraga right now on the 40% tyre wear. We'll keep an eye on that as we go on. But to be honest, this is where the tyres are used. It's these two corners, this right and this left. The rest, it's fairly easy to get the car through the corner because you can also rely on the aero grip produced by these GR Supras here. So that is also going to help you push into the corner. Interesting there, Miyazono actually putting away a little bit, and I think Fraga opted to try and get out the draft there for a second and then try and pull back on the straight, but it's not going to be too much longer before these guys are going to have to think about coming into the pits and replacing their tyres. Now, a quick reminder, you do have to use both the soft and the hard compounder tyre here, which is why there's such a split in strategy at the moment. So these guys are going to go onto the hard tyre, which is a bit slower, and then the rest will go onto the soft tyre, which should give us quite an interesting finish.
I'm just having a look at this. It's about 5% a lap or so that those front tyres are wearing out by on the soft compound.
It'll get worse as well. As the tyres start to get worse, they'll start to slide more, overheat more. It's just a vicious cycle of degradation, really. So Fraga there, yeah. And interestingly, Kylian Drummond opting to come into the pits early there and go onto that soft compounder tyre. Watch his outlap. He's going to have no draft, but he's not going to have anyone in his way either.
And he's going to have nice, fresh, soft rubber underneath him, which will be a very welcome sight. Fuel is not going to be a factor in this race. It's all about tyres, and it's all about this battle at the front between Igor Fraga and Takuma Miyazono. Who's going to be the first of the drivers to blink? Because Fraga's only got 3% more tyre wear than Takuma Miyazono, but 3%, as I said, it's about 5% or so a lap from what I've been observing over the last couple of laps or so. I wonder if he might have to go slightly earlier than he had planned to.
We will see. It's looking like way though, isn't it? Like 28%, that's going to start feeling pretty bad now for Igor. Will he go one more time around? I think he will. He's going to go one more time around. Miyazono will stay out with Fraga. He has no choice but to do that at the moment. The only reason he has any speed is because they're drafting each other. So the big question now is what's going to happen in the back of the field. Okay, so all the drivers coming in. Murdoch come in. No, he doesn't come in. Murdoch doesn't come into the pits there. That has confused me.
Well, let's have a look at his lap time. Last time around, it's a 1:08.3. If he doesn't come in next time around, I'm going to be keen to see what the difference is without the slipstream, just for sake of comparison. But as you say, so 5 drivers there are coming in of the hard tyres onto the medium compound, and then they're going to go back out all sort of line astern with one another.
My only guess is because Fraga's struggling so much on tyre wear, he's seen that and gone, you know what, I could have better tyres at the end here and go for the run. But I don't see why you would give up the slipstream. It feels like the easy choice to stay out and do that. But you know, he's here for a reason. He's a very quick driver, so we'll have to see if that strategy pays off for him. Meanwhile, it's Kawakami, Mangano and Serrano. Now, these guys have got to be clever now. They've got to now fight together and push together forward to the front to try and catch Fraga and Miyazono. Fraga's tyres dropping to 20% now.
Yeah, they're going to come in at this lap, absolutely no doubt about it, between Miyazono and Fraga. So only 3 drivers have now not pitted and made that mandatory change of tyres in this race. So Fraga's going to come in, then Miyazono is always going to follow suit. I can't imagine for a second that he's going to continue on, but let's have a look and see.
I think he's gone round, Tom.
I think he might be right.
He's gone round,
yeah. So that's an interesting strategy call. Murdoch also into the pits there from P3 as well. So Miyazono, we know he's not afraid of a bold strategy, but I'm keen to see if this is going to pay off for him, because his tyres are going to be very, very second-hand now. You can see there the rear tyres in particular, 18%.
I'm going to keep an eye on his sectors as he goes round and see what he does and see how he goes through there. First sector is slow. It's a 28.1. We expect that, though, without the draft, without the slipstream, so and a little bit slower than we're used to seeing there from Miyazono. He's really going to be struggling now, especially on these left-handers. That right-side tyre is so worn now. The car's going to be understeering like mad, but he's doing a good job keeping it on circuit. Fraga's going to know this too. He's going to be trying to chase him down that hard tyre. It's going to be a fresh hard tyre, and the difference between that and the soft is massive.
I guess the advantage for him is he's going to have newer tyres at the end of the race here to Takuma Miyazono, but what I don't understand is the point, because of course he's not going to be able to pull out more than his slipstream's gap compared to Igor Fraga here, and of course if he's able to get the slipstream, let's see what happens here for Takuma Miyazono and call it as we see it, but off to the soft tyres, onto the hard tyres here.
Well, we've had a version of this already. It's Murdoch, and he's come out 1.5 seconds behind Kawakami when he was right behind him coming into the pit lane, so we lost 1.5 seconds there by not
that's
being
out the slipstream range as well.
Yeah.
It's a second, 1.1 seconds or so for the slipstream range. What's going to happen here for Takuma Miyazono, and where is Igor Fraga going to emerge? There is Igor Fraga, so he's actually managed to leapfrog him. Well, okay, that works completely brilliantly for Takuma Miyazono here.
But of course, Fraga's up at max speed. Miyazono isn't. You can see Fraga's pulling onto the back of Takuma Miyazono here, back into the draft, back into slipstream range. But yeah, I've got to say, I'm impressed by the impact from Miyazono there. I had no idea he'd be able to do that. So here's a replay of what happened on lap 11 here. This might have been for the warning for Miyazono. We come into the left-hander, and apparently nothing happened. So thank you guys at Race Direction. We appreciate that. But I just wanted to show that these guys were racing on lap 11 as well.
Let's have another look, see if we can piece together. This is further back between Will Murdoch. This is just in front. So look at Serrano, Kawakami, Drumont and Giorgio Mangano. Oh, look at that. Kawakami getting a big tank slapper and going straight into the side of Kylian Drumont. That's why he has dropped out of contention and is now down in 8th place.
Wow. That was a big old slap, wasn't it? Poor Drumont. That's a real shame there. But yeah, it can happen. These cars are right on the edge around these corners there. They do have aero, these cars, but you're carrying 250, 260 k's from the corner. You know, I say I'm lucky enough to have been through a corner at 240 k's. And my God, it's scary. I can't imagine what it's like doing it at 260, 270. So, yeah, penalty there for Kawakami.
Yeah, colliding with another car, 2 seconds there for him. He'll have to serve that at the next penalty zone.
This might be a saving grace though for Will Murdoch, because that'll put him into the clutches of Will Murdoch, and they can work together and try and draft back onto the back of his pack here. Because right now Murdoch, he is 6th, so he'll still go through the repechage, but his chance of going through automatically to the final are not looking good right now.
Yeah, he needs to get himself, doesn't he, of course, in contention for that group. Just a reminder, the top 4 drivers are the ones who go through. 9 laps now remain here at the high-speed ring in semi-final A. Still plenty of time for things to change hands, and changing hands is the race lead with Igor Fraga versus Takuma Miyazono. 4 tenths of a second separating those two drivers. Miyazono getting the overcut absolutely beautifully last time around. Of course, he will have slightly fresher rubber than Igor Fraga at the end of this race as well, so that could be a very welcome sight there for Takuma Miyazono. Maybe that will be the thing that just gives him enough of an advantage.
In terms of lap time, Serrano is flying compared to Fraga. It's about the second and a half quicker on the last lap. So these guys on the soft tyres are now approaching fast to the hard tyre. A reminder that the top 4 go through automatically to the grand final. Of course, it's Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. 5th attempt to go through is the repechage for a bit of a, what we like to call a bit of a street fight in terms of sim racing terms. And 11th and 12th will go no further in this competition.
Well, there is Miyazono back through into the race lead. As you say, that gap has been coming down quite significantly. Let's have a look at the difference in lap times last time around. Giorgio Mangano a 106.8, Igor Fraga a 107.6, Takuma Miyazono a 108.3. Of course, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that there is going to be a change for the race lead here before the end of this one. There's still plenty of time for things to work out. I know, of course, you've got to consider the other variable is that those soft tyres, which will wear out quicker. So even if the likes of Serrano, Mangano and Serrano, etc., may be able to get onto the back, will they have enough tyre life to stay there when the checkered flag comes out?
Yeah, I'm interested to see that. Now, Murdoch, of course, I think is the latest person to pit on that soft tyre, so he's going to have the best tyres at the end, but only a little bit. Will that be enough, though? We saw Miyazono put on like an awesome lap on no tyres, so you know, it might not be enough wear here. So we're on lap 17 now. Strategies are starting to come together. Now, look in the background, just behind Igor Fraga, there is Giorgio Mangano. That's a gap between the now hard runners and the soft tyres runners behind them. So these guys are going to be aware of that, Miyazono and Fraga. And I think they've not done enough. I think they're going to be caught, and I think they're going to be passed fairly quickly by these soft tyres.
Well, let's see what happens then. You can see the gap visibly decreasing here between Fraga, Miyazono, Serrano and Mangano, who are in 3rd and 4th place there, respectively, as they come out of the run through turn 2 across the bridge and into what's technically, I guess, the infield section here of this high-speed ring circuit. These two giving as good as they can get at the front of this one. You can see there the difference in lap times. Not too different between the two of them, but keep an eye out between Serrano and Miyazono, 6 tenths of a second or so, just last time around.
Yeah, 1.7 the lap before that, so you can see Serrano's pushing 2.6 seconds now is the gap. You'll be able to see him in the same frame very, very shortly. So, hotting up here then in semi-final Group A for the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. Currently, it's Fraga and Miyazono at the head of the field, but they are being caught hand over fist by Serrano and Mangano behind. Will Murdoch just behind them, about 3 seconds back. So, this could actually be disaster for one of these guys at the top here. If all these drivers end up catching the top 2, one of these guys might not get the auto qualification.
Well, they need to start really... I want to say they need to start working together here, Miyazono and Fraga, but they can't. They can't do anything else, can they? They're literally just going to be sitting ducks at this point here. There's nothing more that they can do than what they are doing.
So why didn't this strategy work? I can tell you why it didn't work, because they went on the soft tyres early, and on those first few laps, they were still dragging around the guys on the hard tyres of the draft. And given that now the guys behind are on the soft compound tyre, they can use that speed without anyone slipstreaming them on different compound of tyres. So basically, they have uninterrupted speed for the entire time on that stint compared to the first stint.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I tell you what this does mean for semi-final B. You're going to see a lot of drivers who maybe were thinking about the soft tyre going and starting on the hard tyre now, aren't you?
Do you reckon that when you made that choice and they're sitting there thinking, oh, balls.
It's too late now.
I wish I didn't do that. Oh, well. But here is Serrano. There's Mangano in front, and then just in front, there is Igor Fraga. The gap is now down to 1.5 seconds, getting very, very close to being within slipstream range. So in a couple of laps, we are going to see a fight for the lead. There is no doubt about that.
But are they going to have the tyre life at the end to be able to hold on to that race lead? It could be a bit of a dogfight here. Here comes Serrano, though, up the inside and through on Giorgio Mangano for third place. Those two just giving as good as they can get. The gap has, as you see, visibly come down 1.2 seconds. They're nearly within that slipstream range, and once they get there, it's going to be good night Vienna for Fraga and Miyazono. For the time being, there's 4.5 laps remaining here, and it's anybody's guess at the moment. You know it's a matter of when and not if for Serrano and Mangano, but as I said, the question is, can they stay there until the checkered flag, or will their tyres fall off that cliff?
Let's find out. 5 laps left, 5 and a bit laps left here of semi-final Group A, and here is Serrano right on the back now of Miyazono and Fraga. Will they be able to stay with him on that soft compound tyre through that midfield? We saw earlier on in the race the soft tyre did really well in the mid-section of the circuit compared to the hard compound. So that is where Serrano's going to have to try and strike and try and get through as quick as possible. Look at this, the speed difference for the last corner there. Already onto the back of Miyazono. Easy. Through goes Serrano past Miyazono. And then now Serrano's going to try and chuck in to the slipstream of Igor Fraga. But Mangano's there as well. So it's now 3 cars for second position. Miyazono goes to the inside, tucks back into the slipstream. And Fraga is just a sitting duck out front. All he can do is drive his line and probably watch Serrano and Mangano just drive right by him. So there goes Mangano to the top. Through goes Mangano into the lead.
So 4 drivers then battling for the race lead. Who's on the inside? It's Igor Fraga. On the outside there is Giorgio Mangano. But for how long? Serrano there ready to drive. Miyazono goes round. He goes off onto the infield, manages to recover it quite nicely, and thankfully doesn't lose too much time there for him, but nonetheless that's put him out of contention for the time being, and of course won't be doing him many favours for the tyre life as well.
We're going to have to see a replay on that one. I'm not sure if someone understeered up into him or at the moment on that tyre, that hard compounded tyre, but that puts Will Murdoch then, the British driver, up into automatic qualification for the grand final. So that's a godsend there for Murdoch. Up into 4th place he goes. Miyazono drops now behind Kawakami, and that means our lead battle is now between Giorgio Mangano, Igor Fraga and Jose Serrano. And again for Fraga, same sort of thing. That's a bit of a godsend.
Absolutely. The thing is here for Miyazono is he's not got the pace because he's got the slower compound tyres. For those around him now, he's on the soft tyres, he's on the hard tyres, everyone else is on the soft. He's going to be a sitting duck here as Serrano goes 2 by 2 with Igor Fraga and back through into second place. Under investigation is that incident here between Serrano and Miyazono. So we'll see a replay of this one, I'm sure, before long, but that has really thrown the cat amongst the pigeons.
So if it's Serrano's fault, this could also be a penalty for him, just to put him out of the automatic qualification here. So drama, late race here in semi-final Group A, but you can see how on edge these cars are. Just a single tap like that and you are a passenger. And we know how talented Miyazono is. He had no chance of catching that. Here is a replay. Let's see what happens. So we're watching Mangano go around the outside here. We've got Miyazono on our outside. There goes Serrano, comes down a little bit. Oh, I did racing incident, I think, Tom. I find it really hard to apply a penalty to that. Or Serrano got a really good corner exit and just had nowhere to go, touched him, and then that would be on him.
I think it was 6 in one, half dozen of the other, just looking at that specific angle of it, because as you say, Serrano got great drive going through there. Miyazono was on the outside. It was just a case of 2 going into 1, and it just didn't happen. There was no intention, of course, there from Serrano. And when you're driving like that, the thing is, when these cars are on the limit, you should be able to literally push them round with one finger, and that just goes to show the smallest smattering of contact there has just cost Miyazono very dear. He's now 6th place. He's going to be fighting through in the repechage at this rate, and he's going to be wondering where it all went wrong as well.
Well, the stewards don't care if you're meant to do it or not. If it's naughty, they'll give you a slap regardless. They're very violent stewards we have here on the GT. But here is now a very important battle. This is the battle for 4th place. Why is that significant? Because the top 4 get auto qualification through to the grand final here today. So currently that position is occupied by Will Murdoch. Kawakami who had been in the wars a bit later on, earlier on, sorry, is now right there with potential to steal this away on the last couple of laps. Miyazono is still just about holding on there on that hard compounder tyre, so he's not out of it yet, but he's given that he's gone round, he's heated up those tyres as well, he's having a pretty decent drive there to try and get anywhere near the cars in front. But watch out for Igor Fraga. If he falls off the back of Serrano, he's going to come right into the clutches of these 3 cars.
Yeah, he's some half a second slower is Takuma Miyazono, who's driving out of his skin just to keep on the coattails here of Kawakami versus Will Murdoch, which, as you say, is a great battle that is really beginning to come into its own now. And of course, both drivers on the soft tyres, both have got good grip underneath them relative to one another. I have to say Kawakami's tyres are a little bit more worn than Will Murdoch's, of course, because Murdoch pitted that lap later, and that might just be a bit of a saving grace here for him, because if he then suddenly has to start following Kawakami, he'll have a little bit more grip underneath him.
Well, lap and a half left then of this race, and welcome to Chess at 280 kilometers an hour. Where these guys position their cars now for this next lap and a half is going to be just so important. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you're going to be drafted by and have nothing you can do about it. So Murdoch now, right now, is in 4th, but he is giving the slipstream to Kawakami. Will Kawakami use that and try and get ahead and stay ahead on this next lap? Serrano giving a 3-second penalty there for that contact. In my opinion, a fairly harsh penalty there from the stewards, but that pretty much makes this battle inconsequential, and that might save Miyazono if he can stay. No, Miyazono's a bit too far back now, but yeah, Serrano, will he stay in the top 4? Then he won't, will he?
I think it's going to put him into the repechage. I think you could be quite right. Let's have a look, because it's not only the 3 seconds you lose, it's all the time you lose where you're slowing down here then.
Kawakami by Murdoch now, so the Kawakami through on Murdoch's in there. He goes into the grand final automatically, but only for a second though. Murdoch fighting back on the inside. We know that inside line can cause contact if we're not careful. Opts to stay there for now. I'm wondering though when Serrano's going to be serving this penalty.
It'll be post-race, it'll be put in post, because of course it's too late in the race then here, so it's all about Kawakami as well. And here comes Giorgio Mangano. He's been away like a frightened cat since he got into the lead. 1.3 seconds, he's got enough of a buffer, and of course he's got a driver behind with a penalty here then as well. Here is the penalty zone, so Serrano will serve this on the final lap, then I wonder whether he would. He's going to lose out here to Igor Fraga. Is he going to lose out to Kawakami versus Murdoch? This is going to be crucial here for Jose Serrano. It really is going to be delight for Giorgio Mangano as he comes through the final corner. Serrano loses out to Kawakami and Will Murdoch. He'll be going through into the repechage then. Drama late race as Giorgio Mangano wins semi-final A for the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. Igor Fraga comes home second on the hard tyres. It's Kawakami and Murdoch, the 2 drivers, who will qualify automatically for the grand final here for the GRGT Cup, and it is a disaster for Serrano. He is going to be absolutely, well, I'm trying to find a superlative to describe it. He's going to be very frustrated following that one after finishing P5. He is the first of the drivers who will go through into the repechage along with Miyazono, Labutale, Drummond, Sirigaya and Takuma Sasaki.
Yeah, drama's the right word for it, isn't it? It was such an easy mistake to make, so easy to do that. But Giorgio Mangano there, happy with his semi-final win there. He'll be hoping to carry that speed into the grand final. And Miyazono wondering what could have been there if he wasn't, as the stewards decided, punted by Jose Serrano. But Serrano there, right at the end of the race, dropping down to P5. He'll have to do that all again to get through to the grand final in the repechage.
Should remind you, of course, the stewards have got various cameras they can go back through. They can look at whatever they want to, effectively, in that instant. They, of course, have got the information there to deem that decision as they did with Jose Serrano. They deemed it penalty worthy, and that means that he goes into the repechage at the last dramas in that race. So let's have a look, shall we, at highlights then from that race. It was Jose Serrano and Igor Fraga who led the field in the early stages, but it was Takuma Miyazono who came through in the first couple of corners on the soft tyres, and then it was Fraga versus Miyazono. This was the drama on the first lap here. Labutale having contact there with Sasaki, as well as Cross getting involved, who was probably very cross after that incident, which dropped him out of contention. Here was Fraga versus Miyazono, and this is where those 2 races started to diverge, because they alternated strategies. It all kicked off behind. That was Kylian Drummond's undoing. Contact there, sending him out of contention.
Undoing's nothing. He got sent to the shutter round lead. He ain't coming back. Here's where we saw a strategy divergence. Murdoch opting to go for a lap longer. To be honest, I think that wasn't the right strategy, but it worked out from all right in the end. Miyazono, though, awesome in-lap on the way in to actually jump Igor Fraga on the way out, but it wouldn't matter. The slipstream will bring him back into contention once again. Kawakami, of course, getting a penalty for that contact with Drummond.
And it was, of course, in the latter stage of the race where it really began to get into into its own. This was the moment that defined it for Takuma Miyazono. Contact with Jose Serrano, sending him out of contention, meaning that he has to go through into the repechage. Here's another look at the incident there. And I suppose you could argue that Serrano could have possibly gotten out the throttle a little bit earlier. He was awarded a 3-second penalty at the very end of that race. It drops him out of contention, out of the top 4, out of automatic qualification for the grand final, as Mangano was a masterclass in that race. What a drive it was for Giorgio, the winner of the first ever World Tour event back in 2018, and he is on top in semi-final A for the GAZOO Racing GT Cup, ahead of Igor Fraga, Kawakami and Murdoch, progressing through into the grand final. Serrano, Miyazono, Labutale, Drummond, Sirigaya and Sasaki will go through into the repechage, the last chance qualifier. Sadly, we say goodbye to Cross and Yahal from this race. Anyway, let's go down to Julia, who is with our winner, Giorgio Mangano.
Yes, that's right. Thanks, Tom. How do you feel after that? That seemed a little bit intense. Was it intense?
Yes, it was very intense. I feel good to have a win after a very long time. So, yeah, it was a lot of battles. I was also a bit lucky to escape. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
What did you think was right about your strategy? How did you manage to get ahead? Because it was, you know, we weren't quite sure about halfway through, but...
Yeah, I chose hard tires for the start, so I managed to keep the pace with the guys, with Josete, and then with the soft, it was just full gas, and
send
then
it.
Yes, just send it.
Yeah. So you can relax for a little bit now, because there's no repechage for you. Who do you think out of your semi-final in the repechage, who do you think's got a good chance?
You mean from mine?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Josete was very fast. I know with Toyotas he's also very fast, so we'll have to look for him.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, big congratulations. Give him a round of applause. Come on. It's a hard race. We're going to chuck it back to Tom and Jimmy.
Okay, so cheers, Jules. Let's have a look, shall we, at the weekend schedule. So, the GAZOO Racing GT Cup, of course, is what is happening here today. The Nations Cup regional finals take place here tomorrow for the GT World Series. We've got the finals for the Manufacturers Cup on Saturday, and then the big one, the grand final for the Nations Cup on Sunday here this weekend in magnificent Monte Carlo. We're very much looking forward to seeing which of our drivers are going to be crowned the champions, and of course, we're going to be crowning one here this evening as well. I mean, let's talk about Takuma Miyazono from that race. Goodness me.
To pay respects to
quite.
Miyazono. That is such a shame for him, and it's such an easy incident to be involved in as well, especially at that stage where there's different speeds, different tyre wears, and different strategies at play. And he's just a passenger there. He took it fairly well, and well, here's another look at the incident if you did miss it a bit earlier on. So we have Serrano coming through behind, just taps the back of Miyazono, switches him round, and of course, to be fair, a masterful recovery there from Takuma Miyazono, keeping the rear tyres lit up. Here's how it looked from the camera here. Easy, and then a little bit of a chat with Fraga earlier afterwards saying, I wish that didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've only seen a couple of angles of it. The stewards have got all of the data they can work out, and I suppose, playing devil's advocate, just looking at that, you could argue maybe Serrano should have gotten out of the throttle. Maybe.
I think that there's racing is chaotic, and that was a chaotic incident. And I don't know if 3 seconds was fair, but I'm not a steward. But I'm here just to annoy them. They're not going to be very nice to me later on.
And offend them by calling them, what did you say, they were violent in the race or something like that. You're going to be off their Christmas card list. Anyway, that was semi-final A. Let's move over to semi-final B then, shall we, here in Monaco. So another 12 drivers taking to the high-speed ring. Lucas Bonelli will start on pole position alongside Baptiste Beauvoir, Robbie Heck from America with Adriano Carrazza, Dean Helt ahead of Milana, then the Indonesian driver, then Al Mahari from Qatar in P7, Busnelli, Barbara, Gallo, Kobayashi and Matt McEwen down there in P12. 3 drivers failing to set a time after incidents on their qualifying laps, but that means that they're going to have a lot of work to do, and I wonder whether with a lot of work they're going to have a lot of different strategies to involve.
Yeah, great, of course, to have Milana here as well, one of the qualifiers from the actual GT Cup there, so good to have him here, first time at one of his events, so I wonder how he's going to deal with the pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. Here is Kobayashi as well. This is a driver who we saw last year in the GAZOO Racing GT Cup Finals, managed to finish on the podium.
That's a child, Tom. He's so young, 17 years old, but also a real racing driver in F4. Very, very quick in F4. Had his first win recently, so congratulations, Mr. Kobayashi. He'd be hoping for the same here, but not off to a good start, though, after qualifying.
Yeah, no, he's been competing in the under-18 category, has Kobayashi, but we're about ready then to go for the Group B semi-final here for the Toyota GT Cup. Drivers are lined up on the grid, and the tension is in the air as the final checks take place. Here we are, ready to go. So, the Toyota GR Supra Racing concept is the car. The high-speed ring, once again, is the venue, and it's Lucas Bonelli, a Brazilian, on pole position. Alongside him on the front row is Baptiste Beauvoir, the Frenchman, alongside, the next row of the grid, I should say, is Robbie Heck from the United States of America, with Adriano Carrazza, 2 Brazilians inside the top 5. Then it is Dean Helt in 5th position, with Milana for company in P6. Al-Nahari from Qatar making his debut in the World Series with Busnelli in P8 alongside him. Guy Barbara from Australia lines up P9, and he has got Valerio Gallo, the 2021 Nations Cup champion for company. Then it is Kobayashi in P11. P12, Matt McEwen, the Kiwi, completing the 12-driver strong field here, Jimmy.
So interestingly, Kobayashi is the only driver on the soft compound of tyre. Now we saw in the last race that the soft compound didn't really work, I don't think. I think it was very much hard to soft was the way to go. But Kobayashi, I think, may be looking for an aggressive start, which will definitely have on that soft compound of tyre, but will it be able to pull away from the guys behind without a partner?
I suppose he's probably trying to do is have an advantage where he's so far back in the field, because of course he made a complete haulix of his qualifying and wants to try and make as much forward progress whilst the field's bunched up.
Yeah, that's all I can really imagine he'll do, but I don't see the strategy working. It didn't work in the last race when drivers are using each other as partners. I don't think it will work here, but we'll find out. 25 laps of high-speed ring coming up for semi-final B.
So the crowd watches on here. The field is lined up on the grid as we get ready to go racing. Then 25 laps of the high-speed ring for semi-final B for the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup about to get underway. It's Lucas Bonelli who leads from pole position as we go green and we go racing for the second time here for semi-final B at the high-speed ring. On board we ride here with Lucas Bonelli, followed by Baptiste Beauvoir, then Robbie Heck. It's all even Stevens at the front on the hard compound of tyre, and already going for the outside line, the higher line, is Baptiste Beauvoir there. Keep an eye out for Robbie Heck, who's trying to pick the pocket of Baptiste Beauvoir, trying to thread the eye of a needle at 280 kilometres an hour. Keep an eye out on the inside there as well. It's all getting pretty feisty. We're nearly 4-5 wide, possibly sometimes down in towards the next series of corners, and it's Milana, who gets through into the race lead from 6th on the grid.
Come on, boys, keep it clean. They have done there through T2, just about anyway, as we come now down to the middle section. Milana in the lead there from Baptiste Beauvoir, but nearly in seconds. They're trading places up front. We'll keep an eye on Kobayashi coming through, already up to P7 on that soft compound tyre. He needs to go fast and go early if he wants to make the most of that tyre. He is up to P6 now, so an awesome opening lap here. P5 for Kobayashi, so from 10th there to 5th position, an awesome start. I think 11th actually. He's now battling with Dean Helt at the front of the field, though. Baptiste Beauvoir has taken the lead back from Milana, but Bonelli there in third. They are starting to break away a little bit there from the rest of the pack.
It's an under investigation at the first corner, not surprised, because there was a lot of argy-bargy, a lot of pushing and shoving going on. And further back, here comes Milana then, whose Christmases will have all come at once. First time in one of these World Series events, and he's leading the way. But for how long? Because Lucas Bonelli's on the higher line, trying to go for the outside as they run at 2x2. So it's Indonesian versus Brazilian. Keep an eye out for Baptiste Beauvoir, who's trying to get involved as well in the slipstream on the run down in towards the next corner. And on the inside there is Kobayashi as well on the soft tyre.
Kobayashi trying to take 3 places at once there on the inside. He can't quite do it. It's not a fast line on the inside there. So now up to 4th place. But look at that absolute gaggle behind him as he goes into the right hand. And I have to say already, this is too long for Kobayashi. He needs to be in the lead and pulling away at this point on the soft compound attack. Doesn't last long. Up into 3rd place he goes. Can he get 2 for 1? Not quite there. But you can see the tyre advantage being on the soft compound at this stage is absolutely massive. But it will fall away towards the end of the stint. So we're going to have to see something quite special here for Kobayashi if he's going to make this strategy work.
Well, let's see what happens. He rides on board in P3 and he's got great grip there on the inside. Trying to go for the inside line, picking the pocket. It's the supermarket deal here possibly for Kobayashi. 2 for the price of 1 as they come down the start-finish straight. Then he's on the inside. Of course, he's not having that whole push in the air in front of him. He's not in the slipstream here, and Bonelli decides to dart into it. Here comes Baptiste Beauvoir then as well as they come in towards the first corner. Carrazza's got an incident there for colliding with another car. Goes into the back of Kobayashi. Kobayashi's then on the outside. Benelli in the middle of all of this, in a bit of a sandwich at the moment. It's getting really scrappy. And Benelli goes round, big contact there, and it's all kicking off in the mid-pack here. Huge drama at the start of lap 3, as lots of drivers getting caught up in that incident. It's going to absolutely spoil the race of the likes of Lucas Benelli, Adriano Carrazza, and Busnelli possibly there as well. But it all kicked off in big fashion.
That was still going on. So McEwen, Benelli, Busnelli, Barbara, Maraghi, Carrazza, all involved in that incident. The stewards are rubbing their hands together gleefully. Our lovely angry stewards at the back of the field there. But massive drama. That's actually allowed Milana a little bit of breathing room. And look who else is there from the back of the grid. Valerio Gallo has made his way back up into second place there. Kobayashi still in the pack. And for now, I really think Kobayashi's not done enough to make this strategy work. But Gallo, who started all the way down in 10th place, up into second.
I think it would be like Moses parting the seas or something like that for Valerio Gallo, the amount of progress he made on that last lap. Here we go in towards the first corner. Beauvoir is on Gallo's inside line then. It goes through into 4th place for now. Kobayashi tries to go around the outside of Dean Helt, who's managed to make great progress following others' misfortune. And look at this, so 5 drivers who weren't even close to one another a lap or so ago, and now they're fighting for the race lead here. This is unbelievable.
Who picked this circuit?
Was it you?
Who was it?
Was it you? I think it was you.
Own up, boys. But, yeah, I mean, it's been a lively one, to say the least, for both semi-final A and for now for semi-final B. So let's see what happens. We're on board with Guy Barbara, and you can see in front, cars all over the place. There's contact at the bottom there. Heck and Carrazza and Benelli, there was basically everyone just touched each other at the same time, just small sideways contact. Everyone reacted to it, and it just ended up having this massive effect. And interesting, Milana and Kobayashi are actually under investigation. Kobayashi finally at the front of the field, but that soft tyre will start falling away from him soon.
It's too late for him though, because he's of course having the slipstream for drivers in behind as well here. Dean Helt and Baptiste Beauvoir, etc. They're going to be able to keep onto his coattails because they've got that hole being pushed in front of them, and they're going to be sort of 10, 12 kilometres an hour quicker in a straight line. And immediately, as you can see that coming through the first corner, he's already under threat here for the race lead. So I don't think this is going to be a strategy that's going to pay dividends, at least at this point here for Kobayashi. But as we know, this race can turn on its head very quickly. It did just a couple of laps ago, so maybe there'll be a bit of a saving grace here, and maybe that strategy will work out as Beauvoir tries to go 3 wide down the inside on Milana and Beauvoir here.
Yes, Gallo on the inside there. He's looking very fighty at the moment. I think he doesn't want to let this front pack get away. And everyone's having the same thought, though. Bear in mind, if you have just joined us, it's only the top 4 cars here from semi-final Group B that go through automatically to the grand final. 5th to 10th goes through to the Repechage, the last chance race, and 11th and 12th will go out automatically right now. That's Carrazza and Maraghi down in 11th and 12th.
So, through the final corner we go then. 5 drivers all squabbling for position. We're going to have another look at a replay of exactly what happened here. Here's Ryuta Kobayashi's viewpoint of it. Keep an eye out for then Carrazza on the outside. Here's Benelli. So Benelli, did he move over there on Heck just slightly?
I don't know. I'm not sure if Heck caused that or not. We've had a couple of replays now. I mean, Carrazza's unfortunately not got the best reputation amongst some of the racers around here, but I don't think that was on him that time.
It's difficult to tell because you could see that Heck had great straight line speed. He had the overspeed coming through there, and it looked from that angle, and that's only from that angle I'm saying, it looked as though he just moved over ever so slightly.
We're being told that it was actually Heck that caused that. He bumped Benelli, and then it sort of caused this absolutely massive thing going on, but we'll have to wait until we get a replay of that. So we're just looking at we can see Robbie Heck, actually, we've got it here. He very slowly moved up into Carrazza.
Yeah, he jinked
Benelli, and
exactly.
That's it.
Exactly, you're right. He jinked right, then jinked left, and that was kind of what caused it. That's very unfortunate there for Robbie Heck, and my apologies to Adriano Carrazza. Still under investigation that incident. No penalties being awarded at this stage. We're on lap 6 out of 25, so still a good chunk of this race to go, but somebody's going to get a slap on the wrist, or possibly a bit more than a slap on the wrist at this point.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see for that. But meanwhile, the race is still going on. Kobayashi has pulled about a second a gap lead out of the guys behind. Not quite breaking the draft yet. Dean Helt goes on in 3rd behind Baptiste Beauvoir. Milana there, a fast starter in 4th position with Heck and Gallo behind. Realistically now, this fight is between only 6 cars. The rest of them are out of contention for the top 6 anyway. Of course, a reminder, if you're in 10th to 5th, you do go through to the repechage, but it's not auto qualification. So that's what everyone's fighting for at the moment. So here it is. Robbie Heck is awarded with a 3-second penalty colliding with another car. So that was caused by Robbie Heck. Of course, I don't think it was intentional, but at those speeds, it doesn't matter.
The problem is, it doesn't save anybody else's race, that penalty, does it? I mean, 3 seconds, of course, it's going to destroy Robbie Heck's race. It's going to bring him out of slipstream contention. But the likes of Benelli, Barbara, Busnelli, all of the drivers who are outside of the top 5 now have had their race all but ruined.
Yeah, but interesting, it means now the fight is actually really between 5 cars. So, and only one of those cars is not going to go through to the grand final a bit later on today. So it kind of takes pressure off a little bit some of these drivers, but not all of them. So that penalty will hurt though, and you can see in the bottom left there, that's what I've been hyped on about for the last couple of minutes. So important to try and be in the top 4 if you can.
I have to say, very impressed with Andina Ramamalana, the Indonesian driver, currently circulating there in P4. He finished second in the GT Cup in Asia this year. He was one of the drivers who then, of course, with those 2 spaces that were up for grabs in the Asian Championship, qualified here for the World Finals for the GT Cup, and it's great to see him fighting at the sharp end. Of course, he benefited from the incidents that have happened behind him, but he has had good pace, you know, qualified inside the top 6 and made really, really good progress in the opening couple of laps.
He'd be there anyway, Tom, I think. He'd be there anyway. He's got that pace. So regardless of those incidents, he has just been quick, and he's been one of the, I think, the happier looking competitors I've seen around here. We got the same transfer from the airport, and the guy had a camera in his hand, like a tourist, he's having a great time. So hopefully he'll have an even better time if we can get through, of course, to the grand final. So Gallo, he's fallen off the back a little bit here, so he's going to be wary of this, because if he falls out of the draft, even Valerio Gallo, of course, who is our 2021 Nations Cup champion and Olympic Virtual Series champ as well, very quick guy, but even if he falls off the back, he's not going to be able to bring that gap back down again, but he's still within draft range for now.
Just wondering what Gallo's sort of strategy is going to be here. I wonder whether he is just going to keep a watching brief on it. He, as you say, needs to keep himself in that gap. Heckers, by the way, served his penalty, as you can see. A bit of contact there with the wall in front, and now the wall collision is very much being monitored by the stewards.
Was that Milana there going in to help? Because that could be a penalty.
Or help repaying the favour at the next corner if it was.
There you go, stewards. It's fine. Don't worry about it now. Let him race. Let him race. They're still together. Don't give him another penalty. I want to see this race go down to the wire for now. But that has allowed Gallo to, again, drive onto the back of these guys in front. Now, you have to think that Kobayashi, he's thrown this one. I don't think the strategy is good enough. And you might think, well, Jimmy, he's leading right now. He is. Well done. You have eyes. But he's only 3 seconds ahead at the moment. He needs a gap of, realistically, about 10 to 12 seconds before the pit stop. Otherwise, he's just not going to go forward. Gallo going for a very early stop onto that soft compound. Will this pay off?
Well, I was wondering what his strategy is then here, because it's lap 9 out of 25. It's early. I mean, we were expecting it to be at least lap 12, lap 13, halfway stage, effectively, of this race before he came into the pits. He's gone on lap 9, onto the soft compound of tyres. What's going through the mind of Valerio Gallo?
I don't think this is going to work. For context, Miyazono came in, I think, with 16% left on one of his tyres. Gallo with a 3-second penalty there, so he must have had a bad pit entry or something. Oh, disaster for Valerio Gallo. It's always seemingly a simple mistake for Valerio, and there it is again. So that would have been for entering the pits too late, basically, for crossing the line.
Yeah, of course, stewards do keep a watching eye on that. We haven't had official confirmation of that, but if that's what it was, that is a big shame there for him. Meanwhile, at the sharp end of the field, it is still Kobayashi with a 3.8-second advantage over the likes of Dean Helt, Baptiste Beauvoir and Milana then. So you can see these 3 drivers who are all squabbling for position. Here is Rikuto Kobayashi. And as he comes down the start-finish straight, nobody else really within the same picture, but they will be quite soon because these tyres are wearing out at a vast rate of knots compared to those around him. But I say that, Helt and Beauvoir opt to come into the pit lane at the end of lap 11. Again, that's early.
He seems to be wearing the tyres a bit better than Miyazono did, though, from my memory from the last race. I might be wrong, but yeah, keeping that tyre alive is going to be important for Kobayashi now. But the thing is, the drivers behind him are going to be on a fresher, soft compound tyre, so they're going to be quick. So he's got to really keep an eye out for that. And Dean Helt with a 3-second penalty as well. What is going on in that pit lane?
Yeah, it's almost like the pit lane line is lava and the drivers keep touching it at the moment. Meanwhile, Beauvoir sitting behind Helt. But the thing is, this is going to compromise Beauvoir's race as well because he's having the slipstream at the moment, nice and happy, but Helt's going to get that penalty and he's going to be sort of in no man's land here for a little while.
You know, he's probably sitting pretty right now as Milana. He's all right, second place right now. He hasn't got a draft, but, you know, he can come into the pits. I'd say come into the pits now, though, if I was Milana. If everyone else, you have to react to it. You can't pretend it's not happening. Go on to that soft compound tyre. He could win this race.
It's very much within the realms of possibility. Just confirmation in my ears from our producers that the penalties have been awarded for the drivers for crossing the pit entry line, exactly as you said there, Jimmy. Yeah, they've got to be towards that dotted line. They've got to be on the inside of that early, and it's a slam dunk, unfortunately.
I mean, rules are rules, but come on, man. It's a race. Like, it doesn't make them any faster. Doesn't improve their race. But, you know, as I said, if those are the rules, they've agreed to it, then there's no argument, unfortunately.
Robbie Heck into the pits from, well, what was third position at that point, because everybody else is pitted around him. He was up at the sharper end of the field. I suppose the saving grace here for Robbie Heck is he had a 3-second penalty, but two drivers who were in front of him have now been awarded 3-second penalties as well. So at least it brings him into slightly closer contention.
Semi-final B is sort of like the rule breaker split, is it?
It seems to be.
What I've seen so far. But
it's the kids that end up in detention. That's what semi-final B is, isn't it?
I never did that. I was a good boy.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a second. Funnily enough.
Kobayashi's time's still good. He's still got about a second a lap on the car behind. What's his tyres looking like? His tyres are looking okay. I reckon he's got a little bit more in him. I don't know. I know I gave Kobayashi a little bit of stick here, but he's making his tyres go longer. He's still got the speed. We didn't see the speed from Miyazono and from Fraga in the last race. So I think he's got a chance. But Busanelli has sort of been put back into the race, well, as has Guy Barbara. They both haven't pitted yet, but they might have a chance to come back into this with all the penalties that have been handed out.
Milano actually following the strategy that was written down by the team at Bolifany Digital, coming in at the end of lap 12, as well as Busanelli, Barbara, McEwen et al, as they go on to the soft tyres. Everybody else behind them, of course, have made their pit stops, so that is going to be a welcome sight for Baptiste Beauvoir, who, as I said, it's somewhat in no man's land because he was lucky where he had Dean Helt in front of him. He was able to have that slipstream, but it's not the case now for him. Let's see what happens as the rest of the field comes out of the pits.
Just praying there for no more penalties. Good job, lads. You ran into the pits correctly. Good to see. But Kobayashi right now, 22 seconds clear of Baptiste Beauvoir, who that early stop for him, he's doing 106s on his own at the moment, which is about the fastest that we've seen so far, apart from Benelli, went a bit quicker earlier on with the bump draft. But he is going to have worn tyres towards the end of this race. Now, Kobayashi, our leader, comes into the pit lane. He will be leading when he comes back out again, but he'll be on that hard compounder tyre, so he's going to have a pace deficit to the cars behind him. They're going to reel him in slowly as the race comes to a close. So has he done enough? We're going to have to wait and see.
Nervous faces then for Kobayashi down here at Monaco. Let's see what it's like as he emerges, as Al-Mahari, the Qatar driver, comes into the pits then from P3. Milana also very much within a shout of getting a podium in this race. He'll automatically qualify for the grand final, which will be brilliant there for him. I don't know if it's going to be quite enough for him to be involved in victory contention, because it is the man who we're riding on board with, Baptiste Beauvoir, who's got 3 seconds of a deficit to close down. Soft compound tyres underneath him, which are about 6 or 7 tenths of a lap faster, and he's got time. He's got 7 or 8 laps to do so in order to be able to get himself onto the back, as Milana gets a warning there for colliding with another car.
I don't know who, though. There's no one around him. Well, not anymore. Maybe they've been fired off. But Baptiste Beauvoir, he's in the right place in terms of circuit right now. He's catching Kobayashi. He's got the right tyre. Kobayashi's going to have absolutely no defence here against this soft compounder tyre. But he pitted so much earlier. I don't know what his tyre's going to be like at the end.
I'll tell you who's going to be kicking himself is Dean Helt, because of course if he didn't have that 3-second penalty, he'd have been right with Baptiste Beauvoir at this point. Those two are on the same strategy effectively, and well, though he is in 4th place, though he is set to, at the moment, automatically qualify for the grand final, he has got Valerio Gallo right up his rear spoiler, and he's only a couple of tenths of a second back, both those drivers on the same compound of tyres.
We might see towards the end drama for Beauvoir. I might see his tyres go. We've been told by the guys at Bolifany that below 20% the tyres start getting pretty dodgy, and he's definitely going to be in that towards the end of the race. Gallo moves up into 4th place after his penalty, back into auto qualification for the grand final. 10 laps then left here in semi-final Group B. Strategy's starting to come together now, so we're going to see, I think, things heat up a little bit towards the end of the race here at the high speed. Here's a replay. So here's the replay of what happened earlier on. This is on board from Dean Helt's perspective.
So let's see as we run up on. This is Milana. This is what he was given a warning for there. So that was a bang left, a bang right. Beauvoir getting involved in the action there as well. It was all kicking off, wasn't it?
Earlier in the race. So I think the steward's trying to catch up, bless him, with all the stuff that's gone on there. But yeah, that's a fairly easy warning there. So we're now looking back over the rear spoiler of Kobayashi. Baptiste Beauvoir behind, just driving up to the back of us now. Going to be an easy overtake here for Baptiste, who's using the draft now. Can Kobayashi hold on? So he doesn't need to finish first here, he needs to finish in the top 4. That is what he needs to do to go through to the grand final. So if he can tag on to the back to Baptiste Beauvoir, who's on his soft compound tyre, this might be the way he stays there.
Well, Beauvoir, of course, pitted early in this race. He's going to have very worn-out tyres by the end of it. As you say, if he can just sit there and keep an eye on Beauvoir, not lose him too much, when Beauvoir's tyres fall off a cliff later on, that might be the saving grace there. But look at the grip coming out of that corner. You can just see visibly there the difference between the hard tyre and the soft tyre. We talk about it a lot, but the traction on the exit there for Beauvoir was incredible. It's already up to sort of 0.6 of a second, that gap, for the time being.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that, and if Kobayashi can stay there or not. But it's out of these things, as you said, the traction zones, where you just can't quite get the power down in the same way, and you lose time all the way up to the next corner, and Kobayashi almost already out of that draft range. And before long, he's going to see Milana behind him as well, only 2 seconds behind him, and closing rapidly. So Kobayashi now, you see the faces start to turn a bit more to, oh dear. Oh no.
The face of dread, something that I'm very familiar with working with you.
Hello, mate.
Down the start-finish straight comes Rakusa Kobayashi then. So, at 1.1 seconds, the deficit now sits. He's falling out of that slipstream range against Baptiste Beauvoir. So, that's not what he wants to see. This is what Valerio Gallo wants to see. It's Dean Helt in front of him. It's an opportunity to progress automatically into the grand final. He's all over his rear spoiler as they come on the run down in towards turn number 2. He's going to hold firm for the time being. Is Valerio Gallo, but you can see visibly he's got a bit of pace, bit of a mistake there for Dean Helt. He just clips the wall on the outside, goes over the bridge, down into sort of the slower infield section of this high-speed ring. You can see there Helt just making an ever so slight of a mistake there, just a little bit wide on the entry into that corner, carrying a bit too much speed.
Hope you guys like spice, because this is what this last few laps are going to be here in semi-final Group B. Bear in mind, of course, we're going to have 4 drivers go through for that final slot and 5 drivers fighting for it. So one is going to have to go through the repechage, and none of his drivers want that, especially this man, Valerio Gallo, who would probably think to himself, I should be winning this race right now, if not for that 3-second penalty. So he gets him to the draft of Helt behind. But bear in mind, all the time these guys are fighting, they are going to lose time to Milana in front, who is also driving up now to the back of Kobayashi. Last lap for Milana, 106.6, 107.7 for Kobayashi.
So then, of course, Milana made that pit stop on the soft tyres earlier on. Now let's have a look at the gap. What's that? He's what, half a second away, so 2 seconds away. So what's that? 2.5 seconds he's away from Baptiste Beauvoir, but he's got newer tyres underneath him. I think there's going to be a bit of an insurmountable gap for that race lead. But if Beauvoir's tyres fall off that cliff, it's not out of the realms of possibility.
Easy overtake there from Milana, up the inside there, up into P2, but by Kobayashi. Kobayashi, nothing he can do on those hard tyres apart from watch it. It must be horrible there behind the steering wheel for the Japanese driver. Now, will Milana have the pace to catch Baptiste Beauvoir? I will give you lap times once we have them. On the last lap was a 4/10 difference in the favour of Milana. Whether that will be the case again, we'll have to wait and see. But Baptiste Beauvoir now is charging, trying to use the tyre whilst it lasts, trying to build that gap in anticipation for that last few when the tyre falls off.
Well, this is going to be a really exciting climax to this race. Keep an eye out as well for Valerio Gallo. He's now going to be closing up onto the back of Baptiste Beauvoir. He's definitely within slipstreaming range, of course. I suppose one saving grace there for Kobayashi is he's got that hole being pushed in front of him by Milana for the time being. Dean Helt is also all over the back of Gallo, just to give the Italian another headache to worry about as they come on the run out of turn number 1. Side by side they come down to turn 2. It's the lower line for Valerio Gallo, it's the higher line for Dean Helt, and he gets himself ahead and through by the next corner.
Half a second was the difference between Beauvoir and Milana last lap. Milana half a second faster than the current leader. There's our special guest, Kazuki Nakajima, watching on their three-time Le Mans winner. I'm sure he's quite happy that he's not in the ring. Actually, it's been quite frantic racing here in the Toyota GAZOO Racing Cup. So looking forward to seeing what these last few laps hold for our competitors. Can Milana catch Beauvoir? Can Kobayashi stay in the top 4? Stay tuned and find out.
I'm just having a look at the difference in tyre life between them as well. Front tyres for Milana around about 60 or so percent, a little bit less there for Baptiste Beauvoir, but of course the tyres are going to wear out not only sooner but quicker as well. So let's have a look here at Dean Helt going on the inside of Kobayashi. Kobayashi drops another place, now down to 4th place. So this is the last spot he will be in to qualify automatically for the grand final. And look who's on his outside ready to try and take that position away. It is Valerio Gallo. Kobayashi's wide, so that tries to immediately retaliate on Dean Helt as the run down towards turn 4 emerges. Turn 2, I should say, emerges between these three drivers as they run nose to tail. Valerio Gallo, lots of pace, lots of grip underneath him into the exit of the corner, especially where we're used to seeing those soft tyres having more pace. And this is getting really exciting here between the two, and I think Kobayashi's a sitting duck. I think it is going to be a case of repechage or bust here for the Japanese driver.
Gallo there taking a very wide entry to try and get better exit speed there, coming onto the oval there. Kobayashi doing, I must say, a pretty damn good job of just staying there. I know you might be thinking, well, the tyres can't be that bad, but the difference is about a second a lap in pace, so he's having to try and stay behind these guys, whilst these guys on the soft tyre having a much easier time with things. He's still on the drive from Help here, but Gallo's had a great exit and is now locked onto the back of Kobayashi. Kobayashi also putting onto the back of Dean Help here, so he's not out of it yet as Kobayashi, but if Gallo gets by, it's going to be hard to see how he can come back from that.
So, on board we ride here with Valerio Gallo through into the first corner. 4 laps now remain here of semi-final B for the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. It's anybody's guess as to who is going to take the victory, because Milana is still trying to decrease that gap. Kobayashi's going to the inside of Dean Help for 4th place, 3rd place I should say rather. Oh, it's all kicking off here as well as the concertina effect happens through the second corner, and it just means they all have to back out of the throttle. Thankfully they all emerge facing in the right direction, which is more than can be said for earlier on in this race, but it is Dean Help followed by Kobayashi. Those are the two drivers who sit in the last 2 places to automatically qualify for the grand final.
Kobayashi not being able to keep the car down low there on that hard compound tyre, understeered up into the way. Gallo a bit of contact, but stay with me guys, racing incident, it's fine, continue. We're still in the race, let's see if Kobayashi can stay there or not. Gallo, although he does have a significant advantage. Gallo is not a slow driver, we know how quick he is already. There you go, by you go, thank you very much. And onto the slipstream of Dean Help now, so he's going to get a slipstream, plus get pulled along by the car in front. Kobayashi though will duck back in, but look behind now, the gap behind Robbie Heck is only 1.8 seconds, so if these guys fight any longer, we could have a massive scrap here for the last 2 auto qualification places.
Milana's challenge has just faltered ever so slightly. He's now sort of level pegging on pace with Baptiste Beauvoir, the gap stabilising at about 2 seconds or so, so Beauvoir clearly has enough tyre life, and I think he's just going to run out of time here.
Gallo's tyres, look at Gallo's tyres, 24%, of course he pitted quite early here. He's still got to do a few more laps on these tyres. They're going to be absolutely knackered towards the end. This might be what Kobayashi needs.
And if I remember rightly from semi-final A, it was about 5% a lap that these tyres were going down at, and once they get under 20%, you might, as I said earlier on, you might as well have chewing gum on the bottom of your tyres for all the grip it's going to give you.
But Gallo had to do that. He had to do that early on, and now look, Kobayashi's coming back alongside again. Who's got the grip with his left-hander? We saw the soft tyre was still faster. He's still able to, even on those absolutely ruined soft tyres, to go around the outside there. And now back into the slipstream of Dean Help. So this is going to be, Gallo, I can imagine right now, is absolutely sweating in his seat. He's still got to do 3 laps on this tyre, including this one here. It's a big ask.
I think this is where the race may come back in the favour of Kobayashi. Those hard tyres, of course, a lot more grip underneath him in terms of tyre life. So I think this is where we'll see Kobayashi's race beginning to turn. And of course, he wants to get himself into that grand final as they go through into turn 2. They're all riding the wall on the outside here. The stewards will be keeping very much a watching brief on it. But Valerio Gallo's tyres, they're looking very second-hand. And I think he's been off a bit more than he can chew here in 3rd place.
Same on the front too. Milana's now actually starting to pull the gap back down to Baptiste Beauvoir. He pitted very early. Look at Gallo's tyres, 15%. He's not going to make the end of this race. He can't do, surely, at this rate. He's going to have absolutely nothing left as he comes through into the last sector. He's currently in 3rd place, holding the cars behind, but he's still got 2 laps to go at the line. He's going to have like 13, 12% left at the line.
Jimmy, I've just had Jarno Trulli on the phone. He's asking what's happened to his train, because Valerio Gallo's taken over as the conductor at the front of this one then.
Run, Valerio! Run, mate!
As they come across the timing line then, here is a slipstream battle. Valerio Gallo's a bit of a sitting duck, but look at Kobayashi on the hard compound of tyres. Could this be the race coming back to him? Look at Lucas Bonelli. We thought he was down and out. He's on the outside of Kobayashi as well, down into the first corner. Here comes Dean Help. Contact there! Valerio Gallo goes round in a huge crash. It's all kicking off out of turn 2. Gallo goes round. Kobayashi goes round as well. Massive drama here on the penultimate lap. The upshot is Bonelli now is in 3rd place from Dean Help, from Robbie Heck. Amazingly, Benelli, who's up into P5 despite the dramas he had earlier on. Well, that just goes to show that you can never count your chickens, can you? Because it all kicked off there. One small incident caused massive consequences for the rest of the field.
Oh, we need to replay that because that is massive. Absolutely massive. It looks like Gallo was hit and then just went round there. So I'm not sure if it was Dean Helt or I think it was Dean Helt that hit him. Well, stewards, this one's yours, guys. I've given you my opinions. It's all yours this time, boys. But we've come on to the final lap now, and Baptiste Beauvoir is leading, but his tyres are gone.
Well, it's now a battle for the American drivers between Dean Helt and Robbie Heck for that final position to qualify automatically for the grand final. And it's anybody's guess who's going to get it because those two are going nose to tail with one another. It is going to be a really exciting battle as we come on to this final lap. Baptiste Beauvoir, 1.5 seconds his advantage, sits over Milana. I think he may just have enough in his pocket for the time being.
Helt's tyres. Helt has 3% left on him. He's got nothing.
Look at it. He's sliding around like Speedway style. Let's have another look, shall we, at what happened into turn one. So Kobayashi then, Dean Helt. Kobayashi on the inside here. Here is Dean Helt. This is going to be the contact that sets it all off.
Easy penalty. Great. Let's get back to the race. Come on, let's go. Good. So here we are then. Last lap. Baptiste Beauvoir is there. Milana is catching, but I don't think there's enough time left, Tom.
No, I think you're completely right. It's just a couple of corners now remaining. So Baptiste Beauvoir, he's got 1.1 seconds over Milana then, and it is going to be a win for the French driver. It's going to be pretty close as they come out of the final corner, but it is Baptiste Beauvoir who wins semi-final B here at the high-speed ring for the GAZOO Racing GT Cup ahead of Adina Rana Milana then, and it's a battle for third place as they come to the timing line. We're looking at the crowd here, but the race is not over. I think it's Lucas Benelli who's going to get third place at the line ahead of Robbie Heck, who managed to leapfrog Dean Helt.
Yeah, just in the last corner there, Heck got Dean Helt into fourth place. I'm wondering if that's going to stand or not. There is Milana, very, very happy with second place. A great drive there from Milana, but a lot to unpack there. And you know what? As I said, enjoy, stewards. Have a good time, boys.
Yeah, those results are provisional. The one upshot is there's no doubt who won that race and who will be progressing through to the grand final. That is Baptiste Beauvoir, and a credit also to Adina Rama Milana, the Indonesian driver, second in the Asian GRGT Cup. And he manages to finish second in that race. Simply incredible for him, but it's all up for grabs in terms of what happened, because we have got to dissect that last lap because it was drama to the extreme. And I just don't know what to make of it.
We've got 3 more days of this after this.
I'm exhausted already, Timmy. I have to say, though, just on a side note, what an amazing race from Baptiste Beauvoir. What a great drive from him. I really thought that he was going to come under pressure from Milana at the end of that one, but he kept his nerve. He kept just enough tyre life underneath him. And that was the Baptiste of old that we used to see. Yeah,
really good, really well executed. And, you know, I gave him grief. I thought he went too early, but he managed to keep those tyres alive and just a great job bringing it back to the line. Here are the highlights then. And it all got off pretty okay. Everyone got through T1 and T2 in one piece, but that wasn't going to be the case for much longer.
Yeah, it wasn't the full story, was it? As the drivers continued on in this race, it all began to kick off, and this was where it all began to unravel for some of the midfield competitors. You see Robbie Heck there having contact with Karatza, then Lucas Benelli sending him round. 4 or 5 drivers all involved in that, and, well, the crowd paint the picture for us.
Yeah, public lobby that is, isn't it? It was very, very messy there at the start, and of course this dictated the rest of the race. Benelli did such a good job to come back from that. He finished P3 in the end, so well done for Benelli there. But Robbie Heck given a penalty for that. We also saw a penalty for pit lane entry, but here was Kobayashi after he went onto the hard compounder tyre, and from there really was just a sitting duck. Baptiste Beauvoir, who pitted early for the soft compounder tyre, passed him pretty quickly and pulled off into the distance. Then it's Milana as well, and all Kobayashi could do was just sit there and watch, really.
I have to say, it's a hugely impressive race there from Milana, as we said, but this is where it all began to get interesting here for Kobayashi, because he fell back, and then, of course, everybody else's tyres decided to start going off, and it looked as if he may be able to get himself involved in the action as Valerio Gallo tried to join the party too, but his tyres then went off in spectacular fashion in the closing stages of this race as he still continued to make forward progress, but it's on the penultimate lap where it all went wrong for Valerio Gallo. Contact there with Dean Helt, everybody else involved as a concertina of that. The incident's still under investigation, no penalties being awarded at this stage, but I can guarantee those results will be set to change. It was Baptiste Beauvoir who won from Milana, from Benelli, the top 3. Let's head down to Julia, who's with our winner, Baptiste Beauvoir.
Well, Well, I feel like semi-final A was just, I don't know, compared to like you didn't even know you didn't even know half of what happened. You're just seeing some of the replays now. But how was that? You were saying that you literally had 0 tires left.
I had 0 tire at the end of my the last lap. It was full weight, and I practiced a lot at my home this race because the tire wear was really high. And I remember having a race with Kylian in practicing, and in the last corner I had no tire, and I lost my car, and I was scared that to repeat the same here. I controlled much more easier the car this time, and yeah, I'm finally happy that this race is over. Yeah.
I think everyone sort of came off slightly sweaty from from that one. How was it for you racing in it? How was it?
Sorry?
How was the race for you? I mean, apart from being towards the end, you know, how was it?
Well, the beginning of the race was really scary, to be honest. I saw many contact between everyone. I just tried to find a way and just escape from this chaos, literally chaos. And I did. I was about to think that I did a mistake to pit at the end of lap 10 because I never tried 15 laps in soft before. At the end, it was okay. So yeah, now I'm really looking forward to the grand final.
Yeah, I mean, you can sort of relax for a little bit. At least you don't have to do the repechage. I mean, if you think that was spicy, you have no idea because the repechage is a lot spicier than that. Well, look, huge congratulations. Let's give him a big round of applause. And congratulations. Good luck in the grand final. Let's kick it over to Tom and Jimmy.
Yeah, cheers, Julia. Goodness me, I think we're still sort of just about cooling down from that race. I've just managed to receive a whack in the head from somebody as well up here.
That's what you deserve, mate. That's what you deserve. But yeah, that was insane. The results still still provisional. We don't know what the outcome is yet of that incident, but yeah, I'd like to see a few more replays, I think. It happened very quickly, but we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a credit to the drive from Baptiste Mobile. Let's have another look, shall we, and see exactly what happened down towards that first corner. So keep an eye out on the inside here. It's Dean Helt. We're looking at the driver who's in 4th place. Valerio Gallo there runs a bit wide. There's an opportunity presenting itself for Dean Helt, but the gap was always going to disappear. I
don't know. If you're sort of running overall rules, Gallo did come down on him. He did move back down after that. Dean seemed to keep alive. Randall there saying something we can't repeat on camera. But if you see that, what's the white line? Does Dean move relative to the white line? No. Valerio does. Could that be considered illegal blocking?
I suppose if you're playing devil's advocate, you could argue that for sure.
But he also did just drive into the back of him, so it's a tough one. As I say, I don't envy our stewards, but Kobayashi also caught up in that innocent party as well. A shame, because I think he had a good chance actually to go through to the grand finals there.
Yeah, I'm still not sure what to make of that one there, to be fair. I mean, I have to say, though, an amazing drive from Milana, the Indonesian driver, coming here in his first international event. I know he's, of course, been competing in the Asian Championship, but international event, finishes second.
I know we say this a lot, and maybe we don't quite get it across very well, but the pressure of being at one of these events and having me and Tom shouting away over the top of you, trying to concentrate, you've got cameras, you've got lights, and you have to try and just focus yourself into one screen and perform. If it's your first time doing that, I think it is genuinely a massive disadvantage. And to come here and finish second in a race that was fairly chaotic. I think that's super impressive.
Yeah, he had really, really good pace, didn't he, throughout the entirety of that one. Kept his nose clean when others didn't. And as I say, Baptiste Mobile, Lucas Bonelli also having a really good run. I mean, let's be fair, we thought he was down and out.
He had a good run at the second part of the race. He was caught up in that initial incident. So I thought, oh, there goes Lucas. But this guy's quick, and he just continually put in lap times. It must be really difficult when you're in that position thinking, oh, I'm out of it. But he went down there, kept putting in the laps, no one around him, and just got back into the fight, and then somehow managed to come back and get P3, which is auto qualification to the final. So, yeah, buzzing.
I mean, we've had some very busy semi-finals. Let's not forget Takuma Miyazono in semi-final A. He was also involved in some pretty big incidents. Let's have a look and see what happened to Takuma. Here he is running in second place. And Jose Serrano, bit of contact there. Serrano awarded a penalty. This was in the closing stages as well, lap 21 of the 25. Serrano giving a penalty on the penultimate lap. Miyazono, well, he wasn't very pleased with that, as I should imagine.
Well, to be fair, that was quite a chill reaction for someone who'd just been taken out of the race, effectively. But that's Miyazono, just straight into, right, get back into it. I need to get back into this and try and get back into the race. And that's what you have to do as a sim driver and a real-life driver, focus on just getting to the end of the race as quick as possible, even if you receive a punt or two. But, I didn't foresee him not getting through to the final straight away.
And that's the thing with the repechage, of course, only 4 drivers are going to progress forward. So we'll have 12 drivers for the grand final for the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. There's 10 drivers there who are all going to be absolutely giving each other hell, aren't they?
Yeah, you thought this was violent. Makes the repechage
like an ice hockey match out there, won't it?
Yeah, very angry drivers. But some very quick names who didn't get through. One of those, of course, being Valerio Gallo as well, who was involved in this incident we saw at the end of semi-final B. He's had a bit of a tough time recently. He found himself being a bit burnt out recently. He's come back here with a new attitude, think, yeah, okay, I've got this, only to be sent to the Shadow Realm straight away. But definitely not the end of him.
No, absolutely. I was talking to Valerio, and he was saying about that sort of burnout that he was suffering from, and it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because we can suffer from it in our own creative lives. But when you're a driver, I said, does it ever feel like a chore going and sitting on a simulator? And he said, well, like sometimes it can do, because you can just get tired of doing the same thing.
Well, you got to think, right? These guys for these events, they put in a lot of preparation, and I'm talking hours a day on the same circuit, in the same car, working out strategies, working out stints. And I've done the same in previous sim races preparing for events. You have to put in the time. It really does take. It takes dedication to be here. It really does. So this is why we get such severe reactions when you see someone get taken out. Because imagine putting in months and months of practice only to get just slapped on lap 1, T1, into the wall. I can really relate to that frustration.
I tell you what, a penny for the thoughts of the Italian commentators. I'd love to have seen their reaction to Gallo on that. Because we can normally hear them from when we do it remotely, we can hear them from Italy normally. Let's have a look, shall we? So this is Gallo and helped. This is what kicked it all off.
What do you think, Tom?
You're
a steward right now. What do you think?
I'm not a steward though. That's the thing.
You are now, though. You've been dubbed.
No, I like getting splinters from sitting on the fence, Jimmy, unfortunately. But let's have another look then. Okay, so Valerio Gallo, let's see, he's going through. He runs it a little bit hot into there. Help's coming through like a freight train. And you are right, that gap does decrease, and that's not the fault of Help, because he's got the momentum, and Gallo would have known he was there. So you can look at that. The thing is, it didn't just destroy their races, it destroyed all the other people's races behind. Kobayashi got absolutely mugged during that one, ended up facing the wrong way.
It's a good quality shunt, isn't it? It's a good shunt.
Oh yeah, pound for pound. If you're gonna rate your shunts by that, then it's right up there, isn't it?
You know what? I'm really tempted to say it's a racing incident, because they both move into each other. I know I've been Mr. Racing Incident in this race, and if you are driving for a line and then suddenly a car just dives in front of you and touches you and you all spin, like, you can't control that. There's no way you can predict that as Dean held behind. And these, I know this is like a long banked corner, but it is effectively a straight in the way that it's just full throttle, take the quickest line through the corner. If you're moving about, then that can cause contact, which is why I think the stewards are still kind of deliberating this.
I tell you what it reminds me of. Do you ever remember Turkey 2010, Formula 1, Mark Webber, Sebastian Vettel, and they just sort of seemed to merge into each other when they crashed down that straight? Seem like the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I know. It is a tricky one to call, and I know I give our stewards a bit of grief, but they are very good at what they do. Is the reason why they keep coming back time and time again. We aren't just pitying them, but they are fantastic at a job. We're waiting with bated breath to see what they think there. But would love to know what you guys think, of course, in the chat and on socials as well. Whether you think we should be slapping Dean or Valerio. No, well, I'm talking like a mental slap, not a physical slap.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that. Also, don't forget, of course, this is the 25th anniversary of Gran Turismo. What a way to celebrate the birthday of it, with 2 drama-filled races.
A massive crash.
It's 2 drama-filled. It's only what it's like racing with you, Jimmy.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
We do have more racing coming up later on, of course, after this is all settled. We do have the Repechage, which is the sort of last chance saloon for some of the drivers who didn't make it through in the first of the semi-finals, and the grand final a bit later on as well for all those who have got through. As we say, we've still got 3 more days of racing as well. We've got Nations Regional tomorrow, Manufacturers on Saturday, and Nations Cup final on Sunday. I'm going to get propping up before the end of this, I think.
Yeah, I've just been hearing the results have been confirmed. I know this is proper X Factor stuff, isn't it? And Valerio Gallo with a 3-second penalty following that penultimate lap collision. So the results sit that Beauvoir, Milana, Benelli, Heck, they progressed through into the grand final. Helped Gallo, Busnelli, Barbara, McEwen, Kobayashi just go through into the repechage. Almahari and Karatza go no further.
Valerio there, I think, sort of saying, yeah, okay, fair enough. But you know, at the end of this race, a lot of these guys were on very, very worn tyres. But anyway, here is the lineup then for the repechage. José Serrano, Dean Haupt, Miyazono, Valerio Gallo, your top four. Labutale, Busnelli, Drummond, and Guy Barber in 8th. Suragaya, McEwen, Sasaki, and Kobayashi rounding it out there. Very, very talented drivers, all fighting over only the top 4 positions.
Yeah! Let's bring it on, shall we? There are some big names in there. Serrano, Miyazono, Drummond, let's not forget, winner from the World Series Showdown last time out. Kobayashi, who was, to all intents and purposes, let's be fair, going to be challenging for that position up until that penultimate lap incident. If it hadn't been for that, I'd have put some money, you know, if I were a betting man, on him making it through because he had supreme tyre life.
Have you got a bet for now? For this?
No.
No?
So I like sitting on the fence, Jimmy. We've established this already. I'm going to sit there with my splinters and just call it as I see.
Great, mate. Imagine not being a controversial commentator, but I think Serrano, one to watch, for sure.
Yeah.
Very, very fast. We've seen him. He actually won, I think, last time out in, I think it was Nations Deep Forest?
Yeah, that seems about right. Yeah.
Very quick there, and we know he's got pace in pretty much anything he drives. So he's someone I think will go through to the final, but those last 3 positions, I don't know.
Well, now we've had the results confirmed, shall we shift our attention over to that repechage race, the last chance qualifier for our 10 drivers, 12 drivers who will be progressing no further. 4 of them will go through into the grand final, and this is where we're at. We liked a bit of chaos and a bit of carnage. Tokyo Expressway, south counterclockwise in super formulas, racing soft tyres, 12 laps, an all-out sprint, lots of straights, lots of slipstreaming. What could possibly go wrong?
It was appropriate to have Formula cars on the streets, so I think given we're at Monaco as well. But yeah, if they can't do the high-speed ring, this is going to be something completely different. These Super Formula cars, incredibly quick. We're talking excess of 600 horsepower in these things. And to make things even better, we've got a grid start. So these guys have got to put away properly. So there is our car, of course, in all its glory, the Super Formula car. 640 horsepower in a car that weighs 660 kilos. Rapid.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? I mean, power to weight ratio on that one, as you can see, 1.3 kilograms per horsepower. It's almost 1 kilo per horsepower, I mean, it's incredible.
Also, a lot of aero in these things generated, of course, from all the downforce and the wings and diffusers there. So these cars are planted to the ground, and dirty air is going to be a thing around here.
You say that, but I've been talking to some people in the know, and I happen to know that dirty air won't be as much of a factor as you might happen to think. So,
there you go then.
Yeah.
Well, it might end up with some 8-wide street racing again, which we know will end absolutely fine.
Do you reckon we could get to the point where there's a possibility there's so many cars that wide that they just all end up stopping? Just immediately. Just this massive wedge sort of comes through.
That would be very appropriate, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 10 drivers, 4 spaces up for grabs. I mean, it's anybody's guess as to who is going to make it through for this one. And 12 laps as well. That's not a long time at this circuit.
No, it's going to be a scramble, you know. And also, this grid start is going to be super important. You get too much wheel spin off the line, you can almost be out of it straight away. So, a very unique thing for these events at the grid starts. I love seeing them. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys deal with it.
And also to remind you, they have 100 seconds of overtake to be able to use in these super formulas as well. So they have a little button that they can push, gives them a bit more power.
You'll see that on the outside of the car, a little flashing green light sort of indicating the overtake's being used. When it goes red, it means they only have 20 seconds left of overtake. So there's a little bit of strategy there as well. And a very different car to what we just drove, of course, is the Supra. A very quick car in its own right. A lot of aero. It's a sort of Group 3 style car, so it's very quick. But these are next level. These are neck breakers, these cars.
Yes, they are. A lot of downforce, a lot of horsepower, very twitchy to drive on the limit. And the thing is, you don't get any warning. If these things snap, that's it. And there's no runoff here, let's be fair.
Yeah, that's what we're being told, basically. Yeah, one moment, it just boop, in you go. And you see some drivers there just adjusting, Busnelli there adjusting his seat. Very important to get that right here as well. Of course, all these simulators these guys are on, they're all spec, they're all exactly the same, and probably quite different from the ones they use at home. Another challenge of coming to this event and getting onto a completely different simulator and having to adjust to that. A lot of muscle memory, I find, is actually related to the equipment you use at home. So, but a lot of the guys have been here before, of course. They've used these Thrustmaster rigs. We have the Matt McEwen and Guy Barber just in our frame. They've been here before, so they know what they're doing. But not everyone's had the same pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see the drivers there just, you know, bedding themselves in, getting themselves warmed up and ready to go. As we said, very different machinery to what we had just a few minutes ago in the semi-finals. Just before we get this repechage, though, underway, let's go down to Julia, who's catching up with our 2018 Nations Cup champion, Igor Fraga.
Yes, I am. Why, thank you, Tom. How are you doing, Igor? I mean, you're already in the grand final. You can relax now.
Yes.
I mean, just now, not later, but now.
Yeah, but it's been a relief being able to just go through the to the semifinal. There has been a little bit of moment there during the races, but I'm glad that it went well for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, you have been around in Gran Turismo for a really long time, and now it's 2022, right? That's the year, isn't it? How do you think the competition has changed over the years?
Yeah, definitely there has been more competitors like rising from, you know,
Is it harder now? Was it easier before?
I wouldn't say it's easier, but definitely the level is getting higher. And also the young generation, you know, the guys that are completing 18 years are coming very strongly as well. So it's just...
You're talking about the young generation. Oh, I'm so old.
Yeah, so things are changing.
So you've just recently moved to Japan. How's that going?
Yep, so I moved to Japan in August. It's been different experience, but I'm enjoying it so far.
I mean, it's very exciting. We're always very excited what you're doing. How do you think your chances are in the grand finals? What do you think?
I don't know. It depends a lot on the situation, I think. Also on the strategy-wise, because we'll have to use all the 3 tires. But yeah, we'll see, and I'm going to do my best.
Come on, you know you can do it.
We'll see. We'll try.
All right. Okay, I'll let him go. All right, well, look, thank you, Igor. Good luck in the final. And yeah, back to Tom and Jimmy.
Cheers, Jules. Let's get ready then to go, shall we, for the repechage, the last chance saloon. 10 drivers, 4 spaces available. Super formulas at the Tokyo Expressway south counterclockwise circuit. A grid start for the drivers too, and here is how they line up. It is Jose Serrano from Spain who is on pole position. Alongside him on the front row is Dean Helt from the USA. Row 2, Takuma Miyazono. Home circuit here in Japan with Valerio Gallo, the 2021 champion, alongside him. Next up, Thomas Leboutelet from France on row 3, and he's got Busnelli, the Italian, alongside. Next up is Kilian Drumont, the winner from the World Series Showdown earlier on this year, with Guy Barber from Australia for company. Then it is Natheos Sirigaya in P9, with Matt McEwen in 10th place on the grid. The final row of the grid is Sasaki in P11, and Rikuto Kobayashi, the unlucky driver from semi-final B, lines up at the back of the field. Ready to go then, we are here for the repechage race. 5 lights on. Oh, it jumps off and Dean Helt. Big drama already for the American driver as they get away. Problems there for Valerio Gallo as well. So down in towards the first corner we go. It is Takuma Miyazono, Thomas Leboutelet, Marcus Busnelli, and then Kilian Drumont. Kobayashi's made a stonker of a start from the very back of the field. Is already trying to challenge in position there, but here comes Leboutelet with Takuma Miyazono as they run side by side, and problems there quite clearly for Valerio Gallo because he's not been able to get away from the grid as they come down in towards the first big braking zone. It's Leboutelet who runs it wide up to Takuma Miyazono. Busnelli on the inside as we go 3 wide. The Italian takes 2 in 1 and goes into the race lead. Kilian Drumont trying to challenge as well. So it's now 2 Frenchmen inside the top 3.
Yeah, I've just been keeping eyes for Tom and Gallo, and both arms waving on the grid there, akin to kind of a start of a Formula race. He's stuck in 3rd gear, he can't move, so, and he's still on the grid, he's just off now. I'm not sure if they're going to restart the race or not, but the race is still underway, and Miyazono in 4th place now, run board behind Drumont. Leboutelet up into 1st, Busnelli there as well, but disaster for Gallo and for Dean Helt, who jumped the start there, so that'll be a slam dunk penalty for him.
That's such a shame there for Valerio Gallo, the Italian driver. No luck at all. Drumont goes for the inside line on Busnelli then and goes through into the hairpin bend to 2nd place. Nicely done there for Kilian Drumont. Started a bit further back than he'd have liked, making good forward progress here on this first lap, but it is Leboutelet who's out in front.
Gallo's still on the grid. We're about to drive by him very, very quickly. He's actually got the car running now. He's got his gears running, but he's trying to move the car out of the way. So as we go down there, we complete that one. It's the Butele in first. We want second, Busnelli third. There is Gallo stricken by the side of the road there. Still no word on what's going to happen with that, but the race is still underway. It's the two Frenchmen that lead the field at the moment, and Busnelli and Miyazono in third and fourth. Gallo is out, the race will not be restarted.
Well, drama then here for Valerio Gallo, so the Italian is out before the race has even begun. It's now all the battle for the slipstream then for the race leaders. They come in towards the hairpin bend. Labusele, Drummond, Busnelli, all involved in the action. Keep an eye out for Miyazono, Kobayashi and Sasaki, the three Japanese drivers all vying for position as they come on the exit of the corner. This is going to be terrifically exciting. Busnelli with just enough of an advantage in front, but it was almost three wide between the Japanese contingent, and contact there as well, and that has sent Miyazono and Kobayashi right down the order.
Well, this has been a absolutely drama-filled 2 laps already. You can see Busnelli there just using the push to pass, trying to put away a bit. It doesn't matter because Drummond's there as well. He's got the toe, he's got the overspeed. On the outside now, they're going down into the hairpin. Busnelli can't really do much, tries to defend. Drummond goes around the outside. Of course, there are no pit stops in this race. It is a straight-out fight from flags to finish, and that sort of nitrous-style noise you can hear there from the car is the push to pass being deployed. So you can tell Drummond just trying to break the slipstream, trying to get away. There is a very disconsolate looking Valerio Gallo down the bottom there, but just like real life, failures can happen in sim racing too, and unfortunately this time it's Gallo that is the one that suffered.
Yeah, disappointing there for Valerio Gallo, and also for Dean Helt as well. No penalty being awarded to him for the time being, but he very clearly jumped that start, didn't he, at the start of this race? And well, there is going to be, I'm sure, a fair bit of investigations to go on. Here is Labusele versus Busnelli then in this battle for second place. Under into the tunnel they go. Drummond is in the race lead, but for how long? Because the hole behind him is being pushed in front, and here comes Labusele for the outside line into the hairpin there. Tries to go through, does go through on Busnelli, but is not quite able to get the advantage over Drummond. So it is still a French 1-2 as they come on the run down the next straight.
First four have pulled away somewhat now from the pack behind. We're getting a replay. Here's what happened in the background of the shot before. So we're riding with Jose Serrano. Miyazono in the wall, and just gets clouted by Kobayashi and Serrano on the way by there. So really easy for that to happen. That is now under investigation. Dean Helt in that as well. I'm not sure why we've not seen action against the grid jump yet. Maybe that's still in the contention, but meanwhile it's 3 wide in the front. Drummond goes up the inside of Labusele. No love lost there between compatriots. Bit of contact between the two. Busnelli forces his way through there, so it's getting pretty intense up front here.
It certainly is. So it's now the Italian who leads the way from Kylian Drummond, then Sasaki, then it is Labusele. So it is 4 drivers all vying for position. Helt is very much out of contention for the slipstream at the time being. You can see Labusele have contact there for colliding with another car. A warning being given to the Frenchman as we now ride on board with him as they come across the timing line once again and heading towards that first corner. So lap 4 and 12 we're on. Just a reminder, only 4 drivers will make it through into the grand final. At the moment, it's the 4 you're looking at on your screen.
How is this for a sense of speed? 300 kilometers an hour, tucked up behind the rear wing of Sasaki now. It's going to be 2 by 2, nearly touching 200 miles an hour as we come now down to one of the heaviest braking zones on the course. The Busnelli tries the outside line there, uses all of the course on the outside, uses the aero to try and drive around the outside of Drummond. Is he going to do it? I think he will. No, not quite. Drummond there, contact into the wall. The 2 French drivers hitting each other. The French booth there, international commentators throwing their hands up in the air saying, guys, what are you doing? You can both get through here. And because of that, Labusele is now down to 5th. Kobayashi on a resurgence after early contact.
Well, it's all kicking off then here, isn't it? It's gone from being a 4-way scrap to a, 7 or 8-way scrap at this point here. First to 7th, you can throw a blanket over them as we ride on board here with Jose Serrano. Just in front of him is Dean Helt. Just behind him is Thomas Labusele, race leader from just a lap or so ago, and now sitting right at the back of this gaggle of drivers as they head down in towards the big braking zone. So Serrano going for the outside line there, trying to get the sort of exit of the corner squared up quite nicely, but again, it's all about the slipstream, and the problem for him is that Helt in front is also being pulled along by Kobayashi.
I would love to see just how much of the usage these guys have left of that push to pass. That, of course, is a big part of this as well. The push to pass isn't insignificant. It's a quite a decent bump, and Helt there just about avoiding a spin there after touching the wall. I think maybe a bit contact with Kobayashi there, but we're still on board with Jose Serrano, and this is this is high stakes, high speed here. One small mistake and you're in that barrier and you are out of this race. And right now, these guys just about together. You can see darting all over the place, trying to just stay in the slipstream, stay in the draft for an attempt to overtake down the bottom here. Serrano uses push to pass, nowhere to go though.
Yeah, you can see that there. Kobayashi's got the push to pass going as well on Sasaki, also on Drummond as they come in towards the hairpin bend. Pick your breaking point here, boys. And Kobayashi there as well, and not far away is Jose Serrano, who actually loses out quite significantly as he was getting himself all at sea in that big group.
See, third to fifth there all have that red light on top of their hoop, which means they've used a lot of push to pass so far. Only 20 seconds left for those guys, and they've got 7 laps left. The rest of them around them haven't. So they've waited to use that push to pass, and Kobayashi goes up into the lead there, past Drummond. Sasaki trying to follow through as well in the background, but Kobayashi leads for now. But again, nearly 3 wide. They are 3 wide, going down towards the hairpin. Big scramble there. Who's going to come out in the lead here? It's Kobayashi. Drummond held there, just about keeping the place. Does he make it through? No! The positions are changing too quick at all, and Helt gets a penalty there, I think, for contact.
Yeah, it could be for contact, could possibly be for a jump start. I think Jimmy's going to need a bit of a jump start in a minute following those last couple of corners as they come through the left and the right. So it's all about the slipstream battle, and look at that, you can see only a couple of drivers out of the 7 that are in this group have got enough push to pass left, because a lot of them have used it all up. Dean Helt with that 1 second penalty, that's going to really compromise it, because he doesn't only lose a second, it's all the time he loses being slower than the rest of the field. And if he drops out of slipstream range, it could be good night Vienna, and it means a 7-way scrap becomes a 6-way duel fight, I should say, rather. Here comes Kylian Drummond then on the inside of Rakuto Kobayashi down in towards the hairpin bend we're about to go. And pick your breaking point here, because Drummond has got the inside line, but keep an eye out on his inside as well for Sasaki, and also Busnelli not too far adrift there too. Sasaki, is he going to be able to get himself up the inside of his compatriot? No, not quite. Kobayashi slots himself through into second place as Busnelli sits on the back of Sasaki as well.
Now, the Butele and Serrano might be behind on track position, but they have the most push to pass left, so they might be thinking about a late race charge there. If you've got no push to pass left at the end of the race, you can't respond to that, and it's a big difference. And Helt just about heading on to the back here, despite he's got nothing left. Helt is out of push to pass now. So watch him in the background. They go 2 by 2. This is ridiculous racing between the walls here on the Tokyo Expressway. There, one mistake and you're in one. As we go now down towards the hairpin, Drummond on the inside, Kobayashi just about holding behind. Lebutele coming back through after contact earlier on with his fellow countryman Drummond, and it is side by side, 2 at a time, up towards the start-finish line. We're only halfway through this race.
I know, I'm going to say we're going to have to sort of slow things down a bit here, but these guys are not giving each other any quarter. Lebutele was in the wall there on the outside. That's going to really cost him time. Put him under pressure here, possibly from Jose Serrano and Busnelli as well. We ride on board with the Spaniard, so let's see whether he is going to be able to try and challenge before long. Across the timing line we go then to start lap number 7. Kobayashi goes through into the race lead, just up the forefront of the field. On board we are with Serrano, and the thing is, it's just costing him a little bit of time here too, because Lebutele is now 0.8 of a second off the back of Sasaki.
Just a little reminder, only the top 4 go through to the grand final here, so this last place, the 4th place here, this is everything to these drivers. Everyone else is out of the GT Cup here, so it's all about the first 4 places. Right now they're inhabited by Drummond, Kobayashi, Sasaki and Serrano. Dean Helt managing to get back into contention with no push to pass. Very impressive there after his penalty, but Serrano now locked onto the back of Sasaki in front. He's going to try and claw his way back up, but of course push to pass is what they've all been using for that little bit of temporary horsepower. Serrano's still got plenty. His light on his car still green, whereas Drummond, Sasaki, they have the red light on the top of their roll hoop, signifying they have less than 20 seconds of push to pass remaining.
Well, this is getting pretty frantic. I mean, it's been frantic since the word go, to be honest with you. Here comes Drummond trying to look down the inside of Kobayashi. On Kobayashi's outside is his compatriot Sasaki. 3 wide they go through the hairpin. Drummond manages to pick the pocket of the 2 drivers, and it is that supermarket deal which works out nicely for the Frenchman. 2 for the price of 1 as he goes through. Keep an eye out in the background there as well with Lebutele. Serrano also involved in the mix. There is Dean Helt, as Jimmy said, has managed to get himself right back into contention following that penalty earlier on. And look at that contact there into Kobayashi into the wall. It's all kicking off that concertina event once again. Leboutelet's gone round. I think Kobayashi as well, of course, also involved in that. So the Frenchman and the Japanese driver all now out of contention. So from 7 drivers down to 5 we go.
Drumont's probably thinking, oh, great, awesome, off I go, mate. I'll see you guys later. Suddenly, there's no one in his mirrors. But it's only a second, and these guys are still going.
Sorry, mate, Serrano there also involved. I think he's also got himself out of contention. He's down to 9th place there too. So it's really thrown the cat amongst the pigeons here with these drivers. It's really splintering off that group too.
It's 9th place, but not by much. They're all together there in the background. And Serrano does still have push to pass. He's been saving. So does Guy Barbara. So does Matt McEwen. So we might even see an Australian or a Kiwi go through there to the top 4. It might be Guy Barbara right now. He is on the tail of Sasaki. He's got push to pass left, and because of that contact, he's been brought right back into contention. Sasaki doesn't have the same amount of push to pass left. So behind him, though, they're all squabbling for 6th and 7th place. Serrano trying to come back through after that contact. He's been a victim of all sorts of instances that this race have not been his fault. But doing a great job, goes for the lunge on the inside of McEwen. Very shallow line there, though. I don't think that's going to work, but it does. Serrano up the inside of both of them, up into 6th place.
I wonder if there may have been a bit more than just love lost between those two. I wonder if there may have just been a smattering of body contact, because it was such a shallow line going through there. Let's have another look and see what's happened here. But this is Leboutelet, who we're riding aboard with, who of course was one of the drivers who got caught up. So looking in the forefront there. So Kobayashi in 2nd place. He got into the back of Sasaki, who in turn got into the back of Kobayashi. So it was Leboutelet who kicked that all off, and then sort of had to pick up the pieces afterwards.
I'm more surprised Leboutelet wasn't given a penalty. I think his penalty was the fact that he is now last. Yeah, a shame. But the fight still goes on at the front. Drumont actually able to put out a bit of a gap here. Busanelli behind help. Both of these guys have no push to pass left at this point. So they're just fighting on pure engine power and downforce. And this might allow Drumont to pull away into the distance. The real fight is going to be for this place, P4. Sasaki currently inhabits it. Guy Barbara and McEwen, they need to start using that push to pass. They've got to start getting in there, I think. We're getting into the last couple of laps here, and we're being shown that track position is absolutely everything.
Yeah, 1.2 seconds with Guy Barbara, the gap between himself and Sasaki. In turn, another 1.4 seconds up the road. So Sasaki's out of slipstream range, but Guy Barbara, crucially, also is as well. These guys need to really work together here if they're going to get themselves in contention. Of course, there is only going to be one spot up for grabs as it stands to go through into this grand final here. And at the moment, it's occupied by Sasaki, but for how long? Because, as Jimmy said, there's only a few laps now still remaining, and we look here at Sasaki. Just in front of him is Busanelli and Helt, whose Christmases have all come at once, given the dramas he had at the start of this race with that jump start.
Just saw McEwen there getting all out of shape. He's dropped a few places because of it. They're coming out of the hairpin. So Sasaki, his gap is 1 second back to Guy Barbara. So Guy Barbara now is starting to get into the same point of his push to pass. I think Sasaki is just saving it in case he has to defend, which he'll probably have to do towards the end. Leboutelet, I think, maybe calling it quits there at the back, doesn't want to continue any further from now. So we are down to 10 cars here in what has been a drama-filled repechage race here for the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. Top 4 cars go through to the grand final. Everyone else, their competition is over.
Leboutelet with a 2-second penalty there just to compound his woes, but we think he's pretty much thrown in the towel at this point then anyway. Here comes Serrano down the inside of Guy Barbara. There's contact there between the two. Sirigai is ready to try and pick up the pieces. He now runs side by side with the Spaniard on the exit of the corner, and the side driver goes through. Guy Barbara now coming under threat here from Jose Serrano. Matt McEwen is also involved in the mix, so Serrano losing out big time there in that corner.
They're all squabbling over nothing right now. That's the point. They need to be trying to work to catch Sasaki in front. They're all just squabbling over 5th and 6th place, which means nothing in this. But they are all being caught slowly. Dean Helt is right up behind Busanelli at the moment. These guys have been fighting for a while. Drumont, I think, has done enough. If he can just keep his head straight and keep the car going nicely, he'll be fine. These are the places that are under contention here, and Busanelli and Helt, if they fight, they're going to go back into Sasaki. If they fight, they're going to go back into the rest of them.
The thing is, though, that this determines where they start on the grid for the grand final as well. So they do want to finish ahead of one another, but they need to be careful about how they play it effectively here. So Busanelli then, the Italian driver, in front of the American Dean Helt, and it is all to play for, but they've got to be smart. They can't keep holding each other up because they're going to fall right back into the clutches here of Sasaki.
You've got to be clever there, and you can see there Marco Busanelli, I think he's feeling the pressure. Interesting drive and face, some of that that one, but definitely someone who is concentrating massively, just trying to keep Help behind for now. Help has the slipstream, goes to the right-hand side. Not much Busnelli can do here. Help has the overspeed, will go up into P2 for now, and they are all catching Kylian Drumont in front. So maybe Drumont's had an issue somewhere and slowed down somewhat. So now Dean Help's gone from being in third place to thinking, you know what, maybe I can take the win here.
Well, this is going to be tremendously exciting then as they come through into the right-hander. Very, very fast corner that, and then it's on the run down into the tunnel. Once more they go. Here is Busnelli with that slipstream, that hole being pushed in front of you. You can see him backing out of the throttle, of course, where the circuit goes left and then it jigs right. You don't want to be going 2x2 through there because it's a one-way ticket into the barrier.
Such a difficult place to pass through there. As you say, it's the circuit moves very quickly. It's very easy to get caught out there, and it seems Busnelli opting to stay behind Help for now, but there's no doubt they've caught Drumont, and we're now coming on to the last lap of the race. Well, very soon we will anyway, and right now it's Drumont, Help, Busnelli and Sasaki who will go through to the grand final. It must be said though that Kobayashi and Miyazono, they've just fallen off. They're just not there anymore. It's going to have to be one hell of a lap from Kobayashi or Miyazono to catch, or disaster for these guys at the front. They're all coming together now. They're all feeling racy.
Yeah, they certainly are. Across the timeline we go, ready to start the final lap then here for the repechage for the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. 4 drivers all running relatively close to one another. It is Sasaki at the end of it, but 2 seconds separates himself and Kobayashi on this last lap.
He's the only one with push to pass left, is Sasaki, so he, I think, might be waiting to use this, perhaps. He's using it now, down the straight, I think, coming onto the back. Kobayashi doing the same behind, so...
Here's Busnelli down the inside of Help, trying to make his way through into the hairpin bend. So side by side they go. The Italian up through into second ahead of the American.
Yeah, nice move there by Busnelli. We know now it's hard to overtake in the tunnel. What will Sasaki do? I think he might save this push to pass coming out of the corner up the hill after this hairpin. He'll use the toe down here to pull into the back of Dean Help and just be as close as possible then to deploy that push to pass. At the front though, Busnelli is now right up behind Drumont. It's now a 4-way battle for the win here in the repechage. Top 4 go through. It doesn't matter what order they finish in, but you do want to be at the head if you can. And now it's Busnelli and Drumont, and they're fighting 3 wide in front. Drumont goes defensive. Busnelli tries the wrong way around. How hits Drumont there. Tries the cut back. Now watch Sasaki on the push to pass.
This is going to be terrifically exciting as they come through into the next series of corners. There are only a couple from home. It's Help who leads the way, but for how long? Because Drumont, Sasaki also involved in the mix there as well. No push to pass left except for Sasaki, who's sitting there in second, now third place. It's Dean Help who's got the advantage and got the overspeed, but can Sasaki do anything to try and get himself at the head of the field? They ride the wall as they come to the timing line then here. It's a drag to the line between Drumont and Dean Help, and Drumont wins! What a repechage race from Dean Help and Sasaki. Busnelli progressed through into the grand final. We say goodbye to Kobayashi, Miyazono, Serrano, Barbara, McEwen, Sirigaya and Labutale. What a dramatic end to that repechage race. What great driving from Kylian Drumont as well to take the win.
Yeah, that was Dean Help's race to lose, and he lost it. He just hit the barrier there on that last lap, slowed himself down, and that was it. Drumont was through, and you can see there a couple of words being exchanged between Drumont and Busnelli. I think there's probably a little bit of a few grievances down there right now. That was a drama-filled race, and Miyazono out as well, as is Valerio Gallo. So 2 massive names out and not going through to the grand final. Of course, Valerio not even getting started earlier on.
And Jose Serrano there as well, also missing the cut. Let's have a look, show its highlights then. So it was all drama before the racing began. Dean Help there jumping the start. Problems for Valerio Gallo also, as he failed to get away. A technical problem robbing him of an opportunity to get away from the lights. You can see the frustration quite visible there for the 2021 champion, really putting him out of contention before the race had begun, and that's so disappointing for Valerio. Meanwhile, whilst the race did get underway proper, it was Busnelli who was really close and involved in the action at the sharp end of the field. Kylian Drumont, Sasaki, Kobayashi. It was a case of pick a name out of the hat and see who's leading at the end of it.
Yeah, a lot of people could sort of using their push to pass fairly early as well, all trying to get towards the front of the pack, and then it meant that management became quite a big deal. Kobayashi, of course, was leading for the first part of the race. They're using his experience as a real-life racing driver, but started to fall away. And of course, one of the many contacts we saw in this race was part of the reason for his Kylian Drumont making that move into the lead, where he stayed for quite some time. Then it got a little bit spicy.
It certainly did. There was Kobayashi contact Labutale into the back of Sasaki, then in turn into Kobayashi. That caused a penalty for Labutale. He dropped right down the field because he hit Kobayashi then got hit by Helt as well. And unfortunately, yeah, that put him out of
Actually,
contention.
like, nah. Rubbish. Yeah, unfortunately for Kobayashi, I think he had the pace to do that. And of course, right to the line there, Kylian Drummond just about getting past Dean Helt at the end there, using the karting technique of putting your head down for that extra aero. But yeah, I was interested to see. And has there been a penalty handed out there? There has been, I think, there to Dean Helt, because he's now down in 4th.
So, yeah, Dean Helt with a 1 second penalty there, I should say. Kylian Drummond, Sasaki, Busnelli and Helt go through into the grand final. Kobayashi, Miyazono, Serrano, Barbara, McEwen, Sirigaya, Labutale and Valerio Gallo down there, making it, unfortunately, quite a sizable number of drivers who didn't manage to make the cut.
No, mate, we've had 3 quite intense races.
I'm exhausted, are you?
Well, the crazy one's coming up next. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I mean, I'm really sad to see Valerio go like that. I know, of course, it's a kind of mechanical error and it can happen to anyone, but it's real sad for Valerio. And I'm surprised at the leniency the stewards gave towards Dean Helt at the start for kind of clearly jumping the start. I mean, in the end, he still got through, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, I suppose you could argue that he kind of gave himself a penalty because he ended up dropping right back in the early stages, didn't he?
Yeah, there is that as well.
I suppose you could look at it and be like, well, okay, we could give him a 3 second penalty, but he was already 3 seconds behind because he basically stopped, didn't he?
But then again, based on that, why would you give a penalty for someone coming into the pit lane in a slightly different angle when it has no result on the race? So
that's why we're not stewards, because we just wouldn't agree, would we, Jimmy?
No, I'd get thrown out very quickly.
Yeah, we don't agree on much. Anyway, one thing we can agree on is that this has been a brilliant weekend's worth of racing, and one man who's been watching it all is 3-time Le Mans winner Kazuki Nakajima. He is with Julia.
Yes, he is. Well, hi. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, excited, and I still feel a heartbeat from the watching race. Yeah.
I thought he was talking about, doing a live interview, but actually it was the race. It's pretty spicy, huh?
It is. Yeah, it's very intense and exciting. So I'm really grateful to be here to acknowledge such a great competition. And yeah, it's something much more than I was expecting.
So, I mean, it's been a pretty good year for Toyota, obviously, winning the World Endurance Championship and, of course, Toyota, the World Rally Championship. And one of my favourites, the GR Yaris. It's a very spicy car. I like it. So, I mean, it's been a really, really good year for Toyota.
Yeah, definitely it was a great year for Toyota GAZOO Racing. We won WRC, WEC, and also Dakar. So we won basically all possible world championship. We
won them all, just took them all.
Yeah, of course. So everything. Yeah, it was such a great achievement from all of our guys in the team, and yeah. But at the same time, it's grateful to be here to finish off the nice season, and yeah, I mean this e-motorsport is as exciting as real racing, or if not more than that. Yeah.
That is high praise indeed. And, as someone who's, won Le Mans like 3 times, obviously next year is the 100th year. So why is Le Mans so special for you?
Well, of course, it coming to 100 years, which is already special, right? But as we already saw today, motorsport is all about drama. And
a lot of drama.
Yeah, and to race for 24 hours, it's such a big challenge. And we also had a lot of drama before. I was part of it. And yeah, and especially next year, a lot of competition is coming. One is Porsche, which is not exactly the same car, but sitting there. So yeah, it's gonna be great show. And I mean, we had a good season this year, but we have to head to very tough season. So we still need to push, basically to push the limit. Yeah.
So going into this grand final, it's Fuji International Speedway. Obviously, you have raced there, and they're going to be in the GR0 10 cars, obviously, which you have driven yourself. What advice could you give to the drivers? Like, what kind of top tips?
Well, actually, I was speaking to some of the drivers, and I mean, all of them, I was really impressed by their passion and also the love to the cars and driving. So I just want them to simply enjoy GR010 and Fuji Speedway.
I mean, you can say that, but they've got a lot of pressure on themselves. It's very well you sitting here saying, hey, just have a nice time. If someone said, just relax before a race, you'd be like, yeah, right.
It doesn't work like that. No. But yeah, I mean, I know how pressurized they are now, but I'm sure we will have a great race, and I'm really happy to see GR010 as part of great race. So I simply want to send best wishes to everyone, and also, yeah, let's enjoy that.
Okay, all right, I'm going to ask you one last question, which is how do you stay calm? Because obviously there's a lot of nerves, there's a lot of tension in racing and sim racing. What's your technique for staying calm? How do you calm yourself down when your heart's racing?
Well, I think every race car driver, every driver here has their own routine to prepare. And
Yeah, but you won a load of stuff, so we want to know how you do it.
breathing, imagination, yeah.
Do you have a happy place?
Say again?
Do you have a happy place that you go to?
Place, no.
No happy place.
Yeah. Yeah, breathing and warm up, you know. I think everybody has their own technique and they're professional. So, yeah, let's see how they prepare and how they can perform.
Well, look, thank you so much for joining us. It's a real honor to have you in the audience. And yeah, enjoy the grand final. Thank you so much. Over to you, Tom and Jimmy. Let's get it going.
Yeah, cheers, Jules. Nice to chat to Kazuki Nakajima. This, of course, is the car that he has been driving very recently, and this is the very Le Mans winning car from 2021 as well.
I want to sit in it. They won't let me. I don't know why. There's no relevance at all. You know, it's not this historical car or anything. But yeah, awesome to see it. I was a bit starstruck actually walking up. But you know what I took away there from that interview? Is that Kazuki Nakajima has no happy place. That's really sad. Oh, poor guy. But it was really interesting to hear how he was saying that, like, he was getting as excited for this racing as the real stuff, which I mean I can definitely attest to as a sim racing degenerate myself. So amazing to see him get in the same camp.
Yeah, it really is wonderful. Great to have Kazuki here. Of course, it is the grand finals that will be coming up very shortly for us as well. 12 drivers ready to take to the grid. Only one of them can be crowned the champion, though. Have you got any inkling as to what's... I mean, to be fair, you wouldn't, because given the form book tonight, it's been a blooming nightmare to try and predict it. If you're a bookie tonight, brilliant, because you wouldn't be paying anything out, would you?
Well, my name's Tom Brooks, and I'm going to sit on the fence on this one. So if I do that, I'm fine. But you know, I don't know. It's everyone is showing that they are going on maximum aggression, massive full sends everywhere. So if we get a final full of that, great. And they've definitely got the car for it as well.
Will Murdoch, that's my pick.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's where I'm going for it. See, I'm not going to sit on the fence, only because I would like to see a Briton do well, and he is the only Briton we've got here this weekend. So,
Please, Will.
Yeah.
It's been so long since we've had new winners.
I mean, to be fair though, it is a completely different challenge, and that's one of the beauties of sim racing and what we do on Gran Turismo is that we can put them in a Supra at high speed ring, and then in the next breath we can put them in a hypercar at another circuit, which we'll talk about in a minute. I nearly revealed that then, but I didn't. Yeah, good. So, consummate professional.
Good secrets. Yeah, I am looking forward to this last race, and yeah, I mean, I'm still a bit starstruck by the car being outside and the Kazuki being here as well. Three-time Le Mans winner in our midst. Like I can feel the warmth.
Absolutely right. Well, let's meet our 12 drivers who will be lining up on the grid then for the grand final for the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. From America, it is Dean Helt. Next up, as Dean Helt makes his way onto the stage, Marco Bustinelli from Italy. Great drive he had in that semi-final just now. Let's see whether he can get himself up the sharp end in the grand final.
Let's see some dabs, boys. Come on.
Wishful thinking there, Jamie. Next up then, from Japan, we have Sasaki making his way onto the stage. About from Takuma. And next up, it is Kylian Drumont from France, the winner from the World Series Showdown in Austria at the end of July. Let's see what the Frenchman is going to be able to do here.
A disappointing lack of dab there from Kylian Drumont. 0 out of 10.
I like how you've become a commentator in the literal sense of this. Next up from the United States of America, it is Robbie Heck making his way onto the stage. Drama-filled first semi-final. Can he fight at the sharp end in this grand final?
Still no dabs.
Expert analysis as ever there, JB. Thanks very much indeed. Next up from the United Kingdom, it is Will Murdoch. Next up from Brazil, please welcome Lucas Benelli. From Japan, please welcome onto the stage, Kanata Kawakami. And then next up, please welcome onto the stage from Indonesia, Nika Rama Malana.
Awesome race in the semi-final B, so let's see what he can do here in the final.
2018 Nations Cup champion Igor Fraga will take to the grid here for the grand final from Brazil.
He's done that walk a few times, hasn't he?
He certainly has, yeah, he's pretty well versed in it. And next up, please welcome from France, Baptiste Beauvoir.
Yeah, long overdue a victory in something as Baptiste Beauvoir, so I'm sure he's hoping he can do it here in the GT Cup.
Well, there we are for Baptiste Beauvoir, but let's welcome onto the stage from Italy, the winner from semi-final A, Giorgio Mangano.
Yeah, Mangano's first win in a while in any World Tour event in semi-final A there, so can he repeat 2018? No, can he finally get another win on a big stage event? Let's find out.
And now, your respect, please, for the national anthem of our host nation here in Monaco. So the national anthem of Monaco plays out then as we get ready for the grand final for the 2022 Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. 12 drivers set to take to the grid, but of course only one can be crowned as our champion. Which of the 12 is it going to be? I mean, what a evening's worth of racing we have had here so far. There has been drama everywhere you have looked, and it's very difficult to tell exactly which of our drivers is going to emerge on top. Let's see how they line up on the grid. Giorgio Mangano will be on pole position, Baptiste Beauvoir alongside him. Then it'll be Igor Fraga and Milana, Kawakami and Benelli, Will Murdoch, Robbie Heck, and Drummond, Sasaki, Businelli, and Dean Helt leading the grid.
Yeah, a lot to do there for Helt. Businelli at the back there. Helt, of course, after that 1 second penalty in the Repechage starts from the back there. We know he's got speed, but can he make it up throughout this race? Very fast drivers at front. Mangano, Beauvoir, Fraga, all of his drivers capable of winning today, but only one can go away as a champion of the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup.
Yeah, they certainly can, and we're going to find out very, very shortly exactly what it's all about. And we're looking forward to this one because, of course, Again, it's another change of car and circuit, and it's another variable and unknown for these drivers.
Pretty much the entire show so far, really, isn't it? It's just unknown. No idea what's going on. Here is a circuit that Tom didn't give away early. It is the Fuji International Speedway, of course, in the Toyota GR010 hybrid. A proper, full-blown racing machine. Racing hard, medium and soft tyres being used with a 30-lap race. A little bit of an enduro, this one, and that is a real challenge for our drivers.
Yeah, certainly is. You can see the grid order, of course, as we know, is decided by the semi-final of the Repechage order. Times 4 on the tyre wear. Racing hard, medium and soft tyres, as Jimmy said. They must use each tyre compound in the race. And here is the machine they will be driving in. The Toyota GR010 hybrid from 2021. 1,040 kilos and just the casual 671 horsepower, combined with an electric motor horsepower of 268. Combined horsepower there of 939.
And this isn't the bopped out one you see in WEC. This is no balance of performance whatsoever. The full power of that GR010. Really looking forward to seeing how that can do. Now, should talk tyre strategy, really, shouldn't we? Given that we have 3 different compounds of tyres to choose from. Here's what our graphics guys think. God bless the graphic guys, they're still here. They reckon we're going to see a short stint on the softs, then onto the mediums for a long, hard tyre compound at the end. I think we're going to see the complete opposite. I think we'll see what we usually see, which is the drivers staying on the soft tyre for as long as possible, and then basically getting off the medium and hard as soon as possible. That hard, 2.5 seconds slower a lap than the soft compound.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing we have got to mention as well is that the stewards are keeping an eye out for penalties on the pit entry. It's very easy to cross the lines on the penalty on the pit entry here at this circuit. So don't forget about that, of course. And as you can see, that is the tyre strategy for our drivers. So keen to see exactly what it is all going to be about once we get under racing conditions.
Yeah, of course we've seen how important tyre strategy has been so far throughout this entire GT Cup. So our drivers now getting ready, putting in the last few little laps, making sure the seats and the rigs are all working. Of course, maybe Valerio should have done that before he started his race in semi-final B.
Too soon, Jimmy.
I'm
too
sorry,
soon.
Valerio, I didn't mean that, mate. There is Dean Howe, who just scraped through in the repechage there, P4, after that penalty. So this is an interesting time as a driver. You're in these last few moments of just a little bit more practice. And as actually Valerio said earlier on, you can over-practice a little bit. You know, these guys have had some time. They have quite limited time to get in and do these races. So they'll be using every moment possible just to see if the car is to their liking. But yeah, a difficult combination here, Fuji and the GR010.
Yeah, it certainly is. Well, there is a lot of tension in the air. Of course, only one of our drivers can be crowned as the 2022 champion. And as I mentioned earlier on, the champions of the last couple of years have all gone on to win in the World Series as well, either in the Nations or indeed in the Manufacturers' Cup, sometimes in both. So we'll be keen to see how this is going to play out, and whether it may give us an idea of what the form book could be like for this weekend.
Well, momentum's everything. You know, if you find yourself feeling good, then that tends to translate to a better performance as well. So, big pressure for this man here, Will Moeller, of course. We mentioned him so much because we're not used to, as Brits, to have someone to cheer for here in these competitions, of course. So, great to have him here and great to have him in the finals. His chances, though, I'm not really sure. I think just being in the top 8 would be a good result for him, but we'll see. Here's Milana as well, very, very quick actually in the first semi-final, showing that he has got the pace here to be in that top 4, starting 4th on the grid as well. I'll be interested to see what he can do. But it really is going to be very difficult to call here. A lot of very, very fast guys on the circuit. And of course, this car is going to suit some people and maybe not others.
Is there anybody in particular that you've got your eye on that you think could spring a surprise or could be up the sharper end of the field?
I'm not sure what Fraga's doing there. He was just reversing on some circuit. I was going to say Igor will be pretty quick on one of these things, I think, because he's done a bit of real-life driving in aero cars. This is a very, very aero-dependent car, so it's all about getting that, carrying that speed through the corners. And if anyone knows how to do that, it is going to be Igor Fraga. But I think, you know what? I think Baptiste Beauvoir is long overdue for something, some sort of win. We know he's got pace. We know he's got the speed in him. He just needs to convert it into a win.
Yeah, I would concur with that. Let's see whether he will be able to do that or whether his compatriot, Kylian Drumont, just in the back of your shot there, will be the other Frenchman who could possibly upset the apple cart here. It's all to play for. 30 laps, of course, for our drivers here at the Fuji International Speedway. You can see there, it's a very tricky and challenging circuit. Huge long straight. It's over 1 kilometre, that main straight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a nice place to chill out, check your phone, have a cup of coffee. I wouldn't recommend doing that in real life, of course. Not how it is, but I am interested to see. Also, we've spoken about other drivers, but not Giorgio Mangano. Giorgio Mangano's been a bit of a midfield runner for the last few years. He is my favourite stat to bring out, of course. He was our first ever World Tour winner of any event. So I think we're starting to see the Mangano of old. The pace has come back. He does seem to be quicker.
Absolutely. Well, whilst we're waiting to get final preparations underway here at Monaco for the grand final of the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. Let's throw back to Salzburg earlier on this year for the World Series Showdown and just remind you of exactly what happened there.
What I miss most about being in the live events is just being able to see everybody again, because the people are my favorite part. You know, the staff, the players, like I love everybody, and it's just great to see everybody again.
After 2 years, it's good to be back on a world tour with everyone, and seeing everyone again, it's such a great pleasure because we are a GT family, first of all. We are friends before competing, and this is why Gran Turismo family is such amazing.
Like a lot of the people you only know as a name in the race. And so it's really cool to meet up, because it's like meeting up with friends that you have known for such a long time, even though you only see them once every year or so.
All this, the family and the GT community, and such an amazing experience, honestly.
Just the trip for me is worth it. The experience is amazing. All the atmosphere here in Salzburg is just, never think it's going to be like that.
With online races, you build friendships, so to be together in a live event, it's all even better. So that's the difference.
Pues para mí es una sensación especial porque es mi primer evento presencial y algo nuevo para mí, y la verdad que estoy disfrutando muchísimo aquí.
We get ready then to go green here for the World Series Showdown in the Manufacturers' Cup then. Eyes on to the top of your screen. Let's see what will happen and who will be the victor in 48 laps time then. The longest race ever in Gran Turismo World Series history is underway as Cho leads the field down towards the first corner for Mercedes, followed by the soft-shod BMW. Then comes Volkswagen, then comes Chevrolet as they head down towards the first corner. Of course, a rolling start spreads the field out a little bit, and we won't see the moves being made until a little bit later on in the lap. But of course, the difference in tyres.
BMW gaining, going to go to the inside line. They use that soft tyre, heavy on the brakes, into the next left-hander. There it is, up the inside. BMW, no, that Mercedes still defending there, but not quite going to make that stick on the outside.
As well, you can see just how much more grip Adriano Corazza has got underneath him with the soft compound of tyres. He's right in the slipstream. Is he going to dive to the inside into the final chicane? You bet he is. Chevrolet up the inside, Corazza through into second place. Here comes Subaru sending it down the inside into the hairpin. Side by side they run. Nice, decisive and clean move there. Volkswagen trying in vain to defend the overtake, but not quite able to do. This is a very close opportunity here for Adriano Corazza. He pulls out of the slipstream. They go side by side down at the start, finish straight, and Corazza goes through. Chevrolet into the race lead.
The old big London in front of Volkswagen made a mistake, come back onto the course. Contact there with Igor Fraga. I'm not quite sure what happened. VW just looped it on the way into the corner. Might have caught the curb on the inside of it and spun the car around, lifted it, but Fraga nowhere to go there. And ditto with Nissan in front, but if anything, that's actually helped Fraga's charge. He's taken 2 places in a corner and a straight, so got to take the rough and the smooth, I guess.
Here comes Mazda trying to send it down the inside of BMW, and they do. So the Japanese drivers go through into 5th place. Nice move there. And look at how close Igor Fraga is onto the back of the Mercedes AMG. He's going to send it down the inside. Decisive move there from Igor Fraga as he goes through into 3rd place. Nice one there from Igor. Now, I know there's a tyre difference, of course, between Subaru and Toyota, but look at how much he's able to close, and the exit he gets out of that corner as he goes through into 2nd place for Toyota is just phenomenal. So great stuff from Fraga. Toyota now into 2nd, finally.
Maybe he had Kylian Drumont get on the radio and say, mate, don't bother.
He's trying to go the long way around the outside. I reckon he's trying to do the under and over into there, wasn't he? But I don't know if it's going to pay off. Let's see as he comes onto the corner race. It pulls alongside momentarily. But Beauvoir was able to just hold track position there in 2nd place.
Kylian Drumont now closing into the back of the Corvette, the American manufacturer. Can't really do much about it. There goes Drummond up the inside, late on the brakes. Move is made before the apex, up into 5th place, and now we're going to see him charge after Volkswagen.
We ride here with Kylian Drummond, who did brilliant things behind the wheel of that Subaru in his first stint. He has got the quickest compound of tyre, he has got the grip underneath him, he is right now on the back of Cockerman as he tries to look down the inside into the left-hander. This is for the race lead in the Manufacturers' Cup, and Subaru go through on lap 35. It's Subaru and Kylian Drummond who lead now from Team Toyota. Brilliant move to Mercedes, just having to wait there for Lucas Pinelli, but you guarantee that in the final sector of this lap is where we're going to see the move being made. It's exactly what it was for the race lead last time around. It's Mercedes up the inside of Toyota, and they go through into 2nd place, side by side down this back straight for 4th place, and Mazda going through on the outside. They're already ahead before the braking zone. Nothing that Lopez or Chevrolet can do. They try to hold it round the outside. There's a smattering of contact between them, and it is still Mazda that come out on top. As we come into the final series of corners, Subaru are a few seconds up the road. They're ready to come across the timing line, and here they are. Subaru win the grand final in their Manufacturers' Cup showdown here in Salzburg. Mercedes-AMG come home in 2nd place, and Team Toyota are going to hold on ahead of Mazda for the final podium positions.
Kylian Drummond putting on a fantastic performance here, definitely filling the shoes of Takuma Miyazono, who unfortunately isn't here due to catching COVID.
Every competitor at the event around the world is really nice. We enjoy to meet each other. We enjoy racing on the stage with each other. It's such a great pleasure that we can have an event like this, and it's amazing. It's really amazing experience.
So let's throw it into some highlights, shall we, and talk you through what's happened in the regional finals. We got action underway for the EMEA regional final here at the GT World Series Showdown. Yeah, Jose Serrano taking a brilliant victory here at the Deep Forest Raceway. Then we got the Americas regional final underway here at the Daytona Road Course. There was no stopping Igor Fraga, though. A phenomenal performance from the Brazilian driver. This is how it pans out then in the Asia Oceania regional final. An amazing drive from Cockerman, worthy of a champion as he came across the timing line. We bring you highlights then from this repechage race for the Gran Turismo World Series Showdown.
Valerio Gallo would make up for his 4th place in the EMEA regional final with a win in the repechage.
Trail Mountain Circuit is a very amazing track. We all waited for it for a long time.
The race today is going to be pretty exciting. It's in the Super Formula car, very high speed, very high downforce, but the tyre wear is very high, and it's going to be very easy to make a mistake.
The grand final for the Nations Cup in the 2022 Gran Turismo World Series Showdown is just moments away from getting underway. Who is going to claim the checkered flag in 30 laps time? We're about to find out as Nations Cup action is underway here at Trial Mountain. Down towards the first corner we go. It's Serrano from Igor Fraga from Cockerman from Baptiste Beauvoir, who's on the hard compound of tyres. Through into the left-hander we go and over the rise as we come onto the long back straight for the first time. He sits in the slipstream here, does Igor Fraga, and you know he is going to be able to pounce as he comes towards the inside and challenges for the race lead. Fraga is in front. Then we go onto this long back straight. He, of course, has got the advantage of the slipstream, gets a nice exit out of there. Drummond knows that, goes for the defensive line. I wonder if it might be in vain because this back straight is so long. Yeah, it is, and he knows that, Drummond. He goes towards the racing line. No point really fighting it at this early phase in the race. He can get him back on the next one if he can just keep close enough as they go into the left-hander. Kawakami up the inside, through into 5th place. And so Karatza sits in the slipstream. Cockerman, of course, is being pulled along here by Jose Serrano. But look here at the overspeed for the Brazilian driver as he has a look up the inside, dives down to the inside, into the left-hander, uses the camber on the inside of that corner and goes through into 3rd place.
Meanwhile, our leader is Jose Serrano at the moment. He is yet to stop, though, as are the first 4 drivers. You see, it's a bit of a train right now. Karatza still on the toe, coming down the straight. Next corner to left-hander. Will Serrano defend it? He's staying on the racing line for now. Karatza goes to the inside. Serrano does not defend. Karatza up into the lead here. There is Yamanaka. He's now onto the back of Kawakami. The pace difference is massive. And without a second thought, lunges up the inside of his fellow countryman up into third position.
Here comes Yamanaka down the inside, into the left-hander, through, into the lead. So from second to last to the front, but spins it round. Yamanaka's binned it on lap 11, out of the race lead. We were talking about pressure before the start of this one, and Yamanaka has cost himself very, very dearly indeed.
And you can see, though they are a little bit out of position in this race, Igor Fraga's right over the back and now up the inside of Baptiste Beauvoir as he goes through. So this is getting really spicy.
Wide. Oh!
Here it's all kicking off. Carrazza gets pushed down. We look at Jose Serrano with Angel Enestrosa trying to mount a challenge. Medium versus hard tyres, no contest there. Chilean is through and into fifth position. Next target up the road, Lucas Pinelli.
Mate, this is a probably good race so far. Igor Fraga charges down the hill with Virgil Koopman behind him coming up to the hairpin. Jose Serrano there in contention as well. Drummond and Beauvoir sitting in the pits. It was like an age for them as that fuel goes in to that X 2019. Drummond has finished fueling. Where will he come out the pit lane? Here comes Igor Fraga. Let's have a look. Fraga comes by and Drummond is out ahead of Fraga. Drummond has jumped Fraga. 1.5 seconds in the gap now, and it's now a sprint to the end.
This is going to be it then. So here comes Fraga onto the back of Drummond. Is he going to try and send it down the inside into the hairpin? No, he can't find his way through there. He's going to be patient here as Igor Fraga. He's going to try and set it up for a good exit onto the back straight. So Drummond then on the defence.
And his first win in Nations Cup behind him. Serrano and Gallo. Into the mountain goes Valerio Gallo.
Here's Beauvoir on Serrano. They're going to go toe-to-toe into the final sector of this lap. Is Beauvoir going to send it on Serrano? Yeah, he is. Up the inside, Beauvoir goes through. Cockerman closing. But I think it might be a bit of a day later than dollar short unless he can send it down the inside. Is he going to have a go on Igor Fraga? Fraga parks that car perfectly on the apex. He's going to come down to the final chicane here. He has a slide coming out and Fraga has to defend. But coming through into the final series of corners and across the line, Kylian Drummond does the double in the Nations Cup. It's his first ever win on the international stage in the Nations Cup, and it is an amazing performance from the Frenchman. Fraga does hold on for second place ahead of Ryota Cockerman. What a finish to that race. What delight for Kylian Drummond. A win for Subaru yesterday in the Manufacturers' Cup. It's a win today in the Nations Cup. It is the double for the Frenchman. Delight for Drummond at Trial Mountain.
Well, it still makes me smile watching that, looking back on what was a brilliant World Series showdown at the end of July. Now, of course, it is the Toyota Gazoo Racing GT Cup Grand Finals, and here is the circuit. Just to remind you once again where we're going to be competing. The Fujinet International Speedway in the Toyota GR010 Hybrid, the hypercar, racing hard, medium, soft tyres, 30 laps, strategy aplenty.
Yeah, as you said, Tom, of course, that massive straight here at Fuji means G1 is ripe for a good lunch. We like good lunch here on GT. There is the car we're using, the GR010. Of course, we've got the Le Mans winning one from this year, actually out back, just vibing there. So you fancy come seeing one, come say hi. But yeah, combined total horsepower of nearly 940. So basically, you press the throttle and go to another dimension.
It's pretty good, isn't it? Right, here is how the grid then lines up for the grand final for the Toyota Gazoo Racing GT Cup. On pole position, the Italian Giorgio Mangano, the winner from semi-final A. Alongside him is Baptiste Beauvoir, the Frenchman. Next up on the grid, it is Igor Fraga from Brazil. He has got Milana, the Indonesian, for company alongside. Kanata Kawakami heads row 3 for Japan, with Lucas Pinelli, the Brazilian, for company. Then it is Will Murdoch, the only British driver in the field, lining up P7 with Robbie Heck in P8 on the grid. P9 is Kylian Drummond, the Frenchman. We saw him winning just a couple of moments ago at the World Series Showdown. He has got Takuma Sasaki alongside him. And then it is Marco Busnelli, who was incredibly quick in the repechage, with Dean Helt completing the 12-driver strong field. So then, Tyre strategy is, of course, very important here in this one. The top two starting on the medium tyres, likewise Milano, Kawakami and Benelli here. Jimmy, what do you make of that?
Yeah, all over the place strategy there. I'm interested to see what Dean Hell's going to try and do. Right at the back, he's opted for that soft tyre, so I think he's going to go full attack straight away, which, of course, will leave him open to attack towards the end of the race. But I think medium tyres are a good tyre to go for if you're at the front of the field. Gives you a bit of breathing room depending on how the tyre performs over the course of that first stint.
So, 12 drivers then, 30 laps. Only one can become the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup champion of 2022. Who is it going to be? We're going to find out in about 45 minutes or so's time. Tension is in the air for our drivers here at Monaco. And as the field weave their way through, we get ready to go green here at the Fuji International Speedway. Giorgio Mangano will lead the field across the timing line as the Toyota GR GT Cup Grand Final gets underway here at Fuji then. It's Mangano from Beauvoir, from Igor Fraga as they head down in towards the first turn. Keep an eye out for Fraga as well. There's a bit of contact in the early doors here as Fraga on the soft tyres goes towards the outside. Mangano into the race lead, followed by the Brazilian, followed by Baptiste Beauvoir. And there's contact and drama there at the back. That looks like Kawakami is involved in some strife as he ended up having a bit of a moment and possibly a bit of a spin.
Yeah, so we'll look at that once we'll get replay of that and see what happened there in the background. But right now it is Mangano leading from Fraga from Beauvoir, held all the way up into P4 after all that there from the back of the grid. So an amazing start from the American driver. They're really making the use of that soft compound tyre and the drama going on back there. Kawakami and Milano seem to be the ones caught up in that one for now. Here is Mangano though on the way through, just about defending from Igor Fraga, who's very keen to get by on that soft compound tyre. He's going to go on the inside here. There's not much of a gap there. Igor has to think better of that, but Mangano just about holding on for now on that medium.
Yeah, he's certainly trying there, isn't he? But here he goes, dives down the inside as Igor Fraga into the left-hander and goes into the race lead. So it's now the Brazilian in front of the soft tyre, followed by Mangano, followed by Beauvoir. Problem for Milano, unfortunately. The Indonesian driver having a technical problem by the looks of things with his ring, and that means he is out before the start of this one as the drivers coming into the pit lane, or at least looking like they were going to come into the pit lane at the end of the first lap. But it is Fraga who leads the field across the timing line, followed by Mangano, followed by Dean Helms.
Milano there getting a round of applause coming off the rig. Real shame that, but we'll get back to the race at hand. Fraga is through, as you said there. The two soft runners, interestingly, after a very, very strong start. And I'm really impressed by Helm's start. He was last at the start of this, and now he's right back on to the rear end of Fraga, a guy who we know is very quick in cars like this. Beauvoir is there as well, Mangano there. So top four have pulled away from the rest of the field, though. The hard runners seemingly struggling a little bit to keep pace at the moment, but we do know that hard compound tyre is quite slow compared to the rest. So they are going to struggle a bit at the start, but of course, when the strategy comes their way towards the end, when they bolt on that softer compound, they will be in the pound seat.
So, down in towards the right-hander into this infield section. This is where Fraga picked the pockets of Mangano last time around. And Mangano there just sitting in fourth position ahead of Lucas Benelli, who's also on the medium compound of tyre. Just up the road there is Baptiste Beauvoir as they flick it through into the right and then the left. And Mangano doing a good job. I'd say impressive to see him performing so well in semi-final A for the GR GT Cup here earlier on, his first win on the international stage for quite a considerable amount of time. And it is nice to see him fighting up the sharper end of the field. Good to see him making a resurgence, really, above anything else.
Yeah, definitely. And there's an incident under investigation between Helt and Benelli. Helt's probably not happy to see that. He's been definitely in the wars at this point. Here is Mangano on board in that GR010. 330 k's we reached where we slam on the anchors into T1, try and get the nose of the car towards the apex and accelerate out using that forward drive. Dean Helt has been given a 1 second penalty, so it has been a good rise through the grid there from Dean Helt, but obviously it's been a little bit naughty. So second penalty applied there to Dean Helt, and that'll be served towards the bottom of the circuit, and it will have quite significance because it's slowing down to the time and also then speeding up again afterwards, so it's more like a 2 or 3 second penalty.
Well, if you're on the hard compound tyres here and you're Kylian Drumont, obviously, you know, you're not at the sharp end where you would like to be in this race, but you've got to sit there and play the long game effectively in this one, don't you?
Yeah, it's a long race, this one. It's definitely all about strategy and about just being consistent over the race distance. So whilst it's necessarily quite as explosive as our Repechage race was, I foresee by the time we get to the end, it's going to be a little bit more aggressive than it is now. So just watching right now those awesome shots of Mount Fuji sitting in the background here of the Fuji International Speedway. Igor Fraga leading from just over 2 seconds, or just under 2 seconds, sorry, from Dean Held. But there will be a penalty being served right now. It's in the worst place possible, right at the start of this straight here. He will be able to use that hybrid to get up to speed fairly quickly, but it is still going to cost him massively. So Held then serves a penalty. Here comes Beauvoir and Mangano. Will he lose the place? Yeah, fairly easily.
Yeah, unfortunately there for Dean Held, and well, there you go. Let's see Beauvoir go through into second place, then Giorgio Mangano ready to try and pick his pocket if he can get his way through on the inside there, but not quite able to do so. So these three drivers running nose to tail. Just in the background there is Giorgio Mangano. Then a 1.2 second gap back to Luca Spinelli on the medium compound of tyres, flicking it through into that left-hander as they head down the run in towards the next series of corners. You can see Dean Held immediately trying to retaliate on Baptiste Beauvoir, having a look down the inside. Gap's always going to decrease there with Beauvoir in front, but he tries to get a stronger exit as Beauvoir runs it onto the curb, and unfortunately it's just a little bit far away at the moment. But of course he's got soft tyres underneath him, so he'll have more grip in the braking zone and on the traction. And again, just really having those sort of half looks, but not really making anything decisive, is he?
Yeah, you've got to commit. You can't just drive into the back of someone through a quarter and expect them to dive out the way. You have to really push the car in and make sure that move is decisive. Now, Beauvoir's not going to want this. He's not going to want to be fighting with Dean Held here, because he's thinking about the long race. He's thinking about his strategy going onto the soft and hard tyre a little bit later on. So I think at this point it seems that Beauvoir would just do well to get out of the way and let Held get on with it and not have a scramble, not lose time to Fraga in front, who now has a 5-second gap over the cars in front of Dean Held, just giving a little bit of a wave of the hand there, saying, well, come on, mate, no, that wasn't really a collision. I tend to agree there. 340 k's there. From Giorgio Mangano right at the inside, just behind Held, a bit of a tap there. I think he found himself going a bit quicker than he expected to there, and just jumped on the brakes and just about stopped.
It's very easy when you've got the closing speed, because of course you're carrying more straight line speed, and that's literally, you see Dean Held there really struggling on the exit of the corner, just made a little bit wide, and that cost him a bit of time. And Mangano, despite being on the medium shod tyres, got a much better run through that left-hander of turn 3, and is now all over the rear wing of Held. Through the left-hander they go. Can he try and launch a move down the inside and towards the right-hander of turn 9? I think he's just be a little bit too far away here, but yeah, Dean Held, now he's on those soft tyres, you can really see the difference. But Mangano going for the lunge down the inside, and look at that on the inside, it's Baptiste Beauvoir. Where on earth did he come from? Side by side they come as they run through the left and then the right-hander, and it's Beauvoir versus Mangano then, and Dean Held. Dean Held there, now pushed out down to third. So this is terrifically exciting, and it's now 4 drivers all squabbling for position here.
This just all plays into the hands of Igor Fraga. As I said, these guys don't need to be fighting this hard at this point in the race, but they all, I mean, Beauvoir there, I think that lunge was to try and, Mangano was trying to defend from Beauvoir, who was well up the inside at that point. I think we're probably going to see the stewards take a peek at that a little bit. We don't. Racing in GT is a non-contact sport, so if there is contact, it does tend to get looked into. But now there's a train behind Beauvoir. Held and Mangano almost 3 wide coming down into T1. Held goes back up the inside in that soft tyre, and every time this happens, Fraga gets another few temps. Look, 8.5 seconds is the gap now, and that's side by side still on lap 6 of 30. Boys, be clever.
Well, I think they're throwing caution to the wind as it stands at the moment. You see Beauvoir then just running a little bit deep onto the curb. Giorgio Mangano keeping a watching brief in the background there, as Dean Held, despite being on that soft compound of tyres, just not able to utilise it as much as he would like. Trying to again have that half look down the inside of Beauvoir into the left-hander, pulls alongside him, but it's again all going to be in vain, because Beauvoir's got a good amount of exit speed coming through there. As they go down the inside, we could have a repeat of what we had on the last lap, and here comes Dean Held going for that lunge. Mangano's going to try and pick his pocket here as well and seize the opportunity. So Held goes through into second, or does he? Because Beauvoir's on the inside line into the next corner, but they flick it right, and Held does eventually get the move done and goes past into second place. Mangano versus Spinelli there in the background here as well, as Beauvoir gets shuffled out onto the curb ever so slightly, and you can see Spinelli there just trying to keep a watching brief, trying to pick up the pieces. It just concertinas up so much in the mid stages of that infield section, doesn't it?
Just let him go. Let Dean go. You don't need to fight him. I'm looking at this and I'm frustrated for these. But you see Baptiste in the bottom left, he's effing and blinding down there. I'm not surprised. He knows he's losing a chunk of time. Look, the gap to Fraga is 10 seconds after 7 laps, and Helt started on the same tyres as Fraga. Up until his penalty, he was a second behind Fraga, and it's still happening. And you see that Helt just doesn't have the speed or the braking capability of the cars behind, so he's holding everyone up here.
Side by side in the background there with Benelli versus George. Contact, and Benelli goes off into the wall and spins it round. Goodness me, we've had drama in the semi-finals, drama in the repechage, and now we've got drama in the grand final. The Brazilian driver facing the wrong way, tumbling down the timesheets there, and I dare say the stewards are going to want to have another look at that one.
Oh, God. This has been an interesting race so far. Both Wilds got a ball in for like kind of another car, but that's the one we're looking at. Benelli there, of course, a slap of the wheel. He knows that he's pretty much lost his chance at this race now after that. So, you know who I'm keeping an eye on now is Kylian Drumont on the hard compounded tyre. They're staying out of trouble back there. They're just running their race. Here's a replay of what happened then. So we're going to go on board with Giorgio Mangano. This is Benelli coming past us on the left here, and just contact there, hits the rear quarter of him and just sends him to the right. Pit manoeuvre, as they call it over in the US there. And yeah, that sent Benelli into the wall, so not intentional, but definitely on Mangano.
Right, well, goodness me, I mean, it's kicking off here, isn't it? So Benelli's now down into 6th place on the medium shot tyres, so he's now out of his sort of place where he should be, really, because he's now out of a rhythm in terms of the strategy that he's running, so he's going to have to try and rethink things. We were expecting the hard shot runners to go for as short as they possibly can. We're on lap 8 out of 30, and according to what we had on the strategy before the start of this one, it was about 10 laps on each compound of tyre, but Sasaki says, oh, hell to that, and goes off of the hard tyre. Which one is he going to go on to, though, for the first pit stop in this race? He goes on to the medium tyres for his middle stint.
Yeah, I think they're playing the game. Get rid of the harder compounds first, and go on to the soft at the end for a fast finish. Have the best car possible underneath you to fight at the end of the race. So, you know, at the moment, I think, you know, the potential podium is going to be Fraga, Drumont and Murdoch, because there's been so much going on in the midfield. They've just been slowing each other up for the entire race so far. So it's been so... It's just not how you run a clever race. It's 30 laps. There's so much time to make these moves. Why are you making them now? Why are you fighting to the point where you've lost now 12 seconds on the leader, Igor Fraga?
Yeah, it's, well, interesting, isn't it? Look at the front tyres, though, for Dean Helt. Those soft tyres are absolutely warm. Compare that to Igor Fraga, who's not had to worry too much about anything like dirty air, and has just been able to run his own pace. He's got 33% compared to the 12% of the front tyres of Dean Helt, so he's going to have to pit this time around. No doubt about that for Dean Helt, because his tyres are going to be so worn and offering him such little grip. Let's see when he comes into the pit lane. Yes, he does. So he will come in and off of the soft compound tyre a bit earlier than he would have liked to, but clearly those soft tyres obviously very much past their operating window. Beauvoir and Mangano continue on the medium shod machines. Drumont, Murdoch into the pits there as well on the hard tyres. They go onto the mediums respectively. Dean Helt onto the hard tyres as well. So a real divergence in strategies going on here, and just a warning being given there between Mangano and Benelli for that incident we saw last time around.
All right. Yeah, okay. I mean, like, get your notepad out, Tom, because you're going to have to try and remember with your strategies now. Come on, you've got a fancy one there. Get typing. Dean out of the pit lane, then gone to the hard compound tyre now, so he's going to be slow for the next stint. So in my mind, he's out of it. He's got no chance of a podium here or winning this. It's between the fast hard runners, and I think Igor Fraga. Igor's just done what he does. He loves to lead from the front. Put him on a set of soft tyres at the start of the race, he will just drive until they fall off. And we are seeing the tyres fall off. He's realistically got maybe one more lap on these tyres, maybe two at a real push, but one, I think, before the performance really falls away. So if he can do that, he's got to lap 10 before going over to the slower compounded tyres. Now, would he go medium or hard now? I think he'd go onto the medium compounded tyre and just try and keep the pace, try and build the gap as much as he can. So he dives into the pit lane now, does our leader. What tyre does he go on to? And that pit lane entry is a lot more harder to navigate than you think. Igor goes on to the medium compounded tyres. So medium compound there for Igor Fraga. No fuel needed at this point, so it will just be a fairly quick stop from him. I am interested, though, to see where he comes out, though. What he doesn't want now is that we see a lot of time in Formula One. He's coming out into traffic. tyres. You want to try and be in clear air for as long as possible. Where's he going to pits? Look in the mirror. It comes out. There's no one in front of him. I don't see anyone behind him. There's Kawakami. So this is ideal for Igor Fraga.
Yeah, it's exactly what he needs then in this race, isn't it? So perfect for Igor Fraga. That 14-second gap that he had at the start of this one has been able to pull out whilst others have been fighting behind has been really beneficial for the Brazilian driver, and now he can just continue on the same strategy as he wanted to. So only 3 drivers are yet to make a pit stop. That is Baptiste Beauvoir, Giorgio Mangano and Kanata Kawakami. All 3 of those drivers on the medium compound of tyre. Igor Fraga, of course, now on the fresh mediums, sitting there in 3rd place. What is Baptiste Beauvoir going to do? He's just sitting there quite comfortably as it stands at the moment. Those mediums, of course, have got there's sort of a fairly happy medium between the soft and the hard, as the tyres would suggest, given the names. And of course, he's got relatively good grip, relatively good pace, and seems quite comfortable out there on the mediums for now.
Yeah, but Fraga's going to be gaining the entire time they're out there now. He's on that fresher compound of tyre. You can see, even though, despite the fact he's made a pit stop, so these guys have to make a minimum of 2 stops in this race. He's made one, and he's already only 8 seconds behind Mangano. So, and gaining at this point. I'd be interested to see Fraga's lap times on this fresh set, but he's going quickly right now. The leader of again, keep an eye on Kylian Drumont, keep an eye on Sasaki and Murdoch and this bunch of guys. These are the guys who started in the hard compound of tyres. So they're not at the top of the field right now, but when we get onto that last stint, when we get onto that soft compound of tyre, they're going to be charging, and they're going to be charging hard. So keep an eye on those guys as this race unfolds.
Yeah, that's what we're used to seeing here in these sort of longer format races. We have a pretty frenetic start. It all quietens down in the sort of mid stages of the race, and then towards the end of it, it all kicks off as the strategies begin to emerge, and all of the drivers sort of figure it out, really, basically. Giorgio Mangano and Lucas Minelli, no further action there for colliding with another car, so they'll be pretty pleased with that. But yeah, it's interesting to see how it is all going to play out. Riding on board here with Takuma Sasaki. He's had a bit of a challenging run of things so far, given how it went in the semi-finals and later on here in this grand final. It's going to have to wait for it to come. We're going to have to wait for the race to come to him, I should say, rather than put the teeth back in, and he sits there in 8th place for now.
Well, I think that's it. Drumont, Sasaki and Murdoch are actually in a good place right now, and Drumont, I was going to say, he went wide there, coming in through the corner. He's picked up a 0.5 second penalty. Now, that isn't going to be a lot, but that should be enough for Sasaki to be able to drive by him on the straight if he can get close enough. There's Murdoch close in contention as well. Benelli diving up the inside of needing help there after his recovery, after being shunted off by Giorgio Mangano on the soft tyre. A little bit wide next to him, sideways there. Benelli is driving angry in that soft compound tyre. Who can blame him, though?
No, absolutely. He needs to just make advantage of whatever he can in this race, can Lucas Benelli, and now he's got a bit of clear track in front of him. Hopefully he can pull out enough of a gap on that soft tyre over Dean Helm to be out of the slipstream range. He's got, as you can see, quite a sizable gap to bridge to Kanata Kawakami. Of course, I know Kawakami hasn't made his pit stop yet, but 15.4 seconds or so is pretty insurmountable. There's the half-second penalty about to be served here for Kylian Drumont. That's going to drop him into the clutches and possibly behind Sasaki. Maybe even under threat here from Will Murdoch as they come down the start-finish straight. So Sasaki then with a bit of a clear track in front of him now, only sort of briefly, but Drumont sitting in the middle there. Will Murdoch was not able to get himself ahead down in towards that first turn. So Drumont has now got a bit of work to do to get himself ahead of the Japanese driver.
Now this little group here, we've discussed this before, it happened at the start of the race. This little group here has got to be clever. They can't be squabbling. Disallowed. Well, I mean, I like seeing the moves, of course, as a commentator, but for the sake of the race, for the sake of challenging Igor Fraga, who has now gained within 5 seconds of Mangano, that gap down from 8 seconds after his pit stop. So that time-wise, he's lapping about 1.5 seconds faster than the leader, and 2 seconds that faster than Mangano is Igor Fraga. But this little trio here, they need to just be clever and just not lunge at each other, not hit each other, not cause them to lose time, and just think about the end of the race. This is endurance Broadbent here with his endurance hat on. Think about the end of the race.
Leader into the pits, Baptiste Beauvoir onto the hard tyres. Giorgio Mangano following exactly the same strategy. I guess that makes sense because, of course, he'll want to be as close to the Frenchman as he possibly can. Notice how they run. It's still here between 6th, 7th and 8th place, held to Sasaki and Kylian Drumont. So onto the hard tyres then comes Baptiste Beauvoir. Kawakami also into the pit lane there as well. So everybody's now made at least one stop here in this race. where are they going to emerge in relation with Igor Fraga? Fraga is quite clearly going to be a sizable amount up the end of the road, isn't he?
These things are rockets coming out of the pit lane, aren't they? You get that four-wheel drive, you get the hybrid action, 938 brake horsepower underneath your right foot. Can't imagine what that must feel like. There's only one man in this room that does, of course. Kazuki Nakajima here, our VIP guest, watching on, and these guys driving around Fuji. But we're on board now with Benelli. He comes up behind Beauvoir. Now Benelli's on that soft compound tyre, so he's got a lot more grip than Baptiste Beauvoir. Doesn't go for the move there. He's being a bit more patient. I think he's learned from being roughed about earlier on in the race. I'm going to try and make this move down the bottom here. This is one of the good overtaking spots down here. It's a heavy braking zone. It's where the soft tyre really makes the biggest difference. Up the inside goes Benelli. Yeah, fairly easy there. I'm not surprised to see Baptiste Beauvoir not fighting that. But again, as I say, I think the damage to Beauvoir's race has already been done in the first half of the race.
Well, it's interesting for Igor Fraga. His gap coming into the pits before his first stop was some 13.6 seconds there and thereabouts after the pit stops and played out for the first one. He's got it up to like 19 seconds there and thereabouts. So that's really, really impressive here for Igor Fraga, and exactly what we're used to seeing. He's one of those drivers that when he leads from the front, he is able to just pull out such a sizable gap over the rest of the field. And this is a great example of that in the grand final. No exception at all.
Fraga just knows how to execute a race like this. He'll go, right, okay, right, off I go, no mistakes, bam, he'll just do it every time. That's why Igor is held in such high regard by everyone in the Gran Turismo community. Looking back from Kylian Drumont now, behind us is Sasaki and Murdoch. These guys have done what I expected them to, which is just drive round together. Just drive round, being sensible and being involved in the race. They have to be careful because behind them they've got Dean Held, they've got Bustinelli there as well. You can drive around carefully, but also the last thing you want to do is then get stuck behind someone. Like Giorgio Mangano right now on that hard compounded tyre. This is showing you just how much that first stint affected Mangano and Beauvoir, because now all these guys are starting on a hard tyre who were a long way behind at the start of their stints are now starting to come back by, and then the soft tyre still to run. So this is really for proper track position now.
So then, this is going to be really exciting here for Takuma Sasaki, who sits there in 6th position at the moment, 3rd in your picture, as they come down into the right hand. And look at that, he's up the inside of Giorgio Mangano. Mangano, though, flicks it left and holds firm on that hard tyre for the time being. But I think it's all going to be in vain, because here comes Sasaki then down the inside as Will Murdoch gets ready to try and pick his pocket there too. So Giorgio Mangano loses a position to the Japanese driver and is now possibly set to lose a place to the Brit here too. And I think Murdoch held the move around the outside there. So that was brilliant stuff from Will Murdoch. Exactly what we love to see from the British driver as he gets himself ahead and up into P6.
And they all needed to do that as soon as possible. So they got that done very quickly in the right place there. Mangano probably thinking, oh, what happened there? I was 4th a minute ago, now down to P7. But of course, that tyre difference is so massive. The hard tyre in any of our Gran Turismo events has always been the one to avoid. And you can see why the grip is just not there. It's about 2.5 seconds slower than the soft compound, about a second and a bit slower than the medium. So there really is a massive difference there, and we're seeing that come into play. So we're at the halfway distance now of the grand final of the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup. Igor Fraga currently your leader by 20 seconds over Luca Benelli, and that is on pace pretty much alone there. But Benelli did have it earlier on, but 20-second gap in front. There's Baptiste Beauvoir, someone who we thought might have a chance of winning this thing in 3rd, with Drumont in 4th, Sasaki 5th, and Murdoch, this man, in 6th, having just got past Giorgio Mangano. On board now for Will Murdoch, his first big event here in the GT World Series, so interesting to see how well, I think he's doing really well. I know it might be a bit biased as the Brit, but I think he's putting on a really good performance here today, Tom.
Yeah, it certainly is. Really impressed to see how Will Murdoch's been doing. I was chatting to him yesterday and he said, I've wanted to do this for a couple of years now, but he's been too young. That's been the unfortunate stumbling block. You have to be 18 to come to these events and compete in them, and he's just not been of age in order to be able to do so. He's actually qualified for previous events, but because of his age, he's not been allowed to come here and compete in them. So it's nice to see him fighting on the international stage and fighting well as well. I mean, we've been a bit sparse in terms of British drivers up the sharp end of the field for quite a while. I think back to last year when we had Martin Grady, who had a couple of good races, but other than that, it's been pretty thin on the ground in terms of seeing British drivers. But it's good to see Will Murdoch again now right on the back here of Takuma Sasaki, and possibly on for a top 5 finish here in this grand final if it stays like this.
Yeah, Sasaki wide there. Murdoch pounces on that straight away up to the inside. We saw a repeat of this earlier on with Mangano and Benelli. Luckily no contact this time, but Murdoch getting very, very close to Sasaki, and he has to be careful here as well. They ideally both want to stay with Kylian Drumont because they are directly racing him in this at this part of the race. They're all on the same strategy, so they need to get by. Interesting as well, Busanelli is starting to come into the fray. He's 1.8 seconds behind this sort of battle, so it's starting to get fairly decent in the midfield, and Beauvoir picks up a 0.5 second penalty. That's for track limits there, so a bit wide, and that's going to hand the position to Drumont and Sasaki. To be fair, if Beauvoir was feeling like a nice compatriot right now, he would get out of the way of Drumont now and try and hold up the guys behind him. I think honestly both wild race is pretty much over after that first stint.
Yeah, such a shame there for Baptiste. It does mean that the other Frenchman, though, Kylian Drumont, may be ready to take advantage of that and sort of pick up the mantle, as it were, with that half-second penalty here for Baptiste Beauvoir to deal with. Let's see how it works out here for the Frenchman and see how much time he's going to lose. Of course, he will lose a place here to Kylian Drumont, but will it drop him into the clutches of Takuma Sasaki, rather, I should say. There goes the penalty into the zone. He loses out to him, but fortunately, I suppose at least the saving grace here for Beauvoir is he can dart back into the slipstream immediately and not lose too much time relative.
They're probably wondering, why is Baptiste Beauvoir out there on the hard compound tyre if they're so slow? Well, he still has the soft compound yet to run, but the soft compound wears very, very quickly. In fact, we see it about 10 laps is its life, maybe, if you push it. So Beauvoir has to do at least 4 laps on this tyre before he can then go to the soft tyre. In that time, he's losing about 2.5 seconds a lap to those on the soft compounded tyre. There are your tyre wears percentages right now, but now that you can see on the soft tyre, it's starting to get to the point where he wants to think about changing. But ideally, he wants to stretch that tyre out as far as possible, because even on the lower percentage, it's still quicker than the other 2 compounded tyres.
Here's Will Murdoch right on the back of Takuma Sasaki, then down in towards the right-hander we go. Sasaki's going to have a late lunge there on Baptiste Beauvoir. The door's kind of ajar, but Sasaki's forcing it open as he comes through into the left-hander then. And he's going to lose out possibly here to Will Murdoch, who's ready to try and pick his pocket as they come through into the right-hander. He tried to move around the outside here, but they're going to flick it into the left. And he's going to have the inside line. That is beautiful stuff there from Will Murdoch. Gets that move done, to a round of applause here from the crowd at Monaco. And the British driver, opportunist as ever, goes from keeping a watching brief on that battle, attacking in front, to attacking himself and getting inside the top 5.
Yeah, Will's got his dad here today in the audience. I'm sure he liked that one as much as we did up here. Baptiste Beauvoir immediately pulls to the right-hand side. Is he going to pit? No, he's just trying to break the toe. Bit cheeky there from Baptiste. He pretended to pit and then didn't. So if that's allowed, that's pretty clever by him. But now he's giving the toe to Will Murdoch, who's surely going to have the advantage in the braking zone here. Doesn't quite isn't quite close enough to make that move, but it's only a matter of time, I think, before Baptiste Beauvoir is going to be overhauled by the cars behind him. He's doing a good job on that hard tyre, don't get me wrong, but all he can do is defend and hope the other guys can't get by. Again, Beauvoir wide, is that going to be a penalty? I'm not sure. I think he just stayed within track limits there.
Yeah, I think he just about got away with it, did Baptiste Beauvoir there. Keeping an eye out for Sasaki and Busanelli there in the background as well, keeping a watching eye on what is happening in front between Beauvoir and Will Murdoch through into the run for the heavy braking zone of turn 9 and into turn 10 we go. And this is where we've seen so many moves being made, and of course these drivers all on varying different strategies. Beauvoir on that hard tyre is going to be a bit of a sitting duck compared to Murdoch, Sasaki and Busanelli on the medium compound. So let's see how well Beauvoir can defend in this infield section here.
This, for Murdoch and Sasaki though, it's a little bit of a nightmare, because Beauvoir has now basically helped Drumont increase the gap to 2.3 seconds. That gap was just over a second before, so having to wait behind the slower car here is really hindering these guys. So I think Murdoch will get by here in the straight. It's a fairly easy slipstream by. Benelli coming into the pit lane, by the way, so we'll see what he does. Murdoch in as well, chooses to come in now. Is he going to go to the soft? Because we know the soft can't go that long. Maybe he's going to go just for the hyper undercut and hope for the best.
Well, this will be an interesting strategy. So Benelli goes soft to soft then, doesn't he?
Did you mean to do that?
Well, I wonder if he's trying to play a bit of an on-ball strategy then here. And maybe go soft to soft and then go for a slower compound for 1 lap at the end, because you have to run all 3 compounds.
I don't know, it's such a long pit lane here that I don't know, or it's a really quick, long straight. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to do that, but we'll see, maybe it is. Murdoch comes back out the pit lane on the soft tyres. Now, we saw that Igor Fraga could just about make those last 10 laps, so Will's got it all to do.
He certainly does. The gap for the race leader now up to 26, nearly 27 seconds. Hugely impressive drive here from Igor Fraga. Baptiste Beauvoir defending like his life depends on it. You can see our international commentators down the bottom left of your screen. We're live in 7 different languages here for the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup, as it gets pretty feisty there in the midfield.
Beauvoir there, this massive fat old drift out the corner. I have no idea how he kept that together. I think the hybrid kicked in at the wrong time and just caught him by surprise. He's really struggling. He's all over the track now, but this is playing into the hands of Will Murdoch, who just bit him because Saki's there, he's stuck. Busnelli's there, he's stuck. And Beauvoir, even though his tyres look good in terms of percentage, there's just no grip there. He needs to get off them as soon as possible. Will he come into the pits now? Surely he does. Yeah, he does into that soft compound tyres. Saki stays out low for another lap. Drummond in as well, reacting there, I think, to Murdoch.
The beautiful thing here for Murdoch is he's got clear track in front of him as well, about 12 seconds or so. 7 seconds or so it sheds on there. It's actually come down a little bit over the last couple of laps or so. But that's really good there for Will Murdoch, so he'll be pleased with that. Drummond onto the soft, Beauvoir onto the soft, and help onto the mediums.
Let's see where he comes out, though, in context to Drummond, because that's the guy that Murdoch currently is kind of fighting on this strategy at the moment. Igor Fraga right now has checked out 20 seconds, 30 seconds ahead of Suzuki. Where is Murdoch?
There he is, in the front shot. He's already ahead.
So he's ahead of Beauvoir. Is he ahead of Drummond? No, he's about a second behind, but just by pitting 1 lap earlier, he's gained a second and a half over Kylian Drummond in front. So there you go, that undercut working well there, and he's passed Beauvoir. They're all on the soft to the end now. Fraga there, his best lap time, a 1:26.3. That was set right at the start of the race on the soft compound tyre. Right now he's doing 27 seconds.
Yeah, really impressive stuff there for Igor Fraga, then just, again, driving superlatively, really, and almost on a Sunday drive out on a bit of a cruise here at the Fuji International Speedway. He could be set to become the 2022 Toyota GR-GT Cup champion. Here is Sasaki with Bustinelli all over his rear spoiler as they come through into this start-finish straight then, the long straight, and this is where Bustinelli, of course, will have the advantage of the slipstream. And let's see how effective it is going to be for Bustinelli. Well, it's not going to be effective at all because they both come into the pits then at the end of lap 20.
So how's this gonna pan out? So I'm putting on my big brain strategy hat, and it works sometimes. So here's what I think is going to happen. All the pit stops are going to be done. It's going to be Fraga, Drummond, Murdoch, Beauvoir. That's going to be our fight for the podium. But Fraga's, he's gone. I don't think there's any catching him unless there's a mistake by Igor Fraga. We've seen it in the past. It can happen. So the race is definitely not over at this point. And there you go, Benelli. Bear in mind, he has got another stop to make. So he's not used, I think it's the hard compounder tyre yet.
You could be right, yeah.
So that's going to be our top 3. Murdoch is right on the back of Drummond. Like it's 3 tenths between the two. So that's going to be our fight for second, I think, at this point. Here is Kylian Drummond. He's currently in third track. There is Will Murdoch behind, driving like a man in a spy. But they've got to be careful, especially Will, because Will right now is on the older. Well, he's going to have the older set of softs towards the end of the race. They're going to fall away massively towards the end. So ideally, he needs a big gap or to make his move now.
So the race now beginning to come into its own. Just less than 9 laps now remaining here, separating us from the conclusion of this one. Everybody's made 2 stops, but of course there's a couple of divergences in the strategies, namely Lucas Benelli, who's on the soft compound tyre, but owes still another compound in this race. Igor Fraga has only made 1 pit stop, but he's just out on his own really at the moment, so we can discount him. But it's all a battle for the podium. It's getting really exciting here between these two. And Will Murdoch sitting there in effectively a de facto podium place. This will be an amazing result for the British driver on his debut on the international stage.
Yeah, but we've still got a few laps to go here, Tom. We're coming on to lap 21 now. For these guys here, for Murdoch, of course, comes across the start-finish line there. So 22, my apologies for Will Murdoch. So still 8 or 9 laps left, including this one. And you can see just sort of biding his time, I think. I think he knows he needs to keep those tyres alive. He knows he needs to make sure that those tyres still have something left in them towards the end. Otherwise, he's going to be just kept. He's going to just be a sitting duck. Kylian Drummond, though, another good drive there from the Frenchman so far. He did so well last time in our last World Tour showdown event at Salzburg. Again, performing really well here on a very, very big stage here at Monaco. He's got a good future ahead of him. That's Kylian Drummond.
Dean Helt's race unfortunately goes from bad to worse, picking up a 1-second penalty for colliding with another car. We haven't seen that incident on screen. Unfortunately for Dean, though, it does mean that he is going to drop even further off the back as Igor Fraga is into the pits. Medium to hard tyres he goes onto for his last stint in this race.
Let's see what that gap is. I'm really interested now. Now, it's not the gap to Benelli you're looking at, it's the gap to Drummond you're looking at. So we'll try and work that out as soon as he comes out of the pit lane. But when he pitted, he was about 40 seconds ahead. So we had a massive, massive gap behind him. Let's see what it is now. We're not going to see, well, you can see on the mini-map there in the top right, that is the gap between him and Benelli. The third arrow there is Drummond. So he's got the entire straight. That's a massive gap.
Not bad at all, is it? Here's what happened with Dean Helder. This is the penalty that he was given. So he's behind Kawakami then, into the left-hander. Yeah, you can't go and do that, unfortunately.
You thought you would have learned by now. Apparently not.
Brakes in the middle or on the left, depending on which way you drive.
So the gap to Drummond Fraga is 20 seconds, 21 seconds. That's a massive gap, and that is the gap now. Even though Fraga's on the hard compounder tyre, he could cruise round at a second and a bit of lap slower, and he'd be completely fine.
Yeah, this has been an absolute domination from Igor Fraga. Hugely impressive for him so far. Still 7 laps though remaining in this one. Plenty of time for things to change, and of course still a pit stop owed for Lucas Benelli. He's a bit out of sync here. He's sort of double stinted on this soft compounder tyre, and I imagine, as I said earlier on, he's probably going to come in right at the very end of this race at the last possible opportunity. Looks like Busnelli's just been able to get the better of Takuma Sasaki. Those two are squabbling for 6th place in this race. Be interested to keep an eye and see how that develops. Not that it's going to count for a sort of podium positions or anything like that, but still a nice battle that is taking place on track with those two separated by just a few hundredths of a second.
You've got also the back of that, of course, Beauvoir is there. So if anything happens with Drummond and Murdoch, Beauvoir's going to jump in and go, all right, cool, freeze the party, as they say. But we'll see what he can do lap time-wise. They're all doing pretty much the same lap times. But this man out front, Igor Fraga, just doing what Igor Fraga does best. Just being out front, just controlling the race at completely his own pace. It just turns out that pace is too much for anyone else to deal with. Here is the battle then for currently 3rd on circuit. It's Kylian Drummond, the Frenchman, versus Will Murdoch, the British driver from Yorkshire. Comes through the first corner here, and it's pretty much a dead heat. There's not much point in them having a big fight right now, is there? Because they're doing pretty much the same lap time. The only time I would go for a move, if I was perhaps Will, is if I saw Baptiste getting a little bit too close behind me. And to his credit, to Beauvoir's credit, he is gaining ever so slightly.
Certainly is. Well, this is going to be an exciting end to this race. We always said it was going to be, because it sort of, again, peaks out in the middle of the race and then comes to life towards the end. So once these strategies work out, different drivers have managed to go and pit at different laps and extend the tyre life or use up more tyres or whatever it may happen to be. And this is exactly what we're seeing here in the closing stages of this race. It's getting really exciting with these drivers. And you can see there Will Murdoch closing up onto the back of Kylian Drummond through this infield section, but just sort of, again, not quite close enough to mount an attack at the moment. But I think he'd be pretty happy with how things are going so far.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, Kylian's a very, very quick driver, and so far showing that as he pulls a little bit of a gap to Murdoch behind. But it's going to get good. It's going to get good. Why? Because in our mirrors, Baptiste Beauvoir is getting closer and closer. There's Kylian Drummond, there's Will Murdoch, and there is Baptiste Beauvoir. So just like that, it becomes a three-way fight for 3rd position. Now, bear in mind, again, if you've just joined, Benelli does have to pit, and right now actually it looks like Baptiste Beauvoir is on a charge. His last lap out, a 1:25.7, so quickest lap of the day from Baptiste Beauvoir, and I'm sure it's going to catch the attention of both Drummond and Murdoch in front. Do we start pushing now? Look at the tyres as well. You see Will Murdoch is a long way back on tyre wear. I don't think he's going to make the end on these softs, Tom.
No, I think you could be quite right. This is going to be an interesting end to this race, and it's all about extending the tyre life. I mean, if there's some drivers that you need to talk to about extending tyre life, well, a man who's pretty familiar with the Toyota GR010, Kobayashi, he is known as a bit of a tyre whisperer, isn't he? So maybe we should have got him in for a quick word with some of these drivers to maybe extend the life of those soft tyres. But this is going to be an exciting climax to this one. 4.5 laps now remaining. Looking here at Kylian Drummond, and it's, again, they're all sort of relatively close distance with one another, but again, not within striking distance as it stands. But that could be set to change. It could be set to change pretty quickly.
Well, the last laps there of Michael Bennett, as you can see, Fraga quite a bit slower than everybody else, but it don't matter. The gap's that big. Even Benelli, who's been on the soft tyre for a while, just can't seem to bring that gap down. He's been doing like 25s, Benelli, but he just can't do it. He hasn't got the pace in the tyre still. So there's Drummond, Murdoch and Beauvoir again. Beauvoir actually fell back a little bit that lap, a bit of a mistake, I think, from the Frenchman. So we're seeing some cars perhaps pitting in the background. No, they're just going over to the right-hand side, trying to break the toe. Only 5 laps left now, including the one we're on. So it is starting to hot up at the end of the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup, the grand final here in Monaco on location. So good to be back in these live events once again. And of course, we have some Toyota employees here, including the one and only Kazuki Nakajima here. He's 3-time Le Mans winner looking on. He was saying earlier this stuff is about as exciting or sometimes more exciting than real life racing, so I'm going to take his word for that.
He's a man who knows a thing or two about it, doesn't he? He's, yeah, wonderful, isn't it? So here is Sasaki then, with Busnelli just in front. 7/10 of a second separating these two drivers as they come through the right-hander into that braking zone. Quite a slight wipe of the brow, I should say, there for Sasaki. I'm going to put my teeth back in because they keep falling out today, unfortunately. But he's not having a bad run there so far. I have to say the Japanese drivers haven't had a particularly fortuitous GR Racing GT Cup final, unfortunately. It has been something of a challenge for them so far, but Sasaki leading that charge at the moment in P7.
Yeah, it's not been a great race for Sasaki, but still going around, still driving around. Busnelli in front as well, but he might be able to make a move, but I don't think there's anything really more on the table for Sasaki after the eventual Benelli pit stop. P6, P5 would be the best we see, but a decent run nonetheless, of course. I think Sport probably the coolest hair here as well, so there's always top marks for that, apart from mine, of course. But Igor Fraga still leading by 11 seconds, and you're seeing now that Benelli's going to have to come into the pits soon, but who's going to have to come into the pits as well? Will Murdoch? Will, mate, I just don't think he's got it. I don't think he's got it, Tom. I think 19%, it's about 5% or so a lap around here, even more than that's a longer circuit. So he's going to be driving around on the rim at the end of this race, sort of a GTA style.
Yeah, it's a bold strategy there for Will Murdoch, but the thing is he's not got enough of a contingency to really help him pay off. 14% on those front tyres. I mean, he is just going to be understeering and understeering and understeering until eventually it grips up and he ends up probably in Mount Fuji, to be honest with you. So he's going to have to be really, really careful over these last few laps, because unfortunately that podium looks like it may be sliding away from him. Lucas Benelli, let's not forget, remind you, he does owe that last compound of tyre in this race. If he doesn't, he'll get a 1-minute penalty, I've just been told. I'm not sure that he would forget, but sometimes people do forget, don't they? So it's worth considering.
I think he was just trying something different. It didn't work out for him, unfortunately, but it does mean that Drummond will take or inherit the second position at the moment. So on board with Baptiste Beauvoir. Now he must know that Murdoch in front is struggling with tyres. He must see that he's starting to put onto the back of him. You see sweat there on the brow of Baptiste Beauvoir. Benelli into the pits then. So Benelli finally gives up. Into second goes Drummond, into third goes Will Murdoch, into fourth goes Baptiste Beauvoir. Now it is a battle for the podium. Positions in the background. Sasaki going for a move on Busnelli. Will he make it? I don't know. We're watching Busnelli in the pit lane, but I think he's by. No, he didn't quite get it done, Busnelli, sorry. So he's still stuck behind the Japanese driver, but it does mean now Sasaki up into the top 5. And if something happens at the front of the field, he might end up inheriting a podium place himself.
Yeah, it's very much within the realms of possibility. 2 laps now remaining here in this grand final for the GR GT Cup. And as we flick it through into the left, Kazuki Nakajima watches on.
I think Will's tyres are gone. He's just dropped 2 seconds all of a sudden. Here is Sasaki and Busnelli. Sorry, it was an overtake. My apologies. I thought Busnelli was actually behind going into the straight. So he does make a move. Good move there, textbook. But I think, yeah, there it is. He's got nothing. The tyres are gone for Will Murdoch. What a shame there for the British driver. But we knew it was going to be risky hitting that earlier. Now he's just going to try it. It's best to try and sit on the line, but Baptiste is going to manage to drive by. Look at that, there's zero, there's nothing he can do. Baptiste Beauvoir surely going to go for a move now. He does up the inside. Murdoch down to 4th and Baptiste Beauvoir up to 3rd. That's a real shame there for Murdoch.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at the tyre graphic we've got in our commentary box, and it's down literally at 0% here for Will Murdoch. Won't matter too much down this straight, but in the corners, I mean, he'll be just hoping these laps fly by, but he's lost the podium. He could be set to possibly fall down as low as P5 could Will Murdoch here. He still pulls under the slipstream on Baptiste Beauvoir. I mean, I guess he's got to fight tooth and nail. He's not going to have the grip, though, under braking coming in towards that first corner, and now you can see he's just trying to cruise round at this point here because he's got absolutely nothing left at all, and you can see that there, 9% on the rear, 0% on the front tyre. So Will Murdoch's race is unfortunately going to come unravelled very, very shortly, and he's going to drop down behind Sasaki.
all power to him for trying to stay with Baptiste Beauvoir, but look at the difference there. Here comes Sasaki, he'll go up into 4th place now. So actually, I was saying there wasn't going to be much of a chance for Sasaki, but he might be on a podium here. Beauvoir, his tyres are dying as well, only 9% left, so maybe there'll be a Japanese driver on the podium after all. So Sasaki gets by Murdoch, he'll easily outbrake him down here at the bottom of the time, but there's contact between the two. Murdoch's not given up, he's really trying to defend that place, but it's lost, mate, you've got to let it go. Now Sasaki is, he's lost a bit of time because of that, but he's got such a tyre advantage over Beauvoir in front. It's hard to see how he won't be able to overtake Beauvoir and maybe even Drummond. There's 6% left on both their tyres. They're going to be really slow on this last lap, and Sasaki's going to have the speed, he's going to have the tyre underneath him. He might even get second.
Yeah, we were talking about tyre strategy and how it was going to play out, and this is really coming into its own as we begin the final lap. No need to worry about the race leader. He's been up the road since the lights went green, and it is all about the battle for the podium here. And Takuma Sasaki, can he close down enough on Baptiste Beauvoir to get himself onto the podium on this final lap? He's got a lot more tyre underneath him. He's got a fair amount of time here on this last lap because it is a relatively long circuit, this Fuji International Speedway. But let's see if he can make it stick. You can see Beauvoir sliding out of that first corner, trying to get the power down, but just having no grip underneath him at all.
Look through here, look how much he gains through the left-hander. Beauvoir wide as well here, and that gap is now down to half a second. I think Drummond's done enough to just about stay ahead. There's nothing, Beauvoir's got nothing. He's trying to keep the place. Sasaki goes to the outside, tries the long way around. Surely he's got the grip to go there. The tyre bites into the tarmac, and Sasaki goes all the way around the outside of Baptiste Beauvoir up into 3rd place. Does he have enough time to catch Kylian Drummond? I don't think he does, but there's nothing Beauvoir can do.
Into the braking zone of T10 we go, then Sasaki on the inside holds firm in 3rd place, so a Japanese driver in the most unlikely of circumstances will make it onto the podium in the Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup Grand Final and at his home circuit here at Fuji International Speedway. But what a race it has been for Igor Fraga. He crosses the line to win the Grand Final and become the 2022 Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup champion. What a great drive it was from him. Brilliant from Kylian Drummond as well to just manage his tyres enough to come home in 2nd place at the checkered flag, and Takuma Sasaki, a podium for the Japanese driver on home soil on the final lap. What a finish!
There's a penalty for Beauvoir right at the end there, so I think maybe, I'm not sure how big that penalty is, but you've got it right at the end coming over the start-finish line. We'll see if those results, what they'll be when they're final. But yeah, Igor Fraga there, P1, awesome result for him, awesome drive as well. Drummond 2nd, and Sasaki, I think, doesn't really know how the hell that happened. P3 there for the Japanese driver, awesome run there. Just come to show it ain't over, so it's over.
Amazing stuff there for our finishers. Igor Fraga becomes the 2022 Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup champion. Kylian Drummond in 2nd. Takuma Sasaki in 3rd place. A superb end to that race, and what a great drive for Takuma as well. On the last lap, did all he could, and somebody else who did all he could was Baptiste Beauvoir. You can see the delight there for Takuma, and the congratulations from the competitors all round here in Monte Carlo.
He doesn't want to get out, doesn't he? He's like, I'm happy at this, I'm staying here. But yeah, awesome result. I know, I discounted him, I fully discounted him. So I will take the L on that one and say, what a result there for Sasaki. Just, I think maybe, of course, pace-wise, it would have been better to go a bit earlier on that time, but it just shows. It just shows if you keep that tyre alive towards the end. We have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers all had 0% left on their front tyres going over the line. So it really was just a race of tyre management.
Yeah, supremely impressive stuff for our competitors. Let's have a look, showing the highlights then from that race. So, Giorgio Mangano led the field across the timeline. It all kicked off, though, further back. This was the undoing, unfortunately, for Kanata Kawakami. Contact with him. He managed to keep it facing the right way for a good period of time, but unfortunately he ended up in the barrier, and that was his race over, really, before it had begun. We saw Baptiste Beauvoir on the medium combat of time, making some good progress, but not as much as Igor Fraga, who got himself into the race lead and was never to be seen again, as we saw Baptiste Beauvoir getting his elbows out, getting pretty aggressive in the middle stages.
Yeah, fat old lunges at the start of the race there, and that really put these guys out of the race. Then we saw this, Mangano and Benelli getting together there. Unintentional, I think, by Mangano, but Benelli, as you can see, less than pleased as he gets shoveled into the wall at 200k. It's not ideal there, and there's a crowd reaction as well. It was Benelli, though, on the charge back. He tried to make up for this by going for a free-stop strategy. Just didn't work, though, for Benelli. Didn't work out, and here was the pass on Beauvoir and Drummond, as Beauvoir got a penalty for going wide at one of the corners.
No. Well, there you go. You can see that move being made. This is Will Murdoch's ascension through the field in the middle stages as well. The British driver having a great run of things. Look at this move on Takuma Sasaki, then made it stick. Held it around the outside, then the inside, then the outside again, and then back on the inside, and got himself up through into podium contention. But it was, look at that from Baptiste Beauvoir. It was all about managing the tyres, and unfortunately slides like that did not help these drivers in the closing stages. Somebody who didn't have to worry about it was Igor Fraga. He had such a cushion, he was basically in a different postcode compared to everybody else, but behind it was all kicking off as the tyres began to wear out.
And of course, Bentley taking that last stop there, putting him further down the field, as we expected to happen, promoting Drummond and Murdoch up there, and then Murdoch's tyres just fell off. That was it. He had nothing left to fight with, and Baptiste Beauvoir was able to overtake up into third place. We thought that was it, but then Sasaki on tyres that was still good, got by Murdoch and would chase down Baptiste Beauvoir on the last lap of the race. Look at this awesome move round the outside. He just has so much more grip, kept the car planted, full on the throttle, and past he went up into third place.
So there you go. It was a brilliant last lap for Takuma Sasaki as he managed to make hay whilst the sun shone. Everybody else around him struggling with their tyres, having mistimed it, but what a race it was from the Brazilian Igor Fraga. He becomes the 2022 Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup champion. Yes, I agree.
Yes.
Typically as animated as ever there for Igor Fraga. He takes the win from Kylian Drummond and Takuma Sasaki. That is your podium. Commiserations to Baptiste Beauvoir by just missing out, and likewise Will Murdoch as well, the British driver. He was in contention for it, but had he pitted a lap or two later, then maybe it would have been the right to call for him, but it's easy to say with 20/20 vision, isn't it?
It was a good effort by Murdoch, but I think in the end, an experience maybe just came into play there, and the cooler heads prevailed. And yeah, I mean, great race. I mean, for Fraga, boring race for him, but in terms of how to lead a race, how to command a race, there is no other driver in the GT stable that knows better than Igor Fraga.
Well, let's go down to Julia then, who is with our 2022 Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup champion, Igor Fraga.
I mean, Jimmy was saying it was really boring for you. Was it really boring?
Not really, to be honest. I didn't know what was going on behind. Of course, I had, the time difference, the time gap. But anyways, I didn't know what compound the others were in, so I was, always trying to push as hard as I could. And this car is quite tricky on power, so I was, kind of on the edge. But I'm glad it went so well this time.
So why do you think you were ahead? What was it about? I mean, so are you even aware of what anyone else's strategy was at this point?
Yeah, so in my mind, I wanted to get to the soft and...
You like to go, like send it right from the start. That's your thing. You like to just get away from everybody else. You can just relax. This is your thing.
I don't know if it's my thing, but I just trying to... I just try to stay away from the pack, and the guys from the back really fight very hard at the beginning, which made me possible to put such a gap.
So I'm going to do something, I don't know, Nakajima-san, can I borrow you? So I would love to know what you think of his race. What do you think of his skill?
Well, it was really impressive. I mean, great strategy, and I was very impressed for him because he was alone for all race. So the concentration he needed was such a lot, and he just completed the mission. So I was really impressed, and congratulations.
Have you seen what his face looks like when he races? He's very... Yeah. What's your race face?
Actually, it's like when I see the onboard of the car, I'm a bit disappointed because my face is like kind of normal. Doesn't look like very much focus, but not like big eyes. But it was full focus, and it was clear that the gap you had in the end, it's really impressive.
I mean, that's pretty high praise there. He's won the Le Mans 3 times.
Yes, it means a lot to me, definitely.
As he's here, do you want to ask him a question?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Do you want to ask him a question as you got him here?
Yes, can you put me in the GAZOO Racing?
I feel like that's legally binding now. Yes, look, they're all like, yes, please.
Ultimately, that's what we should aim for. To have a real link, to virtual world, to the real world. So, that's at least my personal opinion. But why not?
That's a pretty good question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, well, look, thank you so much. We're going to chuck it back to Tom and Jimmy.
Yeah, cheers, Jules. I'm looking forward to Jimmy Broadbent trying to be crowned the 2022 GR GT Cup champion, just to try and get a drive in one of those hypercars now, to be fair.
I respect him. My guy, he shot his shot, you know. He gave it a go. So, yeah, awesome. A great, that's high praise there from Suzuki Nakajima. But, yeah, awesome race from Eagle. You can't take it away from him. I said before we just went into that. There's no one who does that kind of race better than he does. And he said it wasn't boring, but, you know, he's concentrating, trying to make sure the car's getting out of the corners completely fine. But, yeah, if you're on your own for the entire race, I mean, again, Nakajima-san was correct. You have to have that focus, hit your marks every lap. And your mind can wander, especially down a straight as long as the one at Fuji.
Absolutely. I mean, it's supremely impressive from Igor Fraga, but we saw some great impressive drives through the field as well. I mean, let's talk, first of all, about Takuma on that last lap. I mean, amazing drive from Sasaki.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was just a better strategy keeping that tyre alive at the end, and then also keeping the cool to make those moves. Because when you see the last lap in the race and you think, oh, I can get a podium here, your heartbeat goes up about 50 BPM, you know. So he did a really good job to keep cool there. We haven't seen him at many of these events. I think this is his first time, or is it?
I think he's been here. I think he's been. The thing is, we see so many people, JB, that I forget who's who. To be honest with you,
I don't think he's one of the more experienced drivers here. So that was a massive pressure situation. He dealt with it super well.
Yeah, amazing stuff. And also for Will Murdoch, Baptiste Beauvoir, you got to feel sorry for them as well. I mean, tyres are always going to be... I always say to people, if you're going to do something to your car, put good tyres on it. They had good tyres on their car. Unfortunately, it comes down to not being able to manage them quite as well as some others, or maybe not having the right strategy, etc. And it just didn't work out for them today.
Baptiste gives me like the vibes of always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
I love that
I think he will. When he eventually wins one of these events, which he will, because he has the speed, there'll be like the biggest celebration you've ever seen.
Are you trying to see when you get Baptiste in a dress on the podium? Is it like a bride's dress or something like that? Is that where you're coming at it from?
I think we've got different opinions there, Tom, of that.
I'm just trying to make sure we're clear on where we're going with this, JB. So, you know.
What?
Yeah, but honestly, you are right, though. I mean, again, it was nearly, but not quite enough.
Yeah, I mean, he just fell into the same trap as Murdoch did, so many others did. Again, there were 6 drivers, I think I counted, who had knackered tyres at the end of that race. I mean, completely gone. So they're all... Actually, that was kind of Murdoch's saving grace for not falling further down, because everyone else did the same thing as he did. But, yeah, seeing these guys slide around, I can't imagine what that would have been like. I'm surprised that they still had as much speed as they did, to be honest. I mean, they lost about 3-4 seconds a lap, which on a tyre with nothing left is still pretty decent.
Yeah, and credit also to them for trying as well. I mean, Will was really trying to put that car in places that it shouldn't have been in, but, you know, he gave it a good go, didn't he? Anyway, it's now time for our podium here for the 2022 Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup in Monaco. Please welcome onto the stage our third place finisher from the 2022 Toyota GR GT Cup from Japan. It is Takuma Sasaki.
He's enjoying that, isn't he? Look at that. He's enjoying his moment, and well deserved there from Sasaki.
Great drive from the Japanese competitor. And now it is time to welcome on our second place finisher. Please welcome onto the stage from France, Kylian Drumont!
It's another great drive from Drumont. Well deserved to be on that second step there. One definitely to watch for the future. Step there, mate.
And now our 2022 Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup champion. Please welcome onto the stage from Brazil, it's Igor Fraga! And now, ladies and gentlemen, your respect please for the national anthem of our winning driver of Brazil. The national anthem of Brazil plays out for Igor Fraga, the 2022 Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup champion. And now presenting the third place trophy, it is Masaya Kaji, the Toyota GAZOO Racing General Manager, and it is presented to Takuma Sasaki. Now time for the second place trophy presented by the producer of Gran Turismo, Kazunori Yamauchi, and it is presented to Kylian Drumont from France. Presenting the Kinto helmet to our first place finisher. It is Kazuki Nakajima, the Vice Chairman of Toyota GAZOO Racing Europe. And now presenting the winner's trophy to our 2022 Toyota GAZOO Racing GT Cup champion, Igor Fraga! Bad luck.
Well. Back on the desk. How are you doing? How was that for you guys?
That was awesome. I enjoyed that. I mean, for Igor, I think it was, as I said, still boring for him. But
I asked him about that. He said it was not boring, Jimmy.
I mean, it was the fight for second, third, and fourth. That was awesome. I really enjoyed that proper endurance stuff, which I think suited the car very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was some brilliant battling, not only in the grand final, but also, in the semi-finals, the repechage. I mean, it was carnage at some points, wasn't it?
I mean, the repechage is usually fairly spicy, but that was sort of like a different level. That was like a you regret it the next day level of spice.
Like a Vindaloo repechage, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, I was trying to think of a better way of saying it, but yeah, basically that. See, and this is only day one.
Man.
You've got like 3 more days of racing, so, let's take a quick look at what's going to be happening over the weekend. So yeah, tomorrow, of course, Nations Cup regional finals, and then on Saturday, Manufacturers Cup. That'll be the finals of that as well. That'll be great. And then the big one, Sunday, Nations Cup grand final. That's going to be pretty special.
I'll be surprised if we have a voice left by the time we get to Sunday.
I mean, you'll just be sort of like waving hand gestures of thoughts and feelings because, yeah, you're probably right. What does that mean? Are you happy, Jimmy? We don't know.
I don't know. No, but they're also
probably not.
And I really hope we see the rest for that as well.
Oh yeah, and of course, if you are going and playing Gran Turismo this weekend, don't forget we have our campaigns running. So if you've opened it up, obviously in the past couple of days, you see that it's an update for the World Finals. So yeah, if you go and do any of the anniversary races, you're going to get a very special edition X 2019 in special livery. And then of course, if you think you can predict the winner of our championships, you could potentially win 3 million credits.
Jimmy might have enough to upgrade his Supra by then.
Well, you might do. And yeah, of course, if you're watching our streams, you can go to the viewers campaign as well, where I think there's a whole load of prizes, and we're going to ask you some tricky questions, but you have to pay attention to what's going on otherwise, basically. So yeah, and then of course, after this, we're going to be having a press conference, so don't go anywhere. So we're able to ask all of the questions to all of the...
Proper official-like.
It's really official. It looks well exciting. Are you going to ask questions? Are you going to stand there? Excuse me.
No, I'm not allowed in there. It's too posh of me.
No.
I'm hosting it. He's banned.
Are you banned because of your telling everyone that it's really boring being up front? Anyway, we've got 3 more days of this. Isn't that fun? Big thank you to all of our sponsors, of course, Toyota, Kinto, and Denso as well. And yeah, we've got so much more to come for you. And yeah, don't go anywhere. It's going to be fantastic. Well, you got final thoughts, guys, quickly.
It was goodbye.
Goodbye. Yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow for some more incredible sim racing.
First.